Coincidences. The claw changed from an ordinary 3-life magic claw to the king of the Nether clan. Oh, that's alright. Guyan's mood gradually calmed down. Things are complicated, but also simple and short. It is a combination of coincidences that have led to the current situation. So can I take advantage of it? So, Guyan calmed down and watched the other party's operation. Your Majesty, I didn't expect it was really you. How did you become like this? Where is your body that covers the sky and the curtain? Why did it become this human form? Speaking of this, Lin pursed his lips lightly, tears streaming down his cheeks. It seems that the traitoress for sacred beasts caused you some indelible damage back then. But it doesn't matter, my lord Xuanwu is dead, and we have all broken the seal. There was a hint of murderous intent in her eyes. And she said in a cold voice, after that, let your subordinates gather the Netherworld army for you again to rule this world. And kill the remaining 3 traitors, all of them. Guyan heard this. Already understood most things. First of all, the original body of the king of the underworld is most likely the complete form of the 3 lives demon claw. From what the man in front of him said, it can be seen that the king of the underworld died a long time ago. He was killed by the traitoress for sacred beasts. Considering that Xuanwu is dead. BSK, could the 4 sacred beasts be referring to the sacred beasts that are the source of the ancient energy in the original novel? After all, you have to know that he had already absorbed the energy of Xuanwu before. But what is the army of the underworld? He glanced around at the monsters lying on the ground with their heads lowered. No way, could these things they call monsters be the army of the underworld? According to the routine, they are the Nether clan? So he is now the king of the Netherworld? There is no such thing in the original book. No, it seems I mentioned it before. Guyan recalled carefully. That was inserted after the protagonists killed the latest villain. A perspective turns to Ling Qiqiyu's side of the story. On the bloody ground, that figure stepped on a huge body, and the surrounding area was filled with the corpses and remains of various monsters. She crushed the beating heart in her hand. The corners of his mouth slightly raised. They are all a bunch of trash, but I don't expect them to be able to kill Shaolin and the others. Otherwise, wouldn't this final battle be too boring? The figure raised her hand and opened her mouth. And the blood from the heart in her hand continued to fall into her mouth. The souls of the Netherworld clan, the predecessors of the monsters. Aced pretty good, but it's a pity there are too few of them. The memories end. Guyan looked at the woman from the Netherworld clan in front of him and his heart twitched. It turns out that it was not written in the original book. But that it was written however, as soon as they appeared. They were all killed by King Qiyu in order to feed himself. After 1 second of silence for the Nether clan, which is the monsters, Guyan spoke, and he changed his voice. It was as if multiple voices merged together. My power is damaged, and I can only possess this human body. My power in this form is only 1/10 of what it used to be. But it doesn't matter. I learn it from this human's mind that a large number of humans will soon arrive here. Then, as Guyan was talking, he started coughing pretending to be weak. Your Majesty, please stop talking and let Lin take you to the tower to rest. So her name is Lin, Guyan thought to himself. Lin was distressed and hurriedly supported Guyan. Then as if he saw that Lao Gao was useless, he turned to Yinyu and said coldly. Yinyu, kill this old thing. Lao Gao. Things happened so fast that he didn't know where to start complaining. Why are you able to get into the role so naturally? Young master? Aren't you afraid of getting into trouble? Of course, Guyan couldn't let Lao Gao be killed, so he shook his head and pointed at Lao Gao. No need, this human is useful to me. Just transform yourself into one of our own. As Guyan's words fell, gurgle, a burst of black liquid suddenly emerged from the ground and began to wrap Lao Gao. The latter's eyes were filled with horror. What is this? Ugh. Lin was very excited. It's the assimilation of the king's cells. Those who assimilate will endure indelible pain before they assimilate. Humans deserve it. It is your honor to be my master's slave. Enjoy this hard-earned opportunity, you small fry human. A few minutes later, Lao Jiao turned into Lao Gao in a black robe. He said to Guyan in a respectful tone, Sir, the cleansing was successful. After doing all this, Guyan decided to spend some time to thoroughly penetrate the enemy. So he said, well, Lin, take me back to the tower. Yes. My lord. Lin's face flushed slightly this familiar address and tone. It really is the Lord King. Spring Hill Community. Shaolin sat cross-legged on the bed with his eyes closed, with shadows of golden dragons hovering around him. He was practicing the Dragon King Palace's secret martial art, the 9 Revolutions Divine Dragon Art. It is rumored that when the 9 Revolutions Divine Dragon technique is practiced to perfection, one will be able to actively draw out one's own dragon energy and thus summon forth the true form of a divine dragon. After having a heart-to-heart with Shen Wanner, Shaolin decided to cheer up. Even though he had accidentally killed Wang Yilan's mother, which led to many misunderstandings, but he still has Shen Wanner. As long as he becomes stronger and finds the man in black who took away his jade pendant, then I will definitely be able to explain to Wang Yilan that I am actually innocent. In fact, Shaolin has now come to his senses and wondered why it was such a coincidence. From taking away the jade pendant to luring him into accidentally killing Wang Yilan's mother. All of this was just too much of a coincidence, as if there was an invisible hand controlling everything. And putting all this aside, his junior sister Ning Qian has never looked for him since she left last time. He couldn't find the other person and didn't know where the other person had gone. Perhaps the only thing that comforted him was that his relationship with Shen Wanner was gradually heating up. At least it's not the stranger stage at the beginning. Just at this moment. Click. Shaolin suddenly felt a pain in his heart. Bang! He was forced to exit the state of cultivation. Master Long, what's wrong with you, Master Long? Shaolin covered his chest and kept calling out to Master Long. Whenever his heart ached, Shaolin knew that something was wrong with Master Long. Sure enough, the next second. Buzz! A small snake with horns crawled out from Shaolin's chest and lay on the bed. Compared to before, Long Yi was much weaker and more depressed. Shaolin immediately picked him up and asked worriedly, Long Yi, why did you become like this? Upon hearing this, Lord Long said in a weak voice, Siko Suio Lindsay, something is wrong. It seems like something has come out of the world. Not long ago, I noticed that old guy Xuanwu was dead, and then it seemed to appear. Lord Long suddenly stopped talking, and then his tone became a little flustered. Oh, no, they came out. How could it be that the seal was loosened because Xuanwu died? What to do? My strength hasn't recovered yet. Shaolin was also very nervous when he heard this. He comforted him. What happened to Master Long? What happened? Actually, this matter is not your business, Shaolinzi. After all, your destiny is to fight against the Night King. But, I don't know what happened. They actually broke through the seal and came out into the world. After hesitating for a moment, Lord Long finally told Shaolin about the Netherworld clan. Chapter 260 to Lang Qingqi's changes. I don't know if you will regret it. A quarter of an hour later. Shaolin understood everything, and his expression became indignant. Beast, it's such a beast. It turns out that the current various monsters were actually called the Nether Clan in the past. They are numerous, extremely powerful, and extremely brutal, making all living things on Earth suffer. At this time, the 4 sacred beasts were born to lead humans to fight against the Nether Clan. After trying their best, they finally sealed most of the Netherworld clan into their lair, which is the Netherworld prison. Never return to this world again. I just don't know what's happening now. The Nether Clan has actually broken through the seal and reborn. Don't worry, Lord Long. I will never let go of those who endanger the world, Shaolin said solemnly. However, Long Yi shook his head and stopped him, saying, No, you are too weak. The most urgent thing is to become stronger and find the dragon energy. Anyone of the Netherworld clan can be killed, and there will be relevant personnel to deal with them. Shenweiner's innate Purian body is also the key physique to accelerate your cultivation. You should hurry up and cultivate your relationship with that girl. Hurry up and go. The more Shaolin listened, the more embarrassed he became. He quickly interrupted, Master Long, please stop talking. Wanner and I need to cultivate our relationship slowly. How can we do that all at once? Don't say that if Wanner doesn't agree. I won't do that. After hearing this, Long Yi was speechless. You are the heir of the Dragon King Palace after all. There will be countless beauties in the future if you are so timid now. What will you do in the future? I can see that your junior sister likes you. So won't you have to win her over as well? Didn't you agree with me at that time? If you don't become stronger, how can you find dragon energy? If you don't find dragon energy, how can you become stronger? If you don't become stronger, how can you deal with the Nether Clan? Most importantly, how can you deal with the Night King? Shaolin's face turned red when he heard this, and he quickly interrupted. Okay, Mr. Long, please stop talking. I will try to speed up the relationship between Wen and Wanner as soon as possible. Okay. Only then did Long Yi nod with satisfaction. Okay, Shaolinzi, I'll take care of you. I'll take a rest first. So don't call me normally. After saying that, he went back into Shaolin's heart and completely concealed his aura. Shaolin listened to what Long Yi said, and after thinking about it, he felt that it made some sense. Practicing dual cultivation with Wanner. Shaolin touched his nose and began to imagine doing this and that with Shen Wanner. The other side. Shen Weiner's room. She hadn't slept either, and was now tiredly dealing with company matters. Because of the previous warrior attack, she realized that there are many dangerous things in this world. Moreover, his physique was also very unusual. It seemed to be something called a congenital Purian body, making it an excellent cauldron for dual cultivation. So now she doesn't dare to stay in the company alone at night. In addition, she had a falling out with her family not long ago. So she decided to move out in anger. She had a good impression of Xiaolin. And she also needed his protection, so she agreed to let him live with her. At this time, the cell phone vibrated. Shen Wan'er looked over and saw that it was another message from her brother Shentian. Sister, please, lend me some money, I lost it all again. I still need to pay back 100,000. If you don't return it, you'll chop off my hands, sister. If you don't help me this time, I'll really be at my wit's end. Sister, I really have no other choice but to look for you. When Shen Wan'er saw this message, her already exhausted body and mind became even more exhausted. After falling out with her family, she cut off her brother Shentian's financial support out of spite. But now she feels a little regretful. After Shentian lost his source of income, he thought about making money on his own, so a group of new friends he made recommended him to some shady areas, that is gambling. In just a few days, he lost everything because he was deeply involved in it. She couldn't bear to see her brother being chased for debts. After all, she knew very well how brutal the people there were, so she would always fill in some small gaps for the other party. The amount is not much, just tens of thousands, but it is not a solution to keep doing this. Shen Wan'er sighed and prepared to help one last time. So he played a voice message over. The company is in trouble right now, and I don't have much money on hand. I'm helping you this last time. Don't come to me again next time. As 100,000 was transferred, Shen also sent a message immediately. Thank you, sister, I knew you were the best to me. After I pay off this debt, I will never gamble again. Look at the message from the other party promising never to gamble again. Only then did Shen Wan'er nod with relief. Okay, next. Let's continue to complete the work that we haven't completed today. Ling family. After finishing a day's work, Ling Qingshuayu finally returned to her big soft bed. A perfect ending. Ling Qingshuayu lay face down on the bed, her two fair little feet swaying slightly up and down. They let out bursts of joyful laughter. Guyan's cautious look is really funny. He thought I was really Ling Bingning. After finishing the meeting of the warrior department, she went out of her way to show her face in front of Meizu and others. Indicates that he, the Night King, is still active. But what made her a little unhappy was that the new subordinate named Yu Xingzu seemed to have been acting like he was very familiar with Guyan. I peeked at Guyan several times at the meeting. Really? It seems like Meizu needs to give the other person a good beating. Another Miet, as still early, is it okay? Don't want. However, before he could finish his words, Ling Qingshuayu interrupted him. Xiaoling, I'm so tired. She raised her head, her face full of resistance. I was outside almost the entire day today, monitoring whether Guyan was messing around outside, and arranging work issues for my subordinates. I really don't want to move at all. So let's just leave it at that for today. Besides, Linger recently said that my skin is good as before. I think it must be because I don't go to bed early and get up early. Xiaoling was silent. She really wanted to say that the reason your skin is worse than before is because she didn't absorb Guyan's essence when she was alone with him. Actually, this has nothing to do with this. Ling Qingshuayu seemed to not want to listen to Xiaoling's nagging anymore. So he shouted, I don't believe it anyway. I don't want to move. I want to sleep. I have to secretly protect Guyan afterwards. I'm very busy, okay? Anyway, let's talk about studying tomorrow. Ling Qingshuayu hugged the pillow, closed his eyes and refused to get up again. Xiaoling was silent again. It doesn't matter. The other me has been in this state for a long time. I've almost gotten used to it. It pretended to be no different from usual in front of the furnace. But in fact he had gradually become lazy and idle. The furnace tripod has indeed had a huge impact on my other self. Alas, this can be considered as being ruined by the furnace. Xiaoling sighed inwardly. The other me would accelerate this change. In fact, there is another key reason. That is, night I have begun to deny that my other self is the Night King. So I will no longer actively influence the other person's personality. If this continues, Lu Ding's wish will really come true. And when the day comes when Night completely disapproves of me, another me, I wonder if you will regret it. And the furnace, will you also feel regretful? Chapter 263. The murderer behind all this might be the Night King. The next day, on the Black Tower, after a day of understanding, Guyan roughly knew everything about the Netherworld clan. First of all, the hometown of the Nether clan is a place called Netherworld Prison. But that place is dark and the creatures living there have to endure purgatory-like torture every minute and every second. That kind of torture is a double torture from the soul and the body. Therefore the Nether clan, who could not bear all this, chose to come to the human world in order to escape from the Netherworld. That is the human world in which humans live. Relying on their strong bodies as well as their inherent talents and strengths, the Nether clan quickly took over most of the human world. but on the eve of a crucial decisive battle. The four sacred beasts of the netherworld, namely the Shenlong, Xuanwu, Suzaku and Byahu, suddenly turned against them and joined forces with a mysterious existence to encircle and suppress the king of the netherworld. He also led the human side to attack the Nether clan. As a result, the Nether clan suffered a crushing defeat in the final battle due to the collapse of both strength and faith, and they were driven back into the netherworld, where the four sacred beasts and the human army joined forces to reinforce the seal of the netherworld. Several more powerful members of the netherworld were sealed away in various quarters of the netherworld prison. But now, for some unknown reason, the seal of the netherworld has loosened, causing Lin and the others to leave the netherworld and return to the human world. The current appearance of this forbidden area is actually contaminated by the aura of the netherworld that Lin and the others possess. After understanding all this, Gu Yan felt as if his three perspectives had been refreshed. I guess you have added all the settings that were not included in the original work, right? The so-called ancient energy is actually the souls of the creatures that died in the Great War with the Nether clan. In the original novel, the ancient aura of the protagonists such as Shaolin, that is, the four sacred beasts such as the dragon, were actually originally from the Netherworld clan, but they listened to someone's misleading remarks. But it be that his purpose of betraying the Nether clan and joining the human side was that he had a change of heart and chose to protect the world? Let us not talk about this for now. Gu Yan felt a little uncomfortable with his hand, and he looked at the current environment he was in. At this moment he was sitting on a huge throne. But this throne looks very strange. The main body is made up of several huge monster spines, and the two sides of the seat are made up of sharp ribs interlaced, shaped like wings. The seat and backrest of the throne are carefully pieced together from the skulls and waist bones of rare monsters, and the surface of these bones are engraved with complex runes and patterns. Each rune contains powerful magic that can protect the owner of the throne from any external attacks. The most eye-catching thing is the pair of huge bone wings behind the throne. They are made of countless small bones when they are unfolded. They are like wings of darkness covering the sky when they are folded. They surround the throne and strengthen the seat's defense. The entire skeleton throne was emitting a faint glow. According to Lin, this glow was useless. However, in order to add a mysterious and weird atmosphere to the throne, she ordered the dark elemental elves to surround the throne at all times. At this time, Lin was standing on the left side of Gu Yan. She was looking at Gu Yan with anticipation, and that expression seemed to be asking if I did a good job. Gu Yan was silent. He looked at his armrest made of a monster's head, and his eyes couldn't help twitching. Maybe the aesthetic tastes of different living things are not the same. You actually said that the kings of the past loved this kind of thing the most. Your ancestors had such bad taste. Chirp. Of course. Except for this throne. What Gu Yan was most concerned about were the dozen or so shadow people of various shapes standing in front of him. Lin seemed to have discovered that the Lord King had no interest in the throne. So he immediately changed the subject. Lord King, please look. These are your former shadow guards. It's a shadow man of the demon general level that you summoned using Talia's ability. After saying this, he looked at Gu Yan expectantly. Gu Yan understood after hearing this. Because the Three-Liz Demon Claw has an innate skill, see chapter 99 for details. Which is to store the souls of living things and use the power of the living things in their lifetime. Aliel is one of the earliest subordinates of the king of the underworld. And her ability is to summon the dead she has killed to become her shadow slaves. For the Nether clan, the body can be replaced at any time. As long as the soul is immortal, they are invincible. Why did Sanshin Demon Claw become their king? In fact, it is because the Three-Lids Demon Claws can store their souls. When they encounter an opponent they cannot defeat, the entire clan will parasitize on the Three-Lids Demon Claws to stack buffs for the opponent. Then, after winning the battle, the Three-Lids Demon Claws released the soul and pressed it onto the spare body that had been prepared long ago. However, there is also a drawback here. That means if the Three-Lids Claws dies, the souls that have not been liberated will perish together. The Demon General level corresponds to the Human Master level. Monster level, Demon Soldier, Ghost Soldier, Evil Ghost, Demon Soldier, Ghost General, Demon General, Great Demon General. Warrior levels. Third-rate Warrior, Second-rate Warrior, First-rate Warrior. Acquired, Innate, Master, Grand Master. That is to say, these 13 shadow people in front of me, each of them has the strength of a master. But these were not summoned by him, so would they listen to him? Host, please rest assured, due to various coincidences, Claw has become the king of the netherworld. Everything is a coincidence, right? Thinking of this, Gu Yan controlled his claws to sense the 13 shadow men. Next second, buzz buzz buzz, the shadow people seemed to have found their master. They turned into shadows and disappeared into Gu Yan's shadow. Gu Yan also felt that as long as he wanted, he could summon them again with just a thought. 13 Grandmasters, what a concept. In the past, The Netherworld clan was a little too powerful. I guess the Netherworld king who led this clan at that time must have been at least a Grand Master. Right? Think of this. Guyan said in a deep voice. Well done, Lin. Yes, your majesty, this is what a subordinate should do. Lin nodded vigorously, his body trembling slightly. And a blush appeared on his face. Ah, your majesty, your majesty. She didn't know if it was Lin's illusion, but she always felt that the king now seemed to make her blush and her heart beat faster than before. There was a sweet smell coming from the other person that tempted her. Ignoring Lin, who seemed to be in a strange state, Guyan said in a low and murderous tone. Also, have you found the person who bewitched the 4 sacred beasts? If these 4 traitors can survive to the modern era in this way, then that being can probably do the same. Hearing this, Lin suppressed the heat in his heart, and his expression gradually became serious. Your Majesty, we also conducted an in-depth investigation back then, and came to a horrifying conclusion. She seemed to be thinking of some bad memories, and her face turned slightly pale. The murderer who bewitched the 4 sacred beasts and caused our Netherworld clan to be trapped in the Netherworld prison for tens of thousands of years. Maybe it's our Netherworld clan's natural enemy. That despicable and terrifying existence. Night King. Guyan. Chapter 260. For why can I get through to Guyan's phone? Wait a minute. A Night King? Why the Night King again? Did the Night King exist that long ago? Guyan recalled calmly. Oh, by the way, the condition for becoming the Night King is to obtain the dagger called Night. But he, who has read the original novel, knows that the dagger Night has its own thoughts. It is not so much that man chooses the dagger, but rather that the dagger chooses man. In other words, as long as dagger wants, he can abandon the current Night King and choose a new one at any time. That being said, the Night King can indeed be considered the natural enemy of the Nether clan. After all, the Night King needs the souls of living creatures to practice. The existence of the King of the Underworld is like a mobile buffet of souls. It is only natural that the Night King has set his sights on the other party. As for why he still wanted to seduce the 4 sacred beasts, maybe the Night King wasn't very strong back then? That's why he had to join forces with others. But don't forget, this brainless urban low-level martial arts novel is described from the perspective of the protagonist Shaolin. That means the 4 sacred beasts are righteous. So how did the 4 sacred beasts become mortal enemies of the Night King? Furthermore, the Night King's true form is a dagger. Was it the dagger or the Night King that the 4 sacred beasts were trading with? What happened to make the 2 sides enemies? TSK, there is too much information. And the original book didn't finish writing it and ended abruptly. As a result, Guyan's brain capacity is now a little insufficient. In short, Guyan had no idea what happened exactly. After all, he was not from that era. Let's just continue the performance first. Think of this. I just find it strange why those 4 traitors were bewitched by humans. So it's the Night King that makes sense. Guyan sneered. Exerted all his strength and boom. The armrests made of 2 heads were crushed into powder. Lin's eyes flickered as he watched. It seemed that the king's power had become even stronger than yesterday. It must be recovering. Thinking of this, Lin continued as Guyan said. Yes, my lord, the Night King has the ability to be immortal and can even give this ability to others. That must be why those 4 traitors want to cooperate with the Night King. But Xuanwu is dead, my lord, this is a good thing for us. This shows that the power of those 4 traitors is far less than before. Guyan nodded silently after hearing this. Wow, how many people do we have now? Reporting to the Lord. Our strength is comparable to that of tens of thousands of years ago. Even though the foul air of the Netherworld has polluted this place and caused many creatures to degenerate into the Netherworld clan, we only have 1,000 ghost generals. Those below the level of ghost generals are not included in the calculation because they are just a bunch of trash. 1,000 ghost generals. Doesn't this mean there are 1,000 innates? And those below the level of ghost generals are not included in the counting range. Is this the heritage of the ancient clan? Guyan nodded slightly, and he looked at Lao Gao. How long will it take for humans to arrive? The black-robed Lao Gao lowered his body slightly and said hoarsely, My lord, if I remember the time correctly, tomorrow is the day when the human army will arrive here. Okay, pass the order down and have all the monsters get ready. The humans who step into this place tomorrow. Guyan's voice was filled with murderous intent. Don't leave anyone alive. Yes sir. Yes sir. And at this serious moment, buzz buzz buzz, the sound of a cell phone vibrating was heard. Guyan. Scale? This abrupt scene made the atmosphere on the scene freeze slightly. Ah, sir, your phone is ringing. At this time, Lao Gao coughed lightly, interrupting the frozen picture. Upon hearing this, Guyan nodded calmly and then spread out his palms. Gurgle. Black liquid gushed out and a cell phone was revealed in the palm of his hand. And the source of the vibrating sound came from there. It seemed that because Guyan hadn't answered the phone, the sound gradually disappeared after vibrating for a while. Lin then looked at the small black box in surprise. Sir, what is this thing that makes a sound? Guyan calmly replied. It is a small prop in this world. Ordinary people can also use it. They can communicate even if they are hundreds of thousands of meters apart. Lin understood and said in admiration, so that's how it is. Because you assimilated this human, you absorbed his memory and knew about the human world. This is also done to better disguise into the human world so as to know the enemy's details? Am I right, sir? If you say so, then so be it. Guyan nodded. Yes, that's roughly what I mean. After hearing this, Lin seemed to understand what Guyan meant, so he continued. My lord, you must think that this place is the base of our Netherworld clan. But only by knowing ourselves and the enemy can we win every battle. We also need companions to infiltrate the human world and gather all kinds of information. At this point, her eyes lit up, and she immediately volunteered. Sir, Lin's appearance is no different from that of a human. Although Lin had always felt disgusted by this fish body that looked like a human. But if you need me, Lin is willing to infiltrate the human world and learn about its internal information. Guyan. He was stunned when he heard this. You know what? I really didn't think of this. Looking at the scales in front of me, they are indeed no different from those of humans. It seems like there are more ideas in my mind. Wait a minute. Let me sort things out. In fact, my real identity should be an ordinary physical traveler, and my purpose is to have a loving relationship with Lang Qiyu. But in fact, my secret identities are the actual heir of the Gu family, a friendly newcomer in the warrior department, a fake Night King, and then a fake Nether King. In this way, does it mean that I have different identities in various forces? Plus Lin volunteered. Guyan seemed to have thought of something, so he nodded to Lin and said in a deep voice, well, yes Lin, your idea is very good. If necessary, I will give you a suitable opportunity to sneak into the human world. When Lin heard this, his face became even more excited. Great, I finally understood what the adults meant. Before Lin could say anything else, Guyan stood up and said, I have something else I need to go out for. Lin, everything here is left to you. Black Robe. Accompany me for a while. The black-robed Lao Gao nodded and said respectfully, yes, sir. Although Lin was a little disappointed that she couldn't accompany the adults. Since it was the adults' order, she would definitely obey. Okay sir. Ling family. Xiaolang, why can't I get through to Guyan's phone? Ling Qiyu poked at the screen of his mobile phone in confusion. Is it broken? Maybe Lu Ding is busy and has no time to answer your call. Oh, I see. Ling Qiyu sat in front of the desk that was empty of books, holding her cell phone. Today is another day of doing nothing. I wonder what Guyan is doing. Is he preparing for tomorrow's exploration? When I think about tomorrow's exploration, Ling Qiyu suddenly had an idea. Xiaolang, how about I go to the forbidden area to explore the way first? How about eliminating the danger in advance? If you encounter monsters, just kill them all and absorb them as nutrients. It seems like a good idea. Another me, why do you only become so positive when it comes to Guyan's affairs? Can you reflect on why you have become like this? As for the forbidden area, Xiaolang guessed that based on Guyan's personality, they must have gone there to explore the way long ago. I don't know if the other party has noticed. In fact, a wish that Xiaozi fulfilled did not appear out of thin air, but was presented in a reasonable way. If you don't realize this, then when you make a wish later something terrible may happen. Chapter 265. Who do you think is prettier, me or Lang Bingning? Left the Black Tower, trampling on the scarlet dirt. Guyan also gradually regained his composure, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. What a bunch of idiots, you really think I'm the king of the Netherworld? Lao Gao looked at the monsters around him who bowed their heads respectfully and laughed. Isn't this a good thing? The dumber the monster is, the better it is for us. Of course, Lao Gao said that he was not very clear about what the young master's specific plan was. From the past to the present, to be honest, Lao Gao has no idea what the young master wants to do. One moment he robbed the Dragon King's jade, the next moment he robbed the King of Hell's palace, the next moment he threatened someone's cousin, and now he has run to the forbidden area and become the king of the underworld. Lao Gao said that he really didn't understand much, but he just had to follow the young master. That's true. Small fry should be treated as small fry. Since you misunderstand me as their leader, then work hard for me. Guyan restrained his expression and looked into the distance. He felt it. Tao Ying and Wang Yilan were there. It's their turn next. But before that, gurgle, Guyan took out his cell phone and quickly turned on the screen. When he saw that the caller ID was wife, his voice trembled. This is a sin. Guyan raised his phone and shouted. This is my sin. I didn't even answer King Qiyu's call. Damn small fish monster. Lao Gao looked around at the monsters lying on the ground trembling with fear, and slowly said, "Master, calm down and watch your face." After hearing this, Guyan realized that he had to maintain his image. So he took a deep breath and called back. Beep 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 beep. Just after a few rings, the call is connected. At the same time, a voice came that made Guyan feel enlightened. "Hello, is this Guyan? Ling family." Originally Lang Qingqiu was discussing with Xiaolang whether they should go directly to the forbidden area to clean out the trash. And I found out that someone called me. Lang Qingqiu put the phone to his ear and asked uncertainly. Because she had already learned from Linger that the phone number of this phone was only known to Guyan and Linger. Qingqiu, my Qingqiu, why are you calling your husband? Did you miss me? I know that too, it must be because I'm not by your side that you feel lonely, right? Don't worry, I'll be back soon. Lang Qingqiu. She listened to the familiar crazy voice coming from the phone, and her heart was pounding with shame. She leaned back in the chair, holding her phone, her tone a little unnatural. Who missed you? Just wanted to ask you about tomorrow's exploration. Oh, so you're not missing me, but worried about me. Qingqiu, you really do love me. To be honest, I was a little nervous at first. But when I heard your voice, Qingqiu, I don't know why my nervous heart gradually calmed down. What does this prove? It proves that Qingqiu, you are my heaven, my heart tonic. Tell me, what would I do without you? Qingqiu, say something, Qingqiu. Guyan was very happy. But I didn't expect Qingqiu to be so worried about me. He waved at two larger monsters that looked like bears. The two bears looked at each other, then walked over in a daze. Then Guyan rode on it and asked Claw Claw to order the two bears to go to Wang Yilan. Lao Chao looked at the demon bear that walked up to him, and they exchanged glances. Lang Qingqiu was already confused by Guyan's series of moves. She blushed when she heard this. Damn guy. Why do you keep saying things that make me feel embarrassed? Hateful. So, Lang Qingqiu snorted lightly. Who is worried about you? It's just that Linger said she wanted to eat the food you cooked. I was worried that Linger couldn't eat the food you cooked, so I called to ask you. Don't be so self-indulgent. Guyan immediately understood what Lang Qingqiu meant when he heard this. The arrogant Qingqiu was also very cute. Really? Well, I'm fine now, let me ask Linger what she wants to eat. Buffs? You? Lang Qingqiu blushed. She knew Guyan had heard it and was doing it on purpose. She took a deep breath and said, No, Lang Qingqiu. Although you really do seem to be in love with Guyan. But I never said that you can behave like a little girl in front of the other person. This is really useless. Lang Qingqiu, you are the Night King. Is it too late to find out now that I am the Night King? Xiaolang, shut up. Lang Qingqiu cursed inwardly. Then calmly asked Guyan, what's going on? I heard tomorrow's exploration is very dangerous. Do you really want to go? In fact, Lang Qingqiu hoped that Guyan would not go there tomorrow. After all, it was really dangerous there. Although with her secret protection, there should be no problem. Upon hearing this, Guyan fell into deep thought. Why does Qingqiu keep asking me about this? Could it be that she has her own plans for tomorrow? Yes, Guyan suddenly realized. You are confused, Guyan. Lang Qingqiu is the Night King. Lang Bingning was in the warrior department last night. And later Meizu and the others also went to see Lang Qingqiu. What does this indicate? This shows that Lang Qingqiu, as the Night King, must have made some plans. And the plan is related to tomorrow's exploration. Maybe it is related to the warriors who explored in the past. After all, tomorrow's exploration will include things other than the warriors. There are also sect warriors. Many of them were the former enemies of the Lang family. So Lang Qingqiu must have wanted to kill those enemies. However, some accidents are inevitable during the killing process. Qingqiu was worried that he would be affected, so he kept wanting to confirm whether he should go or not. It must be like this. Guyan understood everything. Although I am indeed planning to exit early tomorrow. But it's necessary to pretend in front of outsiders. Not to mention that he also met Lang Bingning, and said so many big words in front of her sister. So, no, Qingqiu, the forbidden area is related to the world crisis. We warriors will naturally bear the brunt of the attack and stand in front of ordinary people. So, no matter how dangerous tomorrow is, I will definitely go to the forbidden area and slay the demons. Guyan said righteously. The monster under him and the monster under Lao Gao looked at each other. It seems to be asking, when His Majesty talks about slaying demons and eliminating evil, does he mean slaying those humans? Lang Qingqiu's heart trembled when she heard this. She understood that Guyan worked so hard for her. And the forbidden area is really too dangerous, so forget it. I will protect Guyan in all aspects tomorrow. Thinking of this, Lang Qingqiu stopped asking and sighed. I understand. You can go back, but be careful. At this point, Ling Qingqiu seemed to have thought of something, and said, "Oh, by the way, you seem to have met my sister, right?" When Guyan heard this, he thought to himself that it was just as he thought. Qingqiu would mention Lang Bingning at this time, so he must have his own plans. So he replied, "Yes, I met her yesterday Qingqiu, you and your sister look quite similar. When can the three of us get together?" Of course, Guyan was just being polite and joking. He didn't want to see Lang Bingning again, he always had a strange feeling about it. Ling Qingqiu certainly wouldn't let Guyan see this fake person he had made up. So he snorted coldly, "Do you really want to see my sister? Who do you think is prettier, me or Lang Bingning?" Here it comes, the question girls love to ask the most. As a pure love instructor, Guyan was naturally familiar with this kind of easy-to-answer question. Do I even need to ask this? Of course, Qingqiu, you are the most beautiful. When Ling Qingqiu heard this, he was secretly happy. But he still had a strange feeling. After all, Lang Bingning is also myself. If Guyan says that I am the most beautiful, doesn't that mean Lang Bingning is not beautiful? For some reason, Ling Qingqiu felt a strange feeling when he thought of this. "Oh, so you mean my sister is not beautiful?" Guyan was stunned after hearing this. "Huh? Sisters have deep feelings, right?" "I understand," so he quickly replied. "Oh no, my sister is also very beautiful." Ling Qingqiu heard Guyan's intention to make amends, and a hint of interest surged in his heart. "So you like both of them? Guyan, you don't want both, do you?" I don't know if it was a joke or what. Guyan always felt that he heard an inexplicable murderous intent in the second half of Ling Qingqiu's words. "Qingqiu, my dear Qingqiu, my love for you is evident to all. Do you think I am the kind of man who changes his mind every day? Oh, of course I know you're not. Then what are you doing?" "Just teasing you." Click. The phone was hung up. Guyan looked at the phone and fell into deep thought. He raised his head. Just when Lao Gao on the side thought that Guyan was going to say something. Next second, the other party looked up to the sky and shouted, "A hard to understand Qingqiu is also super cute." Lao Gao. The monster being ridden. Chapter 266. Wang Yulin's mind went blank. In a secret room of a certain stronghold. Buzz. Wang Yulin spread out her palm, and a glowing flower was flashing continuously. She closed her eyes and cold sweat gradually appeared on her forehead. Next second, it seemed like he saw something horrible. Bang! The flowers wither and fade. A trace of blood oozed from the corner of Wang Yulin's mouth. She opened her eyes with a look of panic in her eyes. "Oh, no, it seems like a monster is coming towards us." What she just used was the innate move that came with her own flower god aura. It can spread pollen and feel everything in the outside world. Just now, Wang Yulin felt an extremely powerful aura rushing towards their secret room. Could it be that were we discovered? But why the peach blossom's secret technique can obviously conceal the aura. And besides, there is the double protection of the peach blossom array. So they should not be discovered. Is it just a coincidence? Tao Ying naturally knew who was coming. She glanced at Wang Yulin inferently. Then restrained her indifference. He then showed a worried look, walked forward and handed the other person a handkerchief. "Yulin, are you okay? Don't use the flower god's energy anymore. This place is too dangerous now. Because of the appearance of the forbidden area. Everything in the Peach Blossom Club was polluted by the foul air of the netherworld. The flowers that were usually seen everywhere turned into man-eating monsters. Except for the two of them who hid in the secret room. The rest of the Peach Blossom Society members were almost all dead. Thank you, Momo Sakura, but Wang Yulin clenched her handkerchief. And the scene where Xiaolin killed her mother came to her mind again. His mother was pierced through the chest, but Xiaolin did not receive any punishment at all. After such a long time, Wang Yulin also knew Xiaolin's identity. I also understood why the other party could be so prosperous and reckless in Zhangye. It turns out that the other party is the heir of the Dragon King Palace. Such a powerful enemy, even Guyan can't do anything to him. However, speaking of Guyan, there was still a hint of loneliness in Wang Yulin's eyes. Although Guyan had clearly rejected me at the beginning, but I still can't forget the other person in my mind. After becoming a warrior, he actually sneaked into Zhangye Hospital. I also learned that it turned out that the person who paid the $1 million medical expenses for his mother was actually Guyan. But the other party said nothing. Whether it was her own hospitalization or paying the high medical bills for her mother. Even later, when his mother was killed, the other party was still using his connections to search for information about Xiaolin for him. Guyan has always been helping her. But she also knew that it was impossible for her and Guyan to be together. Because Guyan already has a wife, and his partner is Ling Qingqiu from the Ling family. Back then, before her mother got into trouble, she actually knew this talented woman. I didn't expect that. No, I can't think about this kind of thing anymore. Wang Yilan wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth with a handkerchief. Her eyes gradually became firmer, and she felt it. A monster is approaching. But even so, I must also survive. Then he would continue to grow stronger and seek revenge on Shaolin. As if to calm herself down, Wang Yilan looked at Tao Ying and said seriously, "Tao Ying, the two of us must survive." Hearing this, Tao Ying pretended to be stunned for a moment, then gradually revealed a determined expression. "Okay, we have the peach blossom secret technique. As long as we can hold on for this period of time, we will definitely be able to escape. Right?" Wang Yilan nodded. Then looked around. "Tao Ying, you take a rest first. I will reinforce the formation." "Okay." After Tao Ying replied, she looked at Wang Yilan, who had her back to her. Her eyes gradually became cold and she looked at Wang Yilan meaningfully. The other party seemed to be thinking about something ridiculous. But unfortunately, she looked up and a hint of pity appeared in her eyes. "The reason you can get to where you are today is actually because the adults have allowed you to get to where you are today. Just accept it, poor guy." Her fingers moved slightly. Buzz. The magic array that conceals the aura all disappeared. And at the same time, boom, the rubble surged and the secret room trembled. It was as if some powerful force was constantly squeezing and impacting the secret room. Tao Ying's face changed drastically, and she shouted in panic, "Oh, no, Yilan, the magic circle is ugh." Before he finished speaking, Tao Ying's voice stopped abruptly as the sound of a sharp object piercing through the body was heard. "Oh, it's hidden really well. As a small fry, you have worked hard enough." At the same time, a sarcastic voice that seemed to be a fusion of multiple voices appeared here. Wang Yilan's face changed drastically and she quickly turned her head to look over. But this one glance made her freeze in place. "Beach. Sakura." Wang Yilan's mind went blank, and she stared blankly at Tao Ying, whose body was pierced by a sharp claw. The other person's expression was pale and blood kept flowing out of her mouth. Behind her stood a black figure emitting a terrifying aura. As if knowing that Wang Yilan was no match for this man, Tao Ying opened her mouth and tried to utter the last word. "Quick, run away." After saying that, plop, Tao Ying's body was ruthlessly thrown to the ground by Guyan. A netherworld king version of her. "Next, it's your turn. The owner of the flower god Zora." Guyan looked at Wang Yilan with a calm expression, as if piercing Tao Ying was just a trivial matter to him. At this moment, Wang Yilan could no longer hear what Guyan was saying. She looked at Tao Ying lying on the ground with a pierced chest. Buzz, my ears suddenly started to ring. My mind went blank. Once again did I let the people around me die in front of me. Chapter 267. Wang Yilan chooses to join the Netherworld clan. At this moment, Wang Yilan's heart seemed to be hit hard by an invisible hammer. Why is this happening? Wang Yilan looked at the corpse on the ground, her hands trembling slightly. In fact, she already regarded Tao Ying as her friend, because it was she who brought her into the world of warriors. This enables her to gain the power to take revenge on Shaolin. But why did Tao Ying die so easily in front of me? Her trembling hands seemed to be trying to grasp something, but she could only grasp the despair that was gradually growing around her. Wang Yilan's eyes were blurred with pain, and the self-blame in her heart overwhelmed all her rationality like a tide. Am I a person who brings misfortune? Why do people around me have to suffer such a fate? Wang Yilan began to tremble deep inside, her breathing became rapid, and every breath seemed to devour her sanity. But for some reason, the image of Guyan popped up in Wang Yilan's mind. Sister Yilan, Sister Yilan. The other party's voice seemed to enter her mind. That's right, I want revenge on Shaolin. Then, go and see Guyan for the last time. So until then, I have to survive. Thinking of this, Wang Yilan's will to survive took over. Buzz. Waves of vitality-filled energy emanated from Wang Yilan. Then pieces of emerald green true key condensed from the energy of the flower god began to continuously adhere to the surroundings of the secret room and the ground. Flowers bloomed rapidly from this new green land, emitting a faint glow. A faint aura of the flower god surrounds Wang Yilan, which is also her last trump card. Guyan looked at Wang Yilan, who seemed to have suddenly exploded, especially when he looked at the phantom of the flower god behind her. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. Very good. Just as expected. Is this the basic operation of the second female led in the original protagonist group? Bailey explosion? Guyan chuckled. Flower god shadow. For a small fry like you, being able to achieve this is already very good. Why, are you angry because I killed your friend? But how come I feel like the person you hate in your heart seems to be someone else? Wang Yilan's hair at this moment was like a vine with emerald green petals growing on it. And there were traces of tears at the corners of her eyes. Hearing what the person in front of him said, he became even angrier. Shut up. You are no different from that person. Having said that, she stretched out her hand and pointed it at Guyan. Buzz buzz buzz. Emerald green vines began to gather from all directions, like sharp poisonous thorns growing on the vines. At the same time, puff puff, the vines growing on both sides of Gu Yan's feet instantly bound Gu Yan, making him unable to move at all. He looked down and couldn't help but smile at Wang Yelin. Oh, have you mastered the use of the flower god's energy? Wang Yelin was even more angry at the other party's contemptuous tone, which showed that he didn't value his life. Go to hell, monster. Oh! The vine stabbed at Gu Yan frantically. From Wang Yilin's perspective, because Gu Yan was tied up by vines, he had no way of escaping her strongest attack. The vine stabbed Gu Yan's body frantically. Puff puff. Blood and flesh kept splashing out. Wang Yilin took the opportunity to use the vines to drag Tao Ying's body away. She used her arms to shield herself in front of her to block the strong airflow caused by the attack. The air was filled with smoke. She looked at the tragic scene with some doubt. Did it succeed? Next second. Interesting. A voice that sounded like the coming of death reached her ears. Not good. Ugh. Wang Yilin's heart skipped a beat. Just as she was about to run away, her throat was suddenly gripped tightly by a strong force, and her body was lifted up. She opened her eyes in pain and looked in disbelief at the black figure that suddenly appeared in front of her. The other party stretched out his claws and grabbed his throat. Asshole. She reached out and grabbed the other person's arm, trying to break free, but it was of no use. How could it be? Why, when did you come? Wang Yilin looked towards the smoke-filled area. But there was nothing there. Why? She looked in disbelief at the black figure in front of her whose face she couldn't see clearly. When did the other person break free from her restraints? Gu Yan squeezed Wang Yilin's neck and said with interest. What made you feel that you could kill me? I really wanted to take away the spirit of the flower god just like this. But considering the rebellious spirit of a bud like you who dares to attack me, I decided to give you a choice. Thump. As he said that, Gu Yan casually threw Wang Yilin to the ground. Wang Yilin covered her neck, raised her head and looked at the person in front of her with hatred. What do you want to do? It's very simple. Gu Yan stretched out his sharp claws and hooked his fingertips towards Tao Ying's body. The latter's body gradually floated in front of Wang Yilin's eyes. This action made Wang Yilin's eyes tighten. But what the other party said the next second made Wang Yilin startled. Accept my gift and join our Netherworld clan. In contrast, I will revive your friend. Gu Yan's words lingered in Wang Yilin's ears. She felt like she had heard something wrong. Resurrection? This monster said he could resurrect his friends? Are you kidding? You mean resurrection? You can do such a thing? Wang Yilin raised her head and looked at the other person in disbelief. Resurrection should be a very incredible thing for you. But for us, the Nether clan, it's actually very simple. After all, we often deal with spirits. Well, human. Gu Yan stretched out his fingertips and gently touched Wang Yilin's heart. He bewitched and said, I seem to hear what your heart is telling me. There is actually another person who said you wanted to be resurrected. That person seems to be very important to you. In order for you to follow me loyally. Then, as he spoke, Gu Yan retracted his fingertips and stabbed Tao Ying in the middle of her eyebrows. Buzz! A magical scene happened. It was as if some magical power surged into Tao Ying's body. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Tao Ying, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly opened her eyes and her chest began to rise and fall. With a thud, Tao Ying fell to the ground. Her eyes were full of fear. But what happened? The other side. Seeing this scene, Wang Yilin stopped breathing. Alive? She looked at Tao Ying, who was clearly dead but now alive again. A thought appeared in her mind. Mom, can I be resurrected like this? As this thought came into being, it spread like crazy in her mind like a virus. It seemed that there was no other thought in my mind except this one. Well, have you thought about it? The sound that sounded like a fusion of multiple tones echoed in Wang Yilin's ears again. She raised her head with difficulty, and then looked at the Netherworld monster in front of her seriously. If I join your side, can you revive one person for me? Of course, but your friend has been resurrected. If you want to revive another person, and it depends on your performance after you join. Gu Yan smiled lightly and stretched out his sharp claws, with one fingertip slightly extending and protruding. Looking at the sharp claws so close, many thoughts flashed through Wang Yilin's mind. The way to resurrect my mother is right in front of me. If I don't seize this opportunity, I'm afraid there will never be another chance. If I resurrect my mother, she will just become a monster. Then Wang Yilin fell into deep thought. Time passes by every second. Finally, the thought of resurrecting her mother occupied her mind, and she took the initiative to reach out and grab the claw. She touched his forehead with hers and said with a determined look in her eyes, Okay. Chapter 268 Wang Yilin is evolving, the warrior department gathers. Inside the forbidden area No. 5, this is the power of the flower god. Guyan raised his hand, and a flower emitting a strange aura of death floated in his palm. He did not completely absorb the flower god energy in Wang Yilan's body. His purpose was to conduct a simple experiment. After he separates these ancient energies, can he allow others to absorb and use them? Now it seems that it is not impossible to achieve. Lao Gao stood beside Guyan, looking at the polluted flower god key on the young master. Young master, this aura is obviously much weaker than the Xuanwu key. Guyan smiled softly upon hearing this, and nodded in agreement. Well, it's only half after all. As he spoke, he used his mind to manipulate the flower god's key. Of course, in my opinion, the actual use of the flower god's key is not for fighting. The words fell. Buzz. Dense pollen continued to spread to every corner of the forbidden area. Guyan also sensed the situation in various regions from the flowers. It's not useful in combat, but this kind of perception is quite useful. Moreover, I don't know if it's because the secret techniques of the Peach Blossom Society and the Ori of the Flower God are similar. So Guyan discovered that it can be combined with pollen. It seems that I can do something even more extraordinary. We will know the details tomorrow. Oh, yes. Guyan seemed to have thought of something. He looked at Tao Ying, a good actor beside him, and said, "Remember to feed our new companion with true qi. Tomorrow, all the warriors in the sect can become food for this big guy." Tao Ying heard this and nodded respectfully. "Yes, sir." After saying that, Guyan walked towards somewhere. There grows a huge green plant in that place, which seems to be several tens of meters tall. There is a bud about to bloom growing on the top of the green plant. I didn't expect this kind of change to happen. Rumor has it that the flower god evolved from a peach tree. Could it be that Wang Yilan is going to become the new god of flowers? Guyan stretched out his hand and touched the branches, as if he could feel the vigorous vitality contained therein. He smiled and withdrew his hand. Well, then let us look forward to tomorrow. The next morning, just as the first rays of dawn appeared in the sky, nearly 100 warriors had gathered in the warrior department. Everyone was wearing the same black battle suit, which was made of a special active black gold material that contained the dual blessings of high technology and magic array. It can be fireproof, waterproof, electrical, windproof, and can stimulate one's own potential. The smooth and tight battle suit emits a slightly metallic gleam in the sun. There is a special device on the collar of the suit, which can be pressed to make long-distance calls. Each suit is molded to the wearer's body to allow for maximum mobility and comfort in combat. The emblem of the warrior department is engraved on the chest of the clothes, a golden sword stuck in the ground. The sword is surrounded by invisible wind and thunder, and it is rumored to be the weapon of the person who founded the warrior department. As expected, Guyan also put on this high-tech battle suit. He stretched his body and said, "Is this the special battle suit that is rumored to be able to resist the pollution of the forbidden area? If you have such a good thing, why don't you take it out when you are doing a mission?" He clenched his fist because this suit was engraved with a magic circle. It could allow the wearer to unleash greater power than the original body. Moreover, if one does not wear this set of clothes when entering the forbidden area, ordinary people will be affected by the foul air of the forbidden area and lose their minds. I really want to know how the warriors in the sect will deal with the turbid air. Bi Jun happened to walk over. He handed Guyan a black knife helplessly and said, "This is a bit difficult for us. The black battle suit is very precious. You could say it was created purely for the forbidden area. Every time we complete our exploration of the forbidden area, we need to return it to the scientific research department for careful repair and maintenance. Only the top warriors in the warrior department are worthy of having their own specially made combat uniforms. With the battle suit, one can even unleash all of one's talents, and one's combat power will often surpass that of one's normal self." Guyan didn't react much after hearing this. After all, he already knew it since he had read the original novel. A reason why the black battle suit can resist the foul air in the forbidden area is actually because the raw materials of the black battle suit are monsters. For department heads like Lin Yin, the monsters used in the customized battle suits are at the level of demon generals. It can be said that when the Grand Master puts on a demon general level battle suit and unleashes a combat power several times greater than his own, a strong man of Lin Yin's level can already be considered top in the world. What a pity. Matling Kinkyu. Speaking of Kinkyu from our family, Guyan looked around vigilantly. After finding that there was no Langbing Ning's aura, he breathed a sigh of relief. I was shocked if I hadn't known that the organization's mission tonight was to kill the sect's warriors. I'm afraid he really thought that Langbing Ning was going to protect him every moment today, just as she said yesterday. If I really let the other party protect me, how can I leave? Changwan Maiyin and others naturally also wore black battle uniforms. Interesting, a small piece of clothing can actually help a warrior break through the limitations of the human body. Is this the powerful logistics of the warrior department? Changwan Maiyin felt her physical condition and a hint of curiosity appeared in her eyes. How this kind of battle suit was made is something worth exploring. What would it be like if we prepared one for each member of the night organization? In less than a moment, everyone was given a special anti-demon weapon and a bracelet that could be used to temporarily conceal their aura. After distribution, Bai Jun and Lin Yinyan stood in front of the crowd. The former glanced at every warrior and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, today's trip to the Forbidden Land is full of unknown dangers. Please be fully prepared mentally." He paused and continued, "I won't say anything easy to you, because there is no easy way to travel to the Forbidden Land. And I believe that as long as we unite as one, there will be no difficulties that we cannot overcome. Remember, we are fighting for all mankind. History will remember every one of you present." After a morale-boosting speech, Bai Jun looked at everyone and said, "Everyone, get in the car and go." Yes. 8 specialized armored vehicles for 4 factions. Guyan followed the crowd and walked onto the Peace Faction's warrior car. He looked at the warriors present, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "Enjoy this Forbidden Land trip. Everyone, you will definitely find it interesting." Chapter 216 Scene heading to the Forbidden Land, interlude in the car. The location of Forbidden Area No. 5 is in the suburbs far away from the downtown area. As the armored vehicles moved away from the city, the only scenery on the roadside was endless flatland. Inside the armored vehicle, every inch of space inside the vehicle is fully utilized, and various weapons and equipment are hung on the solid metal walls. From warrior-specific rifles to professional communication equipment, every item is placed in the most convenient location. Everyone was wearing combat uniforms, sitting on seats inside the carriage or leaning against the walls. Some people quietly checked their equipment, making sure every weapon was in top condition. Others chatted in hushed tones, discussing details of the upcoming mission or conducting final communications checks on the radio. Although the atmosphere in the car was tense, it was not oppressive. The vehicle drove slowly on the rugged terrain, and the roar of the engine and the vibration of the vehicle body became the main theme in this enclosed space. Guyan looked at the black knife in his hand. He could feel a pure silver energy contained in it. It must be an anti-demon weapon used exclusively by the warrior department. But can this weapon really be effective against the Nether clan? Just as Guyan was thinking. Next second. "Oh, like this weapon? If necessary, I can give you a better one." A voice rang out that made Guyan tremble all over. He turned his head stiffly. "Just see." At some point, Leng Bingning actually sat next to him. He looked to his right and saw Lao Gao resting with his eyes closed. Looking to the left, he found that Liu Jianxing, who was sitting next to him, suddenly stood up with a dull look in his eyes and stayed aside. "What's wrong, Guyan?" Bai Jun was sitting opposite Guyan. Looking at Guyan's unusual expression, he couldn't help but ask with concern. Lin Yinyan was sitting next to Bai Jun. She saw that her adjutant had an unusual expression on his face and thought that he was scared. So she shook her calves and comforted him. "Don't worry. Xiao Xiaoju, I will protect you when the time comes. Just follow behind me." Without waiting for Guyan to speak, Leng Qingqiu turned his head and stabbed Lin Yinyan with great hostility. "Ah, a puppet that has lived for 100 years. She seemed to feel that it was not good to speak like this in front of Guyan. So she turned her head again and looked at Guyan, whose aura had become strange. "Don't be nervous, little brother. No one can see me. Try to talk to me in your heart and act normal." Guyan suppressed the abnormality in his heart and gradually calmed down. "What's going on? I can't be so nervous in front of others. So what if the other person is Qingqiu's sister? Is the perceived power of blood connection so strong?" Guyan took a deep breath and smiled at Bai Jun and Lin Yinyan. "It's okay when I think about everyone being here. I think the Forbidden Area may be quite safe this time." Bai Jun laughed and shook his head when he heard this. "I hope so." Li Chuan, who was sitting in the corner wiping the communication equipment, Erdiden couldn't help but sneered. "It is because of naive people like you that so many people die in the Forbidden Area every time." As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere in the car became slightly silent. Regarding the disharmonious relationship between the two, the White Army was also helpless. Li Chuan was born in an ordinary family and put in countless efforts to enter the warrior department. So he looked down upon rich kids like Guyan. The other party was originally a warrior from the same group as him. Because of their friendship, he also brought his former friends together to form a team. Now he didn't know who to help, so he could only act as a peacemaker. "Don't say that. Guyan is just trying to make everyone less nervous. Rong is the elder sister of Bai Jun and the others. So her words carry more weight." Li Chuan, "Shut up, everyone in the Forbidden Area is already very nervous. Clean your equipment well. Guyan is from the advanced team. He will go with us to explore the Forbidden Area. Don't affect him." Rong didn't want to say anything too harsh. After all, they were all teammates. Especially when they were in the warrior department before. Inrong knew that Gu Yan was a big troublemaker, and if he was unhappy at this critical juncture, I'm afraid it will have some impact on the exploration of the forbidden area. DSK, got it. Li Chuan lowered his head unhappily and began to wipe the instrument silently. Because he is a post-tatal warrior, he does not need to enter the forbidden area. He only needs to do communication and logistics work outside. Li Chuan on TB like this. Wang Yi, who was also a post-natal warrior like Li Chuan and could only do logistics, also persuaded Li Chuan in a low voice. She and Li Chuan and others were all warriors who came in from the same batch, because they were all friends and teammates of the BA army back then. In addition, he does have certain abilities, so he is able to participate in the exploration of the forbidden area. In fact, for most people, forbidden areas are very dangerous. But for a small number of people, participating in the exploration of forbidden areas is something that can bring them considerable honor. Especially logistics, which is safe and you can get a medal of honor when you come back. New? Seeing that everyone said this, Li Chuan wiped the instrument more vigorously and felt very unhappy. Damn it, everyone is on Gu Yan's side. Why? Gu Yan felt a little puzzled. No, am I the type that attracts a lot of hatred? He is not the male protagonist Shaolin, so why do there always seem to be some small fry trying to provoke him? TSK, how troublesome. It seems that Li Chuan didn't even mention him in the original book. He must have died in some anti-demon mission. Then, just let him do whatever he wants. I, Gu Yan, have more important things to do. And there is nothing to talk about with this kind of small fry. Just when I think about it. Gu Yan suddenly felt a chill in his heart. An inexplicable feeling of oppression filled Gu Yan's heart. He was stunned, and then looked to the side following the feeling of oppression. Suddenly he began to sweat profusely. Ling Qiyu clenched her nails tightly in her palms. His chest was filled with anger. She stared intently at the bastard named Li Chuan who was mocking Gu Yan. Garbage, 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 garbage. A mere acquired trash actually dares to mock Gu Yan. Garbage, 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 garbage. Kill him, right here in this forbidden area. I will definitely kill this trash called Li Chuan. I didn't expect Gu Yan to have such a hard time in the warrior department. Everyone was speaking for Li Chuan. Anyone can insult Gu Yan. But Gu Yan had never mentioned it in front of her before. Gu Yan, how much pressure have you accumulated? Thinking of this, Ling Qinyu's murderous intent became even stronger. Damn rubbish, I must kill you. Bi Jun and the others suddenly felt that the car had become much colder. Is Sisset a bit cold, teacher? Yeah, it's a bit cold. Lin Yinyan wrapped herself up and exhaled white air. Look, I exhaled my true energy. It's not teacher. It's not true Qi. Li Chuan felt even worse. He rubbed his hands and wondered if he was so angry that he felt cold because of everyone's behavior of licking the boots of rich kids. This is Gu Yan. He swallowed, then reached out and poked Ling Qinyu's sister. Sister, are you okay? Ling Qinyue. She suddenly woke up, quickly suppressed her murderous intent, coughed lightly, and said lightly, of course I'm fine. It just didn't occur to me that you, little brother, don't seem to be very popular in the warrior department. Ling Qinyue said while pretending to be calm. Upon hearing this, Gu Yan didn't know how to respond for a moment. He couldn't say that he had behaved very arrogantly when he was in the warrior department before, right? So he said, there is no way, this is the loneliness of the strong. Ling Qinyue smiled when he heard it. Strong? She looked Gu Yan up and down, and of course, apart from seeing that the life essence was a little brighter than before, there is no other difference. Isn't this still an 8? What's wrong with you? You are also very strong, okay? Gu Yan said speechless lie. Anyway, sister, you are not really going to stay by my side to protect me today, right? Ling Qinyue nodded when he heard this. Of course. In case you get into an accident, I will protect you. At this point, she paused and emphasized, I'm just worried that my sister Ling Qinyue will be sad. Please don't misunderstand anything. I'm not interested in a little brother like you. And I won't compete with my sister Ling Qinyue for a man. You really must not misunderstand anything. Another me. Please pay attention. Gu Yan. What nonsense is this sister talking about? I asked you if you want to protect me. What are you saying to me? Chapter 270 Ling Bing Ming. What if it was Qinyu's words? After the armored vehicle drove for a while, the sky should have been clear and sunny. But at this moment it was covered by a thick layer of dark clouds like black velvet. It was as if all the light between heaven and earth was swallowed up by this shadow. There is a vague sense of dynamic flow in the clouds, like a chaotic black ocean, churning in the sky. The sun's rays could not penetrate the gloomy clouds, causing the colors on the ground to become dull and dim. Has the pollution in the forbidden area affected this place? A white army looked out of the specially designed window with a serious expression. This is obviously not a forbidden area, but the current scene is telling one thing at every moment. That is, The scope of the forbidden area is still expanding. If the source of this forbidden area No. 5 is not eradicated, I am afraid it will continue to be polluted. He turned around and shouted to everyone. Everyone put on your masks. This place has been polluted by the foul air of the forbidden land. The voice fell. Everyone's expression became serious. And they all put on special masks that could protect them from the foul air in the forbidden area. And they looked outside and saw that the earth was dry and the greenery was withered. Everywhere you can see creatures that seem to want to escape but cannot and die tragically on the roadside. It is not difficult to imagine what would have happened if the relevant departments had not relocated the people living here. Guyan wiped the black knife. In fact, he had already communicated with the scales of the Netherworld clan in his mind. On the Black Tower, Lin, who was lying on the throne built for Guyan and doing something unspeakable, suddenly trembled, with a slight blush on her face. My lord. Yeah. Her voice was somewhat unnatural. And she looked a little flustered as she listened to the voice of the king of the underworld who was arranging things for her. Inside the other car, the more Guyan communicated, the more strange it seemed to him what was going on. Why did he feel that the voice of Lin on the other end was a little strange? But never mind, planning is the most important thing. So after arranging all matters, Guyan took the initiative to end the internal call. The Black Tower. Lin felt the voice in his head disappear. And his panicked expression gradually subsided. She clutched her chest and breathed a sigh of relief. It happened to be at this time, fortunately I didn't make any strange noises. She took a deep breath and her eyes became extremely excited. Now that humans are here, it's time to start planning. Thinking of this, she stretched out her hand, and unlike before, her hands were very wet. A crack shaped like a fish gill gradually appeared on the back of his hand. Waves of thick red mist emanated from the cracks on the back of the hand and spread outside the forbidden area. Inside the car. Little brother, who were you talking to just now? At this time, Sister Link, Inkyu's voice reached Guyan's ears, and he felt a little flustered for some reason. You know all this? So Guyan pretended to be calm and said, No, my dear sister, this is just your illusion. Yes, Link Inkyu was a little suspicious. She always felt that although Guyan Ren was here just now, he was talking to someone else in his mind. Because the fluctuations of breath will not lie. Just now, Guyan was clearly using a secret technique to whisper to someone. Damn it, if my current perception was not enough, I would have been able to intercept Guyan's secret technique and eavesdrop on what the other party was talking about. Really, I'm so curious about what you were talking about just now. Xiaolang, you have a strong sense of perception. Did you overhear who Guyan was talking to in his mind just now? Xiaolang, I don't know, but if you work hard to complement Guyan's body fluids, you can eavesdrop on other people's thoughts after your perception is enhanced. Leng Qinkyu, eavesdropping on people's thoughts. Can the Night King do such a thing? Have you completely forgotten the contents of the cult book? Can you think about the real things you want to do? I know. Leng Qinkyu and Xiaolang had already started arguing with each other. Guyan felt a little guilty, and he didn't know why he felt so guilty. If he didn't know that the person next to him was Leng Qinkyu's sister, he would probably have thought that the person next to him was his own Qinkyu. Clear autumn? Guyan was silent for a moment. And so on and so forth. Why was I so nervous and guilty next to Leng Bingning? What does this indicate? Would the person next to him really be Leng Qinkyu? No way. Assuming that was true, then why did Leng Qinkyu pretend to be Leng Bingning to protect him? Could it be because she didn't want to reveal her true identity in front of him? It seems that this is the only reason that can explain my current abnormal situation. Is it true? Or give it a try? However, a simple touch is no longer enough to make the system send out a pure love value prompt sound. No matter how advanced the method of obtaining pure love points is, Guyan cannot use it on Leng Bingning, who is next to him and is suspected to be Leng Qinkyu. So isn't this still unsolvable? Guyan sighed helplessly. Forget it, don't think about it, the most important thing right now is to make a plan. And just when I was thinking about this, buzz, things around me suddenly became blurry. The armored vehicle seemed to have entered a world of red fog. At some point, all the other vehicles around disappeared. Careful, we have entered a forbidden area. A white army was the first to notice the abnormality and immediately shouted vigilantly. A sudden bang, puff, ugh. A blood-red claw suddenly pierced through the special windshield from the outside and stabbed straight into the warrior driving the car. The poison then flowed into the warrior's body through the sharp claws, causing him to lose consciousness in an instant. Sizzle. The armored vehicle began to lose control. Come over. At this time, Guyan, who was preparing to take action and thinking about leaving, suddenly heard a familiar voice in his ears. At the same time, he felt that someone was holding him in his arms. Immediately following, hug your love interest closely, points 1000. Guyan. Chapter 271. Is it really Kinkyu? Then the plan changes. Hello, hello, hello. What is going on? This system prompt must be correct. Right? System, are you having a bug? Report to the host. This system will not make mistakes in judging the pure love value. Yes. When Guyan heard this, he took a deep breath in his heart. Since the system says so. That is to say. He raised his head and looked at Leng Bingning. Leng Kinkyu's sister, who was holding him in her arms. That is to say. This person is actually our Kinkyu? Yes. For some reason, in addition to becoming more nervous, Guyan also felt a sense of inexplicable excitement. It was as if he was on a business trip and the person he liked suddenly showed up in his rental house and gave him a big surprise. But what to do now? Guyan's brain was working rapidly at this moment. The armored vehicle was attacked by the monsters he had arranged. According to the script, he and Lao Gao should have been injured and left the scene here. But Kinkyu has come. I want to stay with each other for a while longer. So, after thinking for 0.1 seconds, Guyan came to a decision. That's it, change the battle plan immediately. Me, I won't leave yet. So Lao Gao, I won't act according to the plan for now. Act to reality, boom. As the driver was injured, the vehicle quickly lost control and crashed into a large tree installed. Ooh, Lin Yin threw herself into Bai Jun's arms. Closed her eyes and trembled with fear. Teacher, don't do that. Teacher, it's a monster. It's a monster attack. Bai Jun felt a little helpless when he saw Lin Yin, who had said she would protect everyone a few minutes ago but now shrank into his arms in fear. There's nothing you can do about it. This is the teacher's personality. He is powerful, but he is also really afraid. Really? So it was a monster attack? When Lin Yin heard this, she immediately raised her head, a hint of embarrassment appeared on her face, and she immediately stood up. Hey, I was just joking. It's just a monster, I can kill it with a snap of my fingers. Bai Jun sighed when he heard this. I hope so. Having said that, he immediately looked out the window, but strangely, the monster attacked the driver and then left, as if it was trying to make their armored vehicle overturn on purpose. Captain Ba, he's fine, he just passed out due to inhaling foul air and the toxins injected into his body. At this time, Wang Yi, who walked to the driver's side to check his injuries, also shouted towards the Bei army. Hearing this, Bai Jun nodded. Then looked at Lin Yin. Teacher, check the area around the car. Receive. Lin Yin's mind moved after hearing this. After a few seconds, she said in confusion, there are no monsters around. The big guy just now also disappeared. Gone. Bai Jun frowned. He still had great faith in his teacher's perception. Since the teacher said so, it means that the surroundings are indeed safe. He looked around at everyone and confirmed that no one was seriously ill. Then he ordered, the support staff should stay in the car and treat the injured. The rest of you who are still able to move, grab your equipment and follow me out. Teacher, you should also stay in the car to protect the logistics. As he said that, he looked at Guyan, who was in a strange posture. Guyan, who had been held by Leng Kinkyu's neck, coughed lightly upon hearing this. It's okay, my neck is just a little twisted. After a pause, Guyan got out of Leng Kinkyu's hand and twisted his neck towards Bai Jun. Look, it's okay. Okay then. A few minutes later. Click. As the car door opened, everyone raised their weapons and got out of the car carefully. It's different from the normal world. The area was covered in a thick reddish fog. There is a damp smell in the air and the surrounding environment is extremely quiet. But this quietness hides unpredictable dangers. What's going on? Are there really no monsters here? Akin Rong looked around vigilantly, with a puzzled tone in her voice. Ji, a man with an instrument beside him, nodded. He showed the monster detection instrument in his hand to everyone. The data from the instrument is not fluctuating. There are indeed no monsters around. Upon hearing this, although the Bai Jun knew that there were no monsters around, he was not completely relieved. After all, the monster's attack just now was too sudden. And now it has disappeared, which obviously means there is a problem. Everyone, don't let your guard down. Some monsters are good at hiding their auras. There is too little information on Forbidden Land. No. 5. Let us first confirm our current location. Okay, white team. Guyan didn't know whether Bai Jun and his men could rest assured. But he was indeed not very reassured. Because according to their own script, hundreds of monsters will rush over and attack them next. Then they will be dispersed, Lao Gao will be injured and faint and leave the stage. The plan is this. But what is happening now? Your Majesty. It's bad, the subordinates we sent over were wiped out in an instant by some unknown force. Listening to Lin's shocked voice in my mind, Guyan Xing guessed something. Is there anyone present who can kill so many monsters silently in an instant? He looked at Leng Kinkyuyu standing beside him. My dear wife, you are so capable. A disappearance of the monster is naturally related to Ling Qingqiu. In order to protect Guyan, Ling Qingqiu must ensure that there are no living creatures within 100 miles that can threaten the other party. Furthermore, how could she, as the Night King, tolerate the fact that there were small fry who dared to attack Guyan? Even though she is not very strong at the moment, she has the Dagger Knight, her own perception and the Night King's innate ability. So, in a moment of 0.1 seconds, she used her power to absorb all the life essence of all the monsters within 100 miles in that instant. It seemed that he felt Guyan's gaze. Ling Qingqiu smiled slightly in his heart. Guyan, don't be nervous, I have cleared out all the monsters around here. So you can explore with confidence. I'm here this time. And I'll make sure you're safe while exploring. Another me. You shouldn't do this. The original intention of the furnace is to improve oneself. You will harm it by doing this. Feeling that something was wrong, Xiaoling immediately started to persuade Ling Qingqiu in his mind. No, Luding and I have a good plan. Is it appropriate for you to interfere? Xiaoling now suspects that Ling Qingqiu's protective look is so obvious that Guyan might have almost seen through his identity. After all, judging from Guyan's usual, I only love Qingqiu expression. Maybe he and Ling Qingqiu have some kind of telepathic ability. Maybe he would be able to immediately notice the abnormality of Ling Bingbing disguised as Ling Qingqiu. That's why he unanimously opposed the other Mi's frequent disguised identities to meet Lu Ding. This will only lead to trouble. Chapter 270 to Xiaoling discovers the truth. And the situation was indeed the same as Xiaoling had guessed. Guyan had indeed discovered that the person next to him was Ling Qingqiu. But, he could only pretend he didn't know after all. Our Qingqiu also has her own dignity, okay? As the Night King, he actually came to protect him. Oh, my god. Qingqiu, what happened to you? What about your personality? Although I am very happy with you like this, but Guyan had a bad feeling. Qingqiu's behavior was a little beyond his expectations, and also disrupted his plans. But something strange happened later. My plan should have been flawless. Qingqiu her sister, thank you just now. In his mind, Guyan thanked Ling Qingqiu awkwardly. Damn it, it's too complicated to have to endure this feeling even though you know Qingqiu is right next to you. After hearing this, Ling Qingqiu's mouth corners slightly raised. And her mood became very good. She couldn't help but cross her chest with her hands. It doesn't matter. I will not tolerate the fact that a cricket and fish monster dared to attack you. At this point, Ling Qingqiu paused, then emphasized. Of course, don't get me wrong, I mean, you are my sister's husband. So I can't tolerate my family being bullied by outsiders. Especially monsters like this. Of course, you don't have to worry about any danger for now. Because I have cleared out all the monsters around. Ling Qingqiu explained in a panic that it was nothing. But look at it now. Guyan covered the corners of his mouth that were constantly rising. And poof. This explanation full of loopholes is so cute. Qingqiu, my Qingqiu, the disguised Qingqiu is also cute. Master, when will we take action? At this time. Lao Gao, who had been waiting for the action signal for a long time, couldn't help but initiate an internal voice call for Guyan. Guyan. Oh, forgot about that. I have to leave, but now that I know Qingqiu is by my side, there is naturally no rush. So, Guyan replied to Lao Gao. Oh, wait Lao Gao, the plan has changed. Listen to my next instruction. Upon hearing this, Lao Gao, who was standing by, turned his head and looked at Guyan, somewhat confused. Huh? What's going on? Didn't they agree yesterday that once the vehicle loses control, what awaits them will be an army of monsters? Then he and the young master were injured and left the stage together, and then appeared in front of everyone as the king of the underworld and his men? Why is it changing now? But the young master must have his own reasons for doing this. So receive. Call. After explaining everything, the White Army also began to arrange the next plan. He walked towards Guyan and handed him a small instrument with 5 flashing light circles on it. They all seemed to be squeezed together, and around the aperture is a terrain similar to the map in the game. There was only a little visible terrain, and the rest was blurred by thick fog. This is? Guyan raised his head and asked in confusion. Bei Jun explained. This is a signal transmitter. It is a special way for the teacher to explore the way. He pointed to the 5 apertures of the instrument and explained. There are 5 of us here, representing these 5 apertures. You can see thick fog all around in the instrument picture. In fact, as long as we take action and move forward, the thick fog will be unlocked on the instrument and the current terrain will be recorded. Teacher, there will definitely be no problem with the protection logistics here. And what we have to do is explore the forbidden area. In case something goes wrong in the fog, even if we are acting together, we all need to take this instrument just to be on the safe side. Guyan understood. It turns out that the warrior department is so advanced. Can you even make something like an electronic map? No wonder he had the confidence to explore the forbidden area. It can draw automatically. Okay, everybody be careful. Now go. After the White Army gave some morale-boosting words to everyone, he led the team and walked in the front. Guyan had his own ideas, so he stayed at the end of the team, while Lao Gao was the second to last. The exploration officially begins. As I walked, I wanted to talk to Guyan. So Leng Qingqiu also curiously came over to look at the instrument in Guyan's hand. But she couldn't see it. Wearing colored contact lenses is just for show. When Guyan saw Leng Qingqiu coming closer to him, it seemed that even the other person's scent had become Qingqiu's. He quipped, "Why, my favorite sister of Qingqiu, you haven't seen this before? My favorite autumn." Leng Qingqiu was stunned if possible. She wanted to glare at Guyan fiercely. Does this guy always talk like this in front of outsiders? Really good. Leng Qingqiu snorted, "Of course I have seen it. Little brother, there are many things you don't understand." Guyan took a deep breath of cold air in his heart, thinking that it was Qingqiu who was talking to me in this tone. For some reason, I became even more excited. Really? I think I know a lot. For example, Qingqiu's favorite dessert is the dessert I make. To be honest, I haven't cooked for her in a while. Otherwise, I'll cook for her when I get back this time. Sure enough, as soon as these words came out, it seemed that the temptation of sweets was very great. Leng Qingqiu reacted immediately. Oh, really? Well, I believe my sister will love mango pudding. Oh, and I remember she also likes cream puffs. Don't forget to make them. Oh, and ice cream sundaes. Another me, you are enough. It was just speculation. But now, Xiaoleng was 80 sure that Guyan must have discovered that the current Leng Bingning was actually Leng Qingqiu in disguise. Because Lu Ding had previously shown a state of not wanting to communicate too much with Leng Qingqiu. But now, he suddenly took the initiative to bring up the topic. This change is very abrupt. That is to say, the assumption is that Lu Ding fell in love with Leng Bingning, who was disguised as Leng Qingqiu. That could only mean that Lu Ding saw through the disguise of another me. The more Leng Qingqiu tries to hide it now, I believe Lu Ding will find it more fun and interesting. DSK only. After Xiaoleng finished his analysis, he felt helpless inside. I don't know when and how I became so familiar with cricket and the cauldron. Of course, these are Qingqiu's favorite foods, by the way. My charming sister Qingqiu, do you want to come with us? Guyan deliberately kept a certain distance from Leng Qingqiu. But he kept praising Leng Qingqiu. This ambiguous tone made Leng Qingqiu blush and her heart beat fast. But at the moment she is playing another person, so of course she can't reveal her true colors. So she pretended that she didn't like sweets and rejected it. No need, I don't like sweets, and I'm very busy, so I probably don't have time to meet you. Then how do you have time to protect me? That's because I don't want my sister to be sad because of your death. If you don't come to eat with us, our most adorable Qingqiu will cry and ask for her sister. You. Leng Qingqiu was immediately furious. Why do you make me cry? Guyan, you bastard, do you know how to speak? You're spreading rumors about me every day. Right? Leng Qingqiu resisted the urge to expose her identity and severely punish Guyan, and instead took a deep breath and said kindly, "Don't talk nonsense. I know about my sister. She is a stable person, beautiful, generous, mature and intelligent. How could she cry over something like this? You know, my sister is very strong." Guyan's lips kept rising as he listened. He looked at Leng Qingqiu, who was trying hard to pretend to be someone else with great interest. After shouting cute hundreds of times in my heart, Guyan smiled and said, "Really? But I think it's okay for Qingqiu to be this weak with me. After all, I am her husband, so she doesn't have to handle everything on her own." Leng Qingqiu. Hateful, why would you say such things in front of others? Xiaoleng, I'm so happy but I can't reveal my identity. What should I do? It's fine. Are you really okay? Well, because you've been exposed. Of course, Xiaoleng said this in his heart. However, Guyan's questioning despite knowing the answer made Xiaoleng feel interesting. Furnace. Chapter 273 The Scattered People. Leng Qingqiu's face turned red and her heart started beating fast because of Guyan's words and she didn't want to talk anymore. But her current character is Leng Bingning, Leng Qingqiu's sister. So naturally she has to do things that are consistent with her actions. Therefore, Leng Qingqiu could only suppress the shame in his heart and replied in a calm voice. "Oh, I underestimated you. I didn't expect that you, Guyan, could actually say such a thing. How can I still say such things? Do I look like an unreliable person?" Guyan raised his eyebrows and said, "Please, I'm quite shocked to hear you say that. But it doesn't matter if you think so after all." After a few seconds of pause, Guyan said jokingly and meaningfully, There are many advantages of mine that even my dear wife Kinkyu hasn't discovered. What a pity! If only our Kinkyu were here, I would definitely show all my strengths in front of her. After hearing this, Ling Kinkyu's heart skipped a beat. Why did Gu Yan suddenly ask this? Could it be that he discovered that I was pretending? No, it shouldn't be possible. After all, she is very confident in her disguise skills. So he covered his mouth and chuckled. What are your strengths? You can just show it here, and I'll just tell my good sister when the time comes. However, Gu Yan shook his head slightly. No. Because this is an advantage that can only be shown in front of Kinkyu. Sister Bing Ning, you are not our Kinkyu, so forget it. Ling Kinkyu felt relieved but also regretful when he heard this. What's reassuring is that Gu Yan will keep a good distance in front of outsiders. But unfortunately, I am not Ling Kinkyu now, but a fake Ling Bing Ning. This puts too many restrictions on her. However, chatting with Gu Yan like a familiar stranger does give me a different feeling. So she smiled gently. You are very loyal, okay? I won't tease you anymore. Just go on your way in peace. Gu Yan also smiled but said nothing. Inwardly, I thought that the time was about right, although I was not in a hurry to leave. But when they get together, it will also have some impact on their plans. So Gu Yan issued an order for Plan B to Lin in his mind. Ling Kinkyu suddenly looked at Gu Yan with alertness. It seemed like Gu Yan was talking to someone in his mind again. This is different from Gu Yan's mentality of playing as if he was shopping. The White Army and others in the front were very vigilant. Captain, how big is this place? After walking for so long, the environment here seems to be the same. Xiao Zilin, who is also a congenital warrior, is a bronze-skinned man holding a special rifle for the warrior department. His tone sounded nervous, and the reddish fog around them obscured their vision. The only thing that can confirm the direction is the instrument in hand. I'm not sure, it may be due to the special nature of the forbidden area. Maybe it has something to do with this layer of fog. Bi Jun shook his head and looked around at the vast expanse of white. The place they were in was like a tropical rainforest. Surrounded by trees and bushes, they should have encountered many dangerous monsters. But why is there no trace of monsters? Is it a trap? Just thought of this. Buzz. A thick fog began to change. A White Army could clearly see that the color of the fog gradually changed from light red to scarlet. And the trees and bushes that were originally visible became difficult to distinguish at this moment. Everyone be careful. Everyone, pay attention to your surroundings. The White Army shouted immediately. However, it was still too late. He looked back and was stunned. I saw that the people who were originally behind him had disappeared. Oh no, the White Army cursed. He looked at the instrument in his hand. And the halo around him had completely disappeared. This means that the positions of the remaining people have been moved. Damn, how could this happen? The White Army stayed where they were. Looking around vigilantly, he found that the sudden scarlet fog was spreading rapidly. And the road surface that was originally visible was now just a vast expanse of white. The thick fog was like an invisible giant hand that easily separated them. The team was dispersed. However, just when the White Army had not taken any action, the thick fog covering the forbidden area gradually dissipated. The scene in front of me gradually became clearer. The White Army was slightly stunned, because he found himself next to a seemingly peaceful swamp area. The swamp is covered with thick moss and rotten leaves. In addition, there are more than a dozen warriors from departments or sects. They looked at each other, seemingly unable to react to what was happening. The White Army immediately realized they was transferred. Brother Ba Jun. At this time, a familiar soft voice came into the ears of the White Army. He turned his head and looked. Just see. Li Lian's eyes were slightly red, and she stood in the crowd like a frightened deer. One look at it makes people want to protect it. The other team also seemed to be separated from their teammates due to the thick fog. Ba Lian? Bi Jun was stunned, then walked over without thinking. Except for the White Army. All department warriors or sect warriors who enter the forbidden area. They were all broken up by the thick fog and reorganized into teams. Shangguan Maiyin and Ning Qian were coincidentally assigned to the same area. Interesting, did the thick fog just now distract us? Shangguan Maiyin looked around. It was discovered that this was a huge open space. The ground was covered with platforms made of unknown materials, and in the center of the platform stood an ancient altar. Above the altar, the air was twisted, as if hiding a portal to another world. Ning Qian frowned. She clenched the sword in her hand and looked at the altar in the center of the platform vigilantly. This thing is a bit weird. The breath of the monster inside is very strong. Shangguan Maiyin nodded slightly and glanced at the people around her. The levels of cultivation vary, and the members include department warriors and sect warriors. Judging from their expressions, they didn't seem to react. It seems that this layer of fog is randomly dispersing the team. But it doesn't matter. He glanced at Ning Qian, who was looking at the altar intently. I thought to myself, are you with Ning Qian? It's not unacceptable. So let me sift through them. Who are the people from the sect? As expected, Mei Zhu was assigned to the same area as Yu Xingzhu. Where is this place? It's so scary. Yu Xingzhu squatted on the ground, holding her head in her hands and shouting with tears in her eyes. Mei Zhu ignored the other party and just glanced around quietly. This was a deep forest with tall and dense trees, their crowns intertwined, blocking out the sun. Even though the scarlet fog had dissipated, it was still as dark as night here. More importantly, Mei Zhu looked at what the people around her were wearing. I thought to myself, are they all from the sect? Why is it such a coincidence? But it doesn't matter. She narrowed her eyes slightly. The terrain is perfect, a great assassination site. It just so happened that the previous master asked him to hunt down the sect's warriors, and he also took this opportunity to test out his new abilities. Chapter 274, The Trapped People, Netherworld Game. Black Tower. Lin stood at the top, closed his eyes and felt everything in the forbidden area. After feeling that everyone was dispersed according to the plan that Lord King of the Underworld had said, she breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, luckily I borrowed the throne that the king had sat on. Otherwise, Lin opened his eyes, and a hint of shyness flashed in his eyes. Otherwise he might not have been able to create such a huge fog. That's right. The scarlet fog is actually Lin's innate skill. The red mist is formed by the combination of the body's true ki and blood. A position of people entering the thick fog can be adjusted at will. But the more people are mobilized and the farther they are from, the more energy is consumed. The only difference between Lin and the other members of the Netherworld clan is that the source of her power is very special. She secretes power through the emotional value in her heart. The higher the emotions, the stronger the power. Before the plan started, she had already performed a wave of magic replenishment operations on the throne where the king of the underworld sat. As for the specific content of this magic replenishment, Lin said that he would definitely not reveal it. Although the Nether clan is very open about this kind of thing, but Lin may be an alien, his thoughts on this matter are actually the same as those of normal humans. You will feel very shy. Alright. Lin patted his cheeks to come back to his senses. She took a deep breath and looked at the bud that was towering into the sky not far away and was about to bloom. The king said that this time, except for humans wearing black uniforms, anyone can be killed. And they can all serve as nutrients for this newborn Nether clan. So let us get started. On the other side, and like other areas filled with ominous and weird atmosphere, next to a small stream, the scenery here is unexpectedly beautiful and peaceful. The stream water is crystal clear and the fine sand on the bottom forms a golden canvas. The sunlight shines through the sparse mist, sprinkling on the flowing water in patches, as if countless little stars are twinkling gently. The flowers and plants by the stream are lush and green, of many varieties and colors, exuding a faint fragrance that makes people feel relaxed and happy. The surrounding trees are tall and straight, with lush branches and leaves. Their crowns interweave above to form a natural green dome, making the place a little dark even during the day. However, this darkness does not make people feel depressing, but instead brings an indescribable warmth and tranquility. Occasionally, a few rays of sunlight penetrate through the gaps in the treetops, like angels descending to earth, adding a mysterious and gentle atmosphere to this place. We were dispersed. Guyan sat on a rock by the stream. He was complaining but his expression was smiling. Ling Qiyu actually noticed something unusual before the thick fog appeared. But when she realized that the red mist was simply trying to take Guyan away from the crowd, she gave up the idea of stopping it. Now it seems that she was right not to stop it. After all, this place is relaxing and pleasant, and there are only her and Guyan here. It's really good. However, when Ling Qiyu thought that there were only her and Guyan in this place, she felt a little uncomfortable. At least she had been 2 places where there were people around before, but here there was only her and Guyan. Furthermore, she discovered that, except for where they were, all other places were filled with waves of strange and uncomfortable aura. Somehow, when Ling Qiyu found himself and others in this kind of environment, he seemed to feel even more inexplicably excited. So she walked to Guyan, straightened her body slightly, and glanced at him from the side. Although she only saw the other party's life essence, it was very interesting to Ling Qiyu. She thought about it and said, "Let's get separated anyway, we are safe here. I'll take you out after the crisis is resolved." After hearing this, Guyan smiled. In his heart there was no danger in this place. After all, this was the place where Lin sent him so that he and Ling Qiyu could be alone. Think of this. Guyan raised his head, looked at Ling Qiyu curiously, and asked doubtfully, "Really, Qiyu, I'm actually curious about something. What kind of skill is this ability of yours? Why didn't you tell me before?" Ling Qiyu didn't realize anything at this time. She subconsciously replied, Little brother, to pry into other people's abilities like this is. As she spoke, her expression froze slightly, as if she realized something. Chaolang, I told you not to do that. The other side. A white army has already gained a general understanding of the situation. First of all, this layer of red fog can shift people's positions. Some warriors were teleported here as soon as they entered the forbidden area. Some were teleported here while they were fighting monsters. The same goes for BA. Ayanchi was originally a logistics member, but was transferred to this area because of the red fog. He looked at the warriors around him who had malicious eyes, and felt a little scared. If he hadn't happened to be assigned to the same group as Bil Yan, the consequences would have been disastrous. Bil Yan was actually confused about being transferred away by the red mist. But for someone of her level, it's so easy to improvise. Just right. She hid behind the white army, and glanced quietly at the sect warriors around her who were not wearing black uniforms. Hey? If I kill them all, the master will definitely reward me. It's a pity that the owner is not here, otherwise he would definitely see how hard Liao Lian works. And just at this moment, buzz. An uncomfortable feeling of oppression filled everyone's heart. At the same time, a low voice that seemed to come from hell spread throughout the entire forbidden area. Welcome to the paradise of the underworld, human. As punishment for your intrusion into my domain, I have prepared for small games for you. As long as you clear these 4 games, you will be qualified to meet me once you get my consent. You can leave here. There is no other way. There are 203 intruders in total. You have no right to refuse. Then the Netherworld game begins now. Bi Jun was slightly stunned when he heard the voice. Netherworld game. What is going on with this forbidden area? Chapter 275. The status of each area. The forbidden area is divided into 4 areas. Each area has a simple minigame. Each game is limited to 2 hours. Eastern region, you only need to cross the swamp in front of you to win. In the western region, you only need to kill all the monsters that come out of the altar to win. In the northern region, you only need to defeat 1 ancient creature to win. As for the southern region, you just need to fight each other until the rest of you win the game. I am looking forward to the performance of you bugs. As the voice faded away, Bei Jun's expression became very solemn. Netherworld? Such a familiar name. I seem to have seen this word somewhere. Bei Jun tried hard to recall, but because of the deep environment at the moment, he was unable to recall more information. Perhaps I can only look up some information when I return to the headquarters. But until then, he looked at the swamp in front of him. If nothing unexpected happened, they should be in the so-called eastern area. This is where they play games? The owner of this voice actually regards the dangerous forbidden area as a game. At this time, tick, 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 the sound of a clock ticking was heard. When the white army looked up, he was stunned. Suddenly, a 2-hour countdown appeared in the sky above the swamp. Are you kidding me? What the hell is this? Bi Jun muttered to himself. What kind of ability is this? Kung Fu? I don't think I've ever heard of a Kung Fu with this ability. And the swamp, even though it looks very peaceful now, everyone should know about it. Since this is a game they need to challenge, it must be very dangerous. Just make a simple plan. Just as the white army was thinking about it, a voice filled with annoyance came from the side. Who wants to play this kind of crappy challenge? I came here to find the ancient energy, but I don't have time to play with this kind of stuff. It's just a swamp, just cross it. As he spoke, the man walked to the edge of the swamp and slowly bent down. Buzz. A huge amount of true energy gathered at his feet. And he said sarcastically to everyone, sorry everyone. I'll be leaving first. After all, I am still very confident in my speed. He shouted in a low voice, wind and thunder art. Boom. In an instant, the man rushed straight from the swamp to the other side like a sharp arrow. So they are from Fangbo sect. It is said that they are best at speed-based skills. It looks like the first person to complete this challenge is about to appear. Well, what should we do? Can we just walk across the swamp? No way, who knows what's in the swamp? Some people regret not getting to know each other earlier, while others are worried about how they will get through later. Only Ba Jun frowned as he watched the Fangbo sect disciples running across the swamp to the other side. No, it can't be that simple. I have a bad feeling. The Fangbo sect disciple laughed happily as he looked at the nearby shore. He turned his head and shouted to the crowd, haha, I'm coming over. Next second. Crash. Just when the Fangbo sect disciples were about to reach the other side, the swamp suddenly rolled and surged, and then a huge mouth full of sharp teeth with a diameter of tens of meters rushed out from the swamp. He swallowed up the Fangbo sect disciple who had not yet finished speaking. Immediately after the swallowing, the big mouth sank into the swamp again and there was no sound. Hiss. Everyone gasped. Hey, did you see that? What kind of monster is that? Is there such a thing in the monster encyclopedia? I don't know new monster. Are you kidding me? That mouth can eat all of us in one bite, right? How can we get through this? Everyone was dumbfounded. Yi Jun also frowned, although it only appeared for a moment. Yi Jun, who was sensitive to perception, still felt the strength of the monster. That monster. He has at least the strength of a grand master. And due to the terrain, it seems to be very tricky. As for Bai Yan, she glanced at the frowning Bai Jun, and then at the peaceful swamp. I recalled the rhythm of the monster's attack just now in my mind. Oh, I think I've come up with a good idea. However, we still need to test it again first. Western region. Changguan Mayayin and others also understood the rules of the game. Everyone looked towards the altar. Is it enough to just kill all the monsters that come out of the altar? This is too easy. A person dressed in sect attentively sneered. With so many of us here, are we still afraid that they will bring out monsters? Brother Wang is right, we have strength in numbers. So what if he has more monsters? Not to mention. Everyone cast their eyes on Shangguan Mayayin and Ning Qian. We also have Miss Shangguan and Miss Ning here. One of them is the eldest daughter of the Shangguan family. One of them is a disciple of Long Wang Shan. This combination can never lose. Okay? Oh, what a bunch of idiots, if only it were that simple. Shangguan Mayayin sneered inwardly, but on the surface she smiled and bowed. Even though we have more people, everyone should not take it lightly. After all, this is a forbidden area. When a warrior heard this, he immediately walked to the altar leisurely. Miss Shangguan is right. How about this as the number one disciple of the Fengyan sect's leader? I will take the lead. He grasped his sword and swung it in a flower. Then turned his back to the altar and looked at everyone. Don't look at me like this, I just advanced to the middle stage of Xiantian. Even if some monster comes, it can't be our opponent. Buff. Crash. The words haven't finished yet. An axe suddenly extended from the altar and chopped out. And it struck directly on the head of the person who was speaking. In an instant, half of the man's head was chopped off. And his body fell to the ground with a thud. Immediately following, the axe was taken back from the void on the altar. And a pair of huge black-green hands stretched out. Roar. The spaces expanded by these hands opening up. And everyone also saw the scenery inside, and in an instant, all of them turned pale. Just see. Inside the open space, there were densely packed monsters with varying levels of cultivation. Each of them looked at them with bloodthirsty eyes. You must be kidding. There are so many. Some people swallowed their saliva with pale faces and took back all the big words they had just said. How do I fight this? Shangguan Mayayin was also a little speechless. This was really unexpected. She glanced at Ning Qian and smiled in her heart. It seems that I have to make use of the disciples of Long Wang Mountain. Northern region. This barren land resembles the ruins of an ancient site, which seems to indicate that there was once a prosperous civilization here. But now only broken walls and ruins are left. In this ruin, there are huge mechanical creatures lying or sitting. And as the forbidden sound disappeared, suddenly, sizzle. A piercing sound broke the silence, and huge mechanical creatures began to wake up. They slowly stood up from the ground, making heavy and rhythmic metal friction sounds. Hey, Brother Mu, are you sure you can handle these ancient creatures? Liu Jianxing looked at Mu Rongxi, who had an expressionless face, with some embarrassment and nervousness. To be honest, he and Mu Rongxi were not very familiar with each other. But at least he was on the same team as him, so it would definitely be better to go to him than to someone else. Mu Rongxi did not say anything, but just calmly looked at the ancient creatures that were awakening in front of him. And his eyes gradually became excited. He said lightly. At the same time, Gala. Mu Rongxi's skin began to bulge. Liu Jianxing retracted his gaze and swallowed, then he gripped his sword tightly and said, Okay, then it all depends on Brother Mu. Yes, Brother Gu. Are you? I feel so uncomfortable staying with Mu Rongxi alone. Chapter 276. It's me. Are you satisfied? What is different from the other trapped warriors is, Hu Yan's painting style here is completely different. The atmosphere between the two was a little weird. Leng Qinqiuyu's expression was a little stiff. Did she just hear Guyan calling her Qinqiuyu? But this is definitely impossible. My disguise is flawless. How could Guyan see through it? Oh, right, the other party must have pronounced it wrong. Or was testing me. Leng Qinqiuyu said that she had to continue pretending to be Leng Bingning at this time. So she coughed unnaturally. Qinqiuyu, what are you talking about? Little brother? My sister is not here. Or are you hallucinating? Seeing Leng Qinqiuyu still acting, Guyan couldn't help but curl his lips. Qinqiuyu who likes role-playing is really cute. Why did you pretend to be your sister to protect me? Is it because you feel too shy? As soon as these words came out. You really know? Leng Qinqiuyu's eyes twitched. and he suddenly felt lost. Moreover, even after his identity was discovered, he continued to disguise himself. Thinking about it now, it was really too embarrassing for a moment. Lang Qiyu didn't know what to do. What to do? What to do? The useless young lady who was supposed to have destroyed her own eyes actually has extraordinary strength now. How should I explain this to Guyan? Xiaoling, what should I do? I told you not to do such stupid things a long time ago, but you didn't listen. Xiaoling seemed a little helpless, but also found it interesting. However, it seems that he is the one who understands furnaces better. After all, she had long guessed that Guyan knew that Lang Qiyu was pretending to be someone else. Tell the truth to the other me, this way you won't be so embarrassed. Ooh. Lang Qiyu wailed in his heart, how could this happen? On the surface. Bang! She sighed helplessly and snapped her fingers lightly. In an instant, Lang Bingning's image disappeared and turned into Lang Qiyu's appearance. At this moment, her face was slightly flushed with shame because her identity was exposed. She clasped her hands around her chest and raised her chin, with an expression that said, I'm just playing you. What can you do to me? Humph, are you satisfied? Yes. It's me. At this point, she paused and explained, don't get me wrong. I'm just afraid that Linger won't be able to eat the food you cook, so I'm secretly protecting you. Seeing this, Guyan immediately became interested. He stood up and was finally able to naturally hold Lang Qiu's hand. I understand. It's all because I'm afraid that my sister-in-law will be sad. But should I say it or not? Guyan rubbed Lang Qiu's small hands as he spoke, feeling very happy. Is his Qiu, it's still this familiar feel, he said with a smile. I didn't expect Qiu that you are so talented. It turns out that you not only deceived others, but also deceived me. Lang Qiu felt a little ashamed when she heard this. She snorted and shook off Guyan's hands. You know my secret. What do you think I should do? What should I do? You kept calling me little brother when you were pretending to be your sister. Ow. Guyan's lips curled up slightly, and he stretched out his hand to hold Lang Qiu's waist. Leaning close to her ear and chuckled. Do you like this kind of tune? Or do you want me to show you whether I am your little brother or not? Is this something that can be said? Abnormal. Lang Qiu's heart suddenly started beating wildly. Her earlobes turned slightly red, and she quickly pushed Guyan away. Her red lips trembling slightly. What nonsense are you talking about? I only said that to get into the role. No, Lang Qiu. Calm down. Don't forget that you have watched many romance dramas since you learned how to use electronic products. Haven't you memorized all the techniques in it? In the battle of love, if you are shy you lose. So, Lang Qiu forced himself to calm down, then reached out and grabbed Guyan's collar, threatening, don't tell Linger about this. What's up? Guyan raised his hands and pretended to beg for mercy. Do you like role-playing? Lang Qiu blushed and spat. Bah, it's the fact that I'm actually a warrior. That's what love is all about. Guyan nodded repeatedly. Okay, but Qiu, if you don't want me to tell anyone. He paused, grabbed Lang Qiu's hand, and said jokingly, then you can't just say it like that. When Lang Qiu heard this, he knew that Guyan was about to reveal his true face again, and sneered for a moment, threatening me? So what do you want? At this time, Guyan had not yet realized the seriousness of the problem. He rubbed Lang Qiu's small hands and coughed lightly. Nothing, it's just it seems like we haven't had love in a long time. Can we hiss? The words haven't finished yet. Guyan found that Lang Qiu had grabbed his ears with his backhand. At the same time, Lang Qiu's kind voice came over. I let you love me. I was so worried about you that I ran here to protect you. And you only thought about this? Do you know how dangerous this place is? Lang Qiu was furious it was already this time. But why was this bastard still thinking about that kind of thing? At Lang Qiu pursed her lips slightly. Guyan was already very tired in the warrior department. And now he was still in the forbidden area. He must be feeling very depressed. This kind of relaxed behavior now must be to relieve stress. She felt that this place was indeed safe. And I did hide some things from Guyan, which was wrong. More importantly, it seems like it has been a while since I exchanged body fluids with Guyan. Just this once. Next time, no matter what you say, I won't do this kind of thing with you outside. Lang Qiu said in a low voice with a shy look on his face. Guyan immediately became excited. Once, definitely just once. Xiaolang, the other me, you, makes me feel strange. Shut up. What do you know? Xiaolang? Chapter 277. Why did Guyan deliberately leave people from the Bibo sect behind? In the dark forest, all the warriors were dumbfounded. No, people from other areas at least have a challenge they can clear. Why is it that when it comes to them, they are asked to kill each other? You must be joking, we are here to find the ancient energy. But I'm not interested in playing this kind of cannibalistic drama. Right, in my opinion, we should just stay here quietly until the other areas are cleared. That's a good idea, the rules don't say we have to kill each other. A group of warriors were discussing the matter in the warrior world. Everyone knew each other every day. Not to mention that they came out together this time to look for the ancient energy. The forbidden area is so dangerous, it is even more impossible for them to do such a thing of killing each other. Meizu looked at the group of people who had already decided to run out of time. Buzz. A black blade slowly condensed in his hand. You are from the department, right? Well, we have discussed it. Let's all just wait for the warriors from other regions to complete the game. This way we can pass the level without any damage. At this time, a man walked over and greeted Meizu and Yushingzu with a smile. Perhaps because the two of them were wearing the department's black combat uniforms. The man was not too wary of Meizu. Only, Meizu didn't react at all when she heard this. Her eyes exuded a slight coldness, and she said in a light tone, "Sorry." The words fell. "Rob," she quickly raised her right hand that was holding the black blade. And puff. Well, crash. A hand rose and the knife fell. A man who was speaking in front of him was split in half from bottom to top, and blood gushed out all around like a fountain. A body was half on the ground, with a look of shock on the man's face. Immediately following, Meizu shook off the blood on the black blade, then raised her head and looked at the people with stiff expressions, and said calmly, "Sorry, you all have to die." Mo Kenji. A woman seemed to react, and she looked at the body that was split in half on the ground in horror. He screamed out in despair. "How come? Why? Why did the warriors in the department want to kill them? Crazy? Is this woman crazy? Are you kidding me? Are you? The warrior department, planning to go to war with our sect? Damn it, you said we all have to die? I'll kill you first. Then I'll take your head to the department leader." A man shouted. Then raised his sword and chopped at Meizu. The sword emitted a strong hurricane as it swung. Hurricane slash. Boom. The big knife slashed towards Meizu suddenly. However, the latter remained unmoved and just waved his hand calmly. Buzz, puff, puff. Well, in an instant, countless black tentacles emerged from the ground and pierced straight into the body of the man who was running towards him. At the same time, rush. The knife flashed by. Meizu transformed into a phantom and teleported in front of the man. She raised her knife and stabbed him in the neck. Thump. The tentacles dissipated and the man's body slowly fell down. Not yet? Meizu glanced at everyone inferently. At this moment, everyone realized that this woman was not joking. The other party really wants to kill them all. Damn it. Everybody, come on. Go, kill all the guys in those two departments. Since they were the first to start the fight, we shouldn't feel any psychological pressure. Superior. As a group of people took the lead in charging, all the warriors also rushed towards Meizu and others. Yushingzu was here. She was very scared and hid behind a big tree. She stuck her head out and looked outside. Oh, why do you have to do this? I'm so scared. Why do people want to fight and kill each other? At this time, several warriors seemed to have spotted Yushingzu hiding behind the tree, and their eyes suddenly showed anger. We found that woman's companion. Everyone, attack. As they spoke, 4 or 5 people rushed towards Yushingzu together. The latter was so frightened that his body trembled. No, I am innocent. I didn't kill anyone. Ouch. She turned around and wanted to run, but by chance she was tripped by a small stone. Ouch, it hurts. Yushingzu raised her head in fear. And at this moment those people had already come to her. No way, this woman would actually trip over a stone? Ahaha, I am dying of laughter. Sure enough, the people in the warrior department are all a bunch of guys who sit in their offices and drink tea. Hey, if we kill them, we can extort money from the warrior department. Superior. Everyone was talking mockingly, and at the same time raised their weapons and slashed at Yushingzu. That's it, go to hell, woman. Yushingzu had already closed her eyes in fear and subconsciously raised her right hand. No. Next second. Bang. Snap. The voice stopped abruptly. All Yushingzu heard was the sound of flesh and blood exploding. At the same time, she suddenly felt a warm sensation on her hands. Yushingzu opened her eyes with some trembling. At this glance, she was stunned. Where are the people? She looked at the empty scene in front of her with some fear. And her sight turned. Yushingzu saw pools of blood and flesh on the ground. I did this. Yushingzu looked at the blood on her hands. And looked at the flesh and blood on the ground. Blop. Blop. For some reason, her heart began to beat at an abnormal frequency. Yushingzu breathed slightly, and a blush gradually appeared on her face. She covered her chest. She should have been very scared. But why? Now I am so excited. Hiss, what's wrong with this woman? Hey, are you kidding me? Kill them all in an instant? What kind of ability is that? The black vortex? A space-based technique? Are you kidding me? Do we have such a genius here? Everyone who saw Yu Xingzu killing someone was stunned, and their faces turned extremely pale. No, these are abilities I have never seen before. Where are you looking at? Next second. The knife flashed. Meizu's black blade slashed through the stunned people, ending their lives in an instant. Bass. She steadied herself and glanced at Yu Xingzu, who was standing behind a tree with an increasingly excited expression. I feel speechless. What a strong talent. Is this the true face of this guy? You can learn all the skills at a glance, and use them perfectly in combination with your own rhythm. TSK, no wonder he was able to take my place. Meizu clenched the black blade tightly. But it didn't matter anymore. Anyway, I am already on Gu Yan's side. At this moment, in just 10 minutes, the ground was already filled with the corpses of the sex warriors. Okay, now the only one left is you. I boson the one who knows the water mirror. Meizu looked at a woman in a light blue robe, whose expression was full of despair. Gu Yan took special care of those who wanted to stay. Water mirror? What does Gu Yan want this for? Chapter 278. Fated Kinkyu replaced? In addition to Meizu's side, other areas have also made some progress. Swampy area. What, you mean, this monster can't attack continuously? The warriors looked at Bi-Yan with some surprise, as she had a timid expression. The latter shrank behind Bi-Jun, poked his head out, nodded pitifully and said, well, Liang is actually very sensitive to this kind of rules. I noticed that every time the monster moves, there is a certain pattern. This pattern is that it will only attack one target. The target could be a person or an area. Hear this. A warrior took a breath, swallowed and said, you mean to let some people attract this monster, and the rest of the people will take the opportunity to rush to the other side? Biayanyan hasn't spoken yet. Some people angrily shouted. What a joke. Who would believe such unfounded speculation? What if there's more than one monster in the swamp? Wouldn't everyone have died in vain? Just shut up. Little brat, you have no right to speak here. Bi-Yan. She looked frightened by what was said. In fact, I have already remembered these people in my heart. Miscellaneous fish, miscellaneous fish. A bunch of trash actually dared to talk to me like that. I'm so pissed. Trash, 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 trash. Oh, if that's the case, then don't blame me. Thinking of this, Biayanyan quietly activated his ability. A bunch of idiots. All of you should be my bait. Unlike the warriors who are in dire straits. A quiet Stremsidime without being disturbed by anyone. The atmosphere between Ling Qinkyu and Gu Yan became tense and ambiguous. Gu Yan reached out and gently held Ling Qinkyu's waist, and the distance between them was instantly shortened. The latter's cheeks were tinged with a light blush. Her heartbeat quickened, but deep down she felt an inexplicable sense of anticipation. Are you looking forward to it? Am I actually looking forward to doing this kind of thing with Gu Yan? Qinkyu, even though I've said it so many times, but I still want to say it again. Gu Yan held Ling Qinkyu's cheek and lowered his head slightly. In my heart, you are the cutest girl in the world. As Gu Yan's words fell, their lips touched lightly. Ling Qinkyu's body tensed slightly. The kiss was delicate and long, even though she couldn't see Gu Yan's appearance. However, Ling Qinkyu, who had a strong sense of perception, felt as if her soul and Gu Yan's soul had merged together. Comfortable and happy. The world around seemed to be still, and the only sound of the gurgling stream was in my ears, which seemed to add a romantic atmosphere to the scene. All words seemed superfluous at this moment. Another me. My perception has improved again. At this moment, Xiaoling was the only one paying attention to the improvement of perception. Ling Qinkyu was completely immersed in the joy of kissing Gu Yan. Just this once. It really only happened this once. Ling Qinkyu thought so in her mind, feeling a little shy. By the quiet stream, her heartbeat can be clearly heard. The leaves swayed gently, as if playing a silent melody for the lovers. The sunlight shines through the gaps and falls on the two of them, giving the scene a warm golden color. Just as time goes by, Ling Qinkyu felt that Gu Yan was a little too gentle. So she took the initiative herself. She reached out and held Gu Yan's palm, and roughly pried open Gu Yan's lips and teeth. Gu Yan was stunned. Ling Qinkyu's initiative caused ripples in his heart. Qinkyu, you are so bold? Is that so, Qinkyu? Do you like this kind of tune? But can you let me take a breath first? The power of my innate cultivation seems to have disappeared again. As if sensing Gu Yan's intention to retreat, Ling Qinkyu raised his eyebrows. She used her hands to hook him tighter, then let go of Gu Yan's head, a blush appearing on her cheeks. While panting slightly, Ling Qinkyu said with a hint of arrogance, "What's wrong? Little brother, is this not working?" Gu Yan. The corner of his mouth twitched suddenly. And he looked at Lang Qingqiu, who showed a hint of charm in front of him. He took a deep breath, and suddenly a rebellious feeling rose in his heart. What? I was actually looked down upon by Qingqiu? How can I tolerate this? Oh, this is Qingqiu you forced me to do. Force you? I didn't, Before Lang Qingqiu could finish his words, he was interrupted by Gu Yan again. At the same time. Plop, plop. Gu Yan turned passivity into initiative and spoke with actions. Divine massage technique, divine tongue, activate. A moment, Lang Qingqiu felt what skill was. Her body trembled. Plop, plop, plop. In the first second, Lang Qingqiu found that his whole body began to become hot. In the second, Lang Qingqiu found that his heart was beating very fast. In the third second, Gu Yan's actions completely destroyed her previous brute force techniques. How could this happen? What does it feel like? Different from the previous ones. In the 10th second, Lang Qingqiu's consciousness gradually became blurred. How could it be my consciousness is about to disappear? Besides, why is Gu Yan so skilled? Can this also be learned? 10 minutes later, Lang Qingqiu fainted. Qingqiu? Qingqiu? Are you okay? Gu Yan finally came back to his senses and patted Lang Qingqiu on the cheek. I suddenly started sweating profusely. Oops. I accidentally used too much force. But there was nothing that could be done about it. Because he was the one who had been knocked unconscious before. And now Lang Qingqiu was mocking his younger brother again. Under various causes and effects. Gu Yan said that he could bear this. So he exerted a little more force. And the result turned out like this? What should I do now? Wait for Qingqiu to wake up. At this time, a faint voice was heard. Gu Yan was stunned. Then quickly looked at Lang Qingqiu. Huh? Qingqiu wakes up now? Next second, Lang Qingqiu slowly opened his eyes, revealing a pair of extremely cold eyes. She seemed to be sorting out the current situation and glanced up and down at Gu Yan. His thin lips slightly opened, and a voice as light as frost came out from between his lips and teeth. Are you going to hold me like this forever? The furnace. Gu Yan. This is a replacement. Chapter 279. I didn't expect you to be so popular with women. Gu Yan is very shocked now. He looked at Xiaoling, who suddenly took over his body in front of him and fell into deep thought. It turns out changing one's personality is so simple. All that's needed is for Qingqiu to faint subjectively? Xiaoling slowly stood up from the ground and wiped the corner of her mouth. Hello? Gu Yan couldn't help but speak out. He looked at Xiaoling's operation and always felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. He knew that the other party was using Lang Qingqiu's body, but his personality was slightly cold. Whenever the other party does this, he always feels uncomfortable and guilty. Xiaoling seemed to have noticed Gu Yan's abnormality. As she put down her hand, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. What's wrong with the furnace? Didn't you mess up my body? I'm just dealing with some of the aftermath right now. Xiaoling was indeed handling the aftermath. After taking over the body, Xiaoling could feel the increase in strength more intuitively. The beauty of this increased power made Xiaoling feel very happy. This is the effect of the furnace tripod. It is worthy of being called a furnace tripod. Does the other me usually experience this feeling? It really is. Gu Yan's eyes twitched at what Xiaoling said. What do you mean by a mess? Can you please not make it sound like I did something outrageous? Xiaoling looked at Gu Yan with interest when he heard this. And then chuckled again. If it's not too much, then why am I standing here? Gu Yan. Just keep silent. This is not it. To be honest, Gu Yan didn't know that Qingqiu fainting would allow Xiaoling to come out. If he had known well, he wouldn't have argued with Qingqiu. Nothing to say. If you have nothing to say, why don't you explain the current situation? Xiaoling seemed very satisfied with Gu Yan's appearance of wanting to say something but being unable to. And she restrained her smile. After glancing at Gu Yan calmly, he said, explain how the netherworld door you came from. Gu Yan slowly put a question mark, and looked at Xiaoling in surprise. You know all this? Xiaoling was very pleased to hear this and raised his chin slightly. Aha! The ghostly aura of the 13 shadow people in your shadow is emanating without any cover. Do you think my perception is just for show? Seeing that Xiaoling knew everything, Gu Yan really wanted to ask more questions. So he raised his hand slightly. Buzz! The surrounding scenery suddenly became dark. Gurgle! Shadow people of various shapes slowly emerged from the shadows on the ground. There are 13 in total from left to right. Each of them has the strength of a Grand Master. Xiaoling looked at the shadow people behind Gu Yan with great interest. She smiled and said, interesting with your strength. Lu Ding, it is impossible for you to subdue the shadow people at the demon general level. There must be someone helping you. She moved closer to Gu Yan. The latter stood back with some resistance. Hey. Don't move. Xiaoling frowned, and Gu Yan stopped moving as if by reflex. Why can't I move? She is not Kinkyu, I surrender. Gu Yan felt helpless about his body's condition reflex. Perhaps because he had known Xiaoling for more than a month. Therefore the vigilance towards the other party has been reduced a lot. That's why we subconsciously perform this condition reflex behavior in certain situations. Xiaoling stretched out his fingertips and stroked Gu Yan's cheek. This action only lasted for a breath. After finishing, Xiaoling retracted his fingers, felt around his fingertips, and his expression became extremely cold. She raised her head, looked at Gu Yan with cold eyes, and asked in a cold voice, "You did it with her? What did I do with her? What are you talking about?" Gu Yan was confused. "Oh. It seems I was wrong." Xiaoling nodded, then raised the corners of his mouth slightly, glanced up and down at Gu Yan, and said, "I didn't expect you to be so popular with women, although the type of woman is a bit strange." It seemed that he saw Gu Yan's very confused expression. Xiaoling explained, "Although there is no red fog here, you have some of it on you. Do you know what the red mist is made of?" "Red mist, is that Lin's innate skill?" Gu Yan shook his head. "What do you mean? Isn't this the innate ability of the human netherworld race?" Xiaoling nodded and looked at Gu Yan. "It is my destiny. But to use it, certain conditions are required. This condition requires a huge amount of true energy and blood. This netherworld clan that uses the red mist is very special. The way to increase their true energy is very simple, which is to raise their emotions. And for the nether clan, the easiest way to cheer up is..." Speaking of this, Xiaoling looked at Gu Yan, licked his lips, and made meaningful mouth movements. "This." Gu Yan took a breath of cold air. He quickly denied it, pointed at himself and said seriously, Hey, that guy from the nether clan, and I really didn't do anything like this. I am pure love. What a joke, I'm such a clean person. Such a pure loving person." Seeing this, Xiaoling found it even more interesting. She looked at Gu Yan with interest. "Huh? Lu Ding, why are you so nervous? There's something wrong with you." Gu Yan smacked his lips, and he looked helplessly at Xiaoling, this hateful second personality. Okay, I won't argue with you about this, I'll just tell you the current situation." He took a deep breath and said seriously, "I am now the king of the Netherworld clan." "Well, then what?" And that's how it happened. "We set up a trap with the ancient energy to lure the sect warriors in. Our goal is to eliminate them in this place." "As who? The Night King? Or the Lord of the Underworld? With whose?" At this point, Gu Yan looked awkwardly at Xiaoling, who had a hint of a smile on his face. "According to the original plan, I should have appeared as the Night King. But the words haven't finished yet." Xiaoling then continued, "But now you have become the king of the Netherworld. Although I don't know what's going on in your mind, but I roughly guess that you want to introduce a new enemy to pave the way for your sudden new plan?" At this point, Xiaoling crossed his arms over his chest and looked at Gu Yan with a smile. "Am I right, Furnace Tripod?" Gu Yan swallowed what he wanted to say and nodded. "That's probably what you said. Of course, before that, I would like to know how much information you know about the Netherworld clan. And what exactly are the 4 sacred beasts?" Xiaoling smiled softly when he heard that. "Of course, I rarely refuse your request for looting." Gu Yan felt uncomfortable when he heard this. He looked at the other party helplessly. "Can you please stop saying that? We are allies after all. Don't use this to tease me." Gu Yan really couldn't think of any words, so he had to suppress his discomfort and said this sentence, which made Xiaoling shout even happier. "Teasing, little brother, this is teasing. DSK, don't you use body to do anything to me? Tell me about the Netherworld clan, please." Gu Yan was convinced by this second personality. "Oh, okay, I'll just tell you what I know. Chapter 280. I won't let that happen." Half an hour later, Gu Yan understood everything, just like what Lin had said to him before. The 4 sacred beasts are the dragon, white tiger, red bird, and black tortoise. In fact, these 4 were originally the 4 guards of the Netherworld king in the Netherworld clan. But the 4 of them were tired of acting as guards and wanted to sit on the throne of the king. So he teamed up with the natural enemy of the Nether clan, the Night King at that time, to assassinate the king of the Nether clan. It's just that some unpleasant things happened after the assassination. The Night King turned against them and devoured the king of the underworld, causing a split among the 5. The holy beast knew that it could not stay in the Netherworld, so it came to the human world and led humans to attack the Netherworld. Prepare to seal this history in the Netherworld. As for how the Dagger Knight was created, Xiaoling said she didn't know either. She knew all this because it was recorded in the cult scriptures. Gu Yan carefully recalled the ancient story that Xiaoling had just told him. In fact, it is basically the same as what Lin said, except that Xiaoling added some details. Xiaoling saw that Gu Yan looked thoughtful, as if he had thought of something interesting. So he raised the corner of his mouth and said inexplicably, "Actually, I also know these things. That because of you." She gradually forgot the contents of the cult book. Guyan was stunned, and after hesitating for a while, he asked, "Does this mean?" "Yeah, just as you thought." Xiaoling put away his smile, and his expression gradually became cold. "You've caused the other me to be abandoned by Night. A Knight is about to take back everything that rightfully belongs to the Night King." At this point, Xiaoling changed the subject and said calmly, "Of course, you don't have to worry. After all, the target of the Night transfer is me." After hearing this, Guyan looked at Xiaoling. He abandoned King Qiyu, which was actually a good thing for him. After all, he didn't want King Qiyu to be the same as in the original novel. But the target of Yi's transfer became Xiaoling. The body Xiaoling is using is King Qiyu's. When this was transferred to the other party, Guyan frowned, looked at Xiaoling with a calm expression, and asked, "Will you become the new Night King?" "Then King Qiu's body. To be precise, this is also my body." Xiaoling interrupted Guyan's words, with the corners of his mouth slightly raised. "Lu Ding, if I completely become the Night King, and the power of the night will make me the dominant personality, you should understand what I mean. And if that really happened, then the person who caused it all was you. Haven't you noticed that I'm coming out very frequently now? This is also because you made the other me weak." Xiaoling looked at Guyan, who was lowering his head in thought, jokingly, and said, Lu Ding, now that I have said this, I wonder what attitude you will have towards the other me next. I'm really looking forward to whether there will be any misunderstanding between you two that will please me." Just thought of this. Xiaoling was slightly stunned, because Guyan just raised his head, without any entanglement or trouble in his eyes. He said calmly, "No, I won't let this happen. The Night King chooses the dagger, not the dagger. That is to say." He looked into Xiaoling's eyes and said seriously, "The Night King can be you, but he can also be me. As long as I show that I am more suitable to be a Night King than you, then the things you said would not happen." Moreover, Guyan took a deep breath and shouted, "Don't underestimate the pure love bond between King Qiyu and me. Even if she becomes a secondary personality, I will wake her up again." As soon as these words came out, pure love bond. They are all words I have never heard of. Xiaoling took a deep breath and his expression gradually calmed down. He just looked at Guyan for a few seconds. She chuckled. "Okay, don't be nervous, I'm just teasing you. I was not chosen by the Night King. The current Night King is still another me." Guyan's eye twitched after hearing this. "That's enough, I really mean enough. You bastard." Guyan sighed and said, "Please don't do this to me, okay?" And just at this moment, buzz! There was a vibration in the forbidden area. Xiaoling seemed to sense something and looked at Guyan. "It seems that the minigame you set up has been completed by them." Guyan sensed it slightly. Well, about the same time as he expected. So it's time to move on to the next step. Thinking of this, he communicated with Lin in his mind. Below the huge green plant that Wang Yilan transformed into. What a joke, what a joke! Monsters dragged in known things and fed them to the green plants. Lin, who was directing from the side, was slightly shocked. "Your Majesty? Okay. Well, the new partner has already consumed a lot of energy." As he spoke, Lin raised his head, looked at the branches that had become thicker, and explained, "It seems to have entered the next stage. Let them come over." "Yes, sir. The link is broken." "What are you talking about with that Nether clan member?" Xiaoling had a meaningful smile on his face. "It is said that the Nether clan in human form are all very beautiful. Lu Ding, don't do anything out of line." Guyan curled his lips, speechless lie. "I've already said it, no one can shake my rock-hard love for King Qiyu." Xiaoling. I didn't care what Xiaoling was thinking at the moment. Guyan looked at the other party and asked, "What are you going to do next?" "I have to rush to the next step." Upon hearing this, Xiaoling closed his eyes as if thinking. After a few seconds, she opened her eyes with interest and chuckled. "I want to follow you and help you perform your part. Your ultimate goal should be to clear the name of the other me, right? You just need to tell me how you plan to exit, and I will leave the rest to you." Guyan looked at Xiaoling in front of him, whose face clearly showed, "I'm planning something." Although Xiaoling has a very bad personality, but being in a place like this shouldn't disrupt his plans. So, okay, I'm going to do this. Chapter 281 The Gathering of People. Wetlands. It worked. We're really here. That little girl is right. A monster's attack rhythm is indeed like this. A few scattered warriors who survived the disaster looked at the swamp, which had calmed down again. Originally, there were dozens of them, but now, the sect will remember your sacrifice. The sect warrior looked at the swamp with tears in his eyes. Just a while ago, warriors from all the major sects suddenly volunteered. He said he was going to try the plan that Ba Liang mentioned. and they are willing to act as the bait. No matter how they tried to dissuade them, they could not stop the people who were ready to die voluntarily. So after a series of ideological struggles, everyone agreed to the plan. And the fact is exactly as Bei said, they succeeded. The sacrifice of those who died was valuable. Bei Jun was also very sad. He took a deep breath and clenched his fists. If I weren't so weak, so many people wouldn't have to be sacrificed. Brother Bei Jun, don't be sad, the sacrifices of the older brothers are valuable. Bialyan tried to comfort him on the surface, but in fact she was sneering in her heart. Trash fish should be valued as trash fish. It is your great honor to serve as bait. That's right, just now Bialyan used her ability of natural charm to control a group of people to die bravely. At the altar. The disciples of Dragon King Mountain are really so terrifying. If Ning Qian is given some time, she will definitely have a place as the Grand Master. Yes, he is so strong at such a young age. I feel ashamed when I see him. All the warriors took a deep breath. Looking at the monster corpses scattered all over the ground, everyone turned their eyes to the girl who was holding a long sword. Her clothes were not stained with a trace of blood, but her expression revealed a cold and determined look. Well done, Ning Qian. Changguan Mayayin came over, her expression just revealing a hint of sadness. Everyone's death has nothing to do with you. There are too many monsters. Ning Qian shook her head when she heard that. She looked at the corpses of the sex warriors on the ground. Except for the monsters. He closed his eyes in pain. No, this is all because I am too weak. That's right. Ning Qian thought back to what happened a month ago. The Night King appeared in Zhangye, and even though she tried her best, she still couldn't hurt him at all. Even the opponent didn't use his full strength. It was just a competition of swordsmanship. Hateful. Ning Qian felt very heavy, but it didn't matter. She opened her eyes and decided that she would not lose again until she defeated the Night King. The ruins. Help. It's so fake. Liu Jianxing swallowed and looked in shock at the ancient creature that was blown into pieces by something like a bone spur. This the rules say to defeat one. But he looked at the debris all over the floor. There were more than one. Brother Mu Rong, you are quite strong. Liu Jianxing didn't know what to say and could only smile awkwardly. No way. Are all the warriors in this department monsters? How come they are all so strong? After all, I am one of the best in the sect. How come I am the weakest here? Mu Rong's eyes breathing gradually became steady, and he looked at the battle records scattered all over the ground. Nodding slightly, yeah. And just at this moment, buzz, the red mist rolled out again. At the same time, interesting human beings. It's been too long. Really too long. This is the first time I've seen a human being who can complete this challenge. Interesting, really interesting. Now you are qualified to meet me. As the words fell, the red mist once again obscured everyone's eyes. Are we finally going to meet the culprit who caused all this? No, shouldn't we be here to find the ancient key? Yeah. What about the ancient Torah? Never mind, let's reunite first. A red mist appeared and changed everyone's positions. When the group of people who had pieced together the past opened their eyes again, they found themselves in another place. The scene before them shocked everyone. They saw that the place where they were standing seemed like a barren black desert. The sky was covered with thick and twisted clouds. The occasional lightning was like scars that cracked the sky. A scattered light could not illuminate the dead land. The red mist slowly dissipated, and the suffocating darkness and stench gradually spread. The deep cracks on the ground seemed like the mouth of a monster, which could swallow everything at any time. Not far away, the broken stone pillars are like the debris of history, telling the story of the former glory and current decadence of this land. Everyone's ears were filled with the terrifying roars of countless monsters, and the sounds were so sharp that they could scare the souls away. The wandering shadows seemed to have their own will. They moved quickly in the desert, chasing the breath of the warriors. However, these are not the most terrifying things. In the distance, an extremely large army of monsters was slowly but surely approaching them. These monsters have different shapes. Some are as tall as mountains. Some are twisted like nightmares, and there is a fanatical and evil light burning in their eyes. The breath of fear and death spread with every footstep of the monster, and it seemed that even every speck of dust in the air was trembling with fear. But what are these? Are you kidding me? Are we going to fight these monsters next? Some warriors swallowed hard. Of course, in addition to this, what made everyone hold their breath was, not far away, there is also a huge plant. It is completely black, thick, and straight, spreading to the sky at the top of the plant. There is a flower bud that is about to bloom. Ning Qian tightly grasped the long sword in her hand and whispered, "The aura is very strong, stronger than the previous enemy." Changguan Mayayin nodded. She quickly glanced at the crowd. Oh? Are these the only people left alive? It seems that all the sect warriors have been cleaned up. The only ones left were some warriors wearing black uniforms. By the way, I don't know how the master's man in the secular world is doing. I haven't seen him before. Could he be dead? Just when he thought of this, Shangguan Mayayan found Gu Yan's location. The other person stood there with an expression of having survived a disaster. Oh, he's still alive and well, so that's all right. Chapter 280. Gu Yan leaves again. A white army also found their teammates in the crowd. He looked around and found that Qin Rong and others were there. So he breathed a sigh of relief. Gu Yan, fortunately you are okay. Liu Ji and Xing was also searching for Gu Yan's location in the crowd. When he saw that Gu Yan was fine, he felt relieved and walked towards him. Gu Yan nodded, and he looked at Lao Gao with fear. Luckily, Lao Gao is here, otherwise I wouldn't be able to see you. Mother Liu. Liu Ji and Xing felt the same way, patted his chest and said, if I weren't for Brother Mu Rong, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to stand here. And just at this moment, buzz. A huge pressure filled everyone's heart. Everyone was shocked. Next second, roar. With a roar that shook the earth, the army of monsters came rushing in like a flood amid the flying dust. Countless terrifying figures appeared in the sight. Everyone looked up. Just see. The monster army rushed towards them in a well-trained formation. And every step seemed to shake the earth. And in this huge dark army, there is a figure that is unique and outstanding. It was a figure riding on a gigantic black monster with a throne of bones on its back. The figure sat on the throne, wearing heavy armor, with a broadsword emitting a faint light standing at his feet. The face hidden under his helmet was not yet visible. But even from a distance, the warriors could feel the oppressive feeling emanating from him. Next to him stood a figure in a black robe. In addition, there was a figure riding a giant silver wolf following this person. Who is that? An army of monsters, the master of monsters. What's going on here? The warriors held their breath and looked at the sweeping army of monsters in horror. In less than a moment, a humanoid creature in black armor rode the knight-like beast and slowly moved in front of the crowd. Roar! Densely packed monsters stood on both sides of him, lowering their bodies and heads to show their respect for this man. Ai Jun and others immediately felt the pressure coming towards them. The armored figure quietly looked down at everyone, as if examining the warriors before him. Is this the owner of this forbidden area? So strong in the monsters around. The white army felt it roughly and a trace of cold sweat immediately appeared on his cheek. Are you kidding? The aura fluctuates. Are they all masters? Plap, plap. The white army's heart beat faster. It is indeed a forbidden place. What did the other party want to do to make them pass the level? And now they are bringing them together like this. What exactly do you want to do? Time passes by every second. Lin rode on Silver Moon's back. She glanced at everyone present with disgust and shouted, Human, intruding into Madomain is the stupidest thing you have ever done. But the king is kind and merciful since you have come this far. He has given you the opportunity to meet our master. Now, my lord gives you two choices. 1. Submit to our Netherworld clan. As soon as these words came out, the Nether clan. Everyone was stunned. What race is this? Are you referring to these monsters? And, surrender to them? After so many people died, surrender to them? One warrior seemed to be irritated by what the other said. He shouted angrily, what a joke, so many of us died. Hey, stop talking. Can't you see the situation clearly? The people around him were startled and quickly grabbed the other person. Although they were also very angry about the death of their companions, the current situation is obviously not something they can resist. Just look at the monsters around them. This scene makes them have no desire to resist at all. Lin looked at the person who spoke expressionlessly. Of course, you can also choose the second option. That is, dedicate your life to our Lord King. As the sound of scales fell. Roar. In an instant, all the monsters seemed to have received orders and let out deafening roars. Ning Qian's hand, which was tightly gripping the hilt of the sword, trembled slightly. She clenched her teeth and resisted the sound waves of this master-level monster. Some warriors were knocked unconscious on the spot because of their low cultivation level. The figure sitting on the throne raised his hand slightly at this time. All the monsters stopped moving. Immediately following, Gu Yan, who was already the king of the Netherworld, slowly spoke. A human, I know why you are here. But these are the only two choices you have right now. Life or death. Even a bug should know the answer to this question. When these words were spoken, everyone became curious. The white army glanced around. I found that there was no teacher. Teacher isn't he here? The white army clenched their fists. The worst situation. Just when everyone was looking at Lin with angry eyes. Next second. You must be joking. What a stupid thing to say about us submitting to you. An angry voice echoed throughout the place. Everyone turned their eyes over there. Just see. The eldest son of the Gu family, Gu Yan. He clenched his sword in indignation and pointed it at the Nether King. So many of us have died, how can we just let it go? Submit to you monsters, are you kidding me? I want to avenge the dead. Upon hearing this, Lin's face immediately darkened. And a dangerous aura emanated from his body. He looked at Gu Yan with murderous eyes. Human, you are looking for death. How dare you be so disrespectful to the king? Bai Jun looked at Gu Yan and was suddenly stunned. Yes, it was the same a month ago. It was Gu Yan who gave us the confidence to fight against the Night King. And it is the same today. That's right. Thinking of this. Buzz. A surging silver true energy instantly gushed out from Bai Jun's body. And even his hair turned silver and soared into the sky. He chuckled. Gu Yan is right, sticking to our original aspirations and submitting to monsters is not the style of us warriors. Everyone, I have already communicated with my teacher through the silver true key to call for support. As long as we can hold on until Minister Lin arrives, we will be safe. As soon as these words came out, everyone immediately regained their confidence. Minister Lin, isn't Bai Jun's teacher that monster Lin Yin Yin? Good. Everyone picked up their weapons and glared at Lin. Lin's eyes twitched. What idiots they are. It is your supreme honor that the king is willing to accept you. In that case. Just when Lin was about to take action, another king version of Gu Yan said calmly, is that so? Then, let all of them become nutrients for the revival of our companions. The words fell. When no one reacted. Puff 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 puff. Dense flying tentacles shot out from the huge flower bud behind it and attacked everyone in an instant. Gu Yan was stabbed in the abdomen and lost consciousness on the spot. Master. Gu Yan. Lao Cao. And the White Army shouted together, having no time to react. Get rid of the most jumpy bugs first. Another king version of Gu Yan said calmly, then looked at Lin. I'll leave this to you. Don't let me down. After saying that, the Netherworld king version of Gu Yan disappeared from this place. Yes. Lin nodded, then she looked at everyone with murderous intent, waved at the army of monsters and said, kill them. Roar. The words fell. Following a dull roar, countless monsters rushed towards the warriors like a tide. Their roars and footsteps echoed on the battlefield, like the death knell of doomsday. At this time, in a space that overlaps with reality, Gu Yan asked Shui to take off his helmet and armor. And he looked at Xiaolang, who was looking at him with an inexplicable gaze. He felt a little uncomfortable. Why do you keep looking at me like that? Have you decided when to make your move? Xiaolang nodded slightly. Of course. At this point, she paused, smiled slightly, and said, just wait and see, the effect will be very good. Chapter 283 Newborn Wang Yilan. With the arrival of the beast tide, the warriors responded quickly and formed a tight defensive formation. Swords, guns, bows and arrows all became weapons to fight against monsters at this moment. Although most of the sect's warriors were killed or injured due to Ling King Qiyu and Gu Yan's orders. However, the department had already dispatched nearly 100 warriors, most of whom were the best in the department. At this time, facing the terrifying beast tide, it cannot be said that they are completely powerless to fight back. Liu Ji and Xing, take Gu Yan and Biao Yan to a safe place. The moment the beast tide hit, Bai Jun yelled at Liu Ji and Xing. Yes. Liu Ji and Xing also knew that he could not join this battle, so he hurriedly grabbed the pitiful Biao Yan and ran towards Gu Yan. After cutting off the plant tentacles that pierced Gu Yan's abdomen, Liu Ji and Xing hurriedly checked Gu Yan's condition. He reached out to cover Gu Yan's abdomen, and used his internal energy to stop the bleeding. Biao Yan was anxiously walking around. Brother Jian. Brother Ji and Xing, brother Gu Yan, will he be okay? Oh, you deserve it, man. After you die like this, your master will be mine. No, fortunately Gu Yan is a congenital warrior with a strong physique. As long as he doesn't suffer any more serious injuries, he will be able to recover slowly. Liu Ji and Xing shook his head and breathed a sigh of relief. Biao Yan was very angry. TSK, what a lucky guy. The other side. Ding ding ding. Sparks of battle and the sound of metal clashing rang out across the battlefield. Hey, White Army, this is not good. These monsters are not ordinary monsters. Their claws are as good as our weapons. Ai Jun. Long time no see. Your silver key content is getting stronger and stronger. Several warriors from other departments approached the White Army, and while fending off the monsters, they gathered into a simple defensive square. Ai Jun looked at the few people, all of whom were partners who had been on life and death missions together. Bang! After using the silver true energy to scare off a monster that pounced on him, Ai Jun smiled bitterly. Don't talk so much, I actually didn't contact the teacher at all. Huh? One person was dumbfounded. What did you say? Didn't you contact Minister Lin? Ai Jun nodded helplessly. Yes, this place is a bit special. My silver true key can't get out. It's like being isolated by something. Several people were somewhat amused and said, okay, you're forcing us not to be traitors, right? When Bae Jun heard this, his whole body burst out with powerful silver energy again. Ah, could it be that you will join the monster camp? After these words were spoken, several people looked at each other. Boom! Everyone also burst out with silver true ki. But the concentration of true ki was much lower than that of the White Army. Are you kidding? My whole family was killed by monsters. As long as I live in this life, I will cut monsters into pieces one by one. Hey, don't scare my little melon after all. This is a new generation monster that I cultivated. Ah, you're still as disgusting as ever, but I still have my back to you. Who are you calling disgusting? As Bae Jun listened to the familiar voice of his comrade, his mind seemed to have returned to that time again. But they were supposed to be a group of 5, but now they are missing one person. If today's disaster cannot be overcome, the petite and gentle figure flashed through Bae Jun's mind. John Naroyu, will you be in that world too? Boom boom boom. Roar, 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 roar. The fierce battle created a horrific scene. Every confrontation is a test of life, and every breakthrough is accompanied by the trial of blood and fire. Under Lin's command, the monsters, which were already at the master level, displayed terrifying combat results. Just a few minutes, most of the warriors were killed or injured in an instant. No matter how much the Ba army used silver true energy to resist and kill the master level monsters. But the monsters were not afraid of death, even if half of their bodies were cut off. They still continued to rush forward, dragging their broken bodies. This horrifying scene is enough to strike fear into the heart of any inexperienced person. In the fierce collisions, blood dyed the earth red, and the boundary between life and death became blurred at this moment. Roar! As fewer and fewer people stood on the battlefield, the monsters gradually surrounded the remaining warriors on the battlefield. They shy SS. Too powerful, these monsters are all at the Grand Master level. They simply can't hold out for long. Bae Jun, Minister Lin still can't be contacted. Kinron covered her wound and asked Bae Jun breathlessly. The White Army had already exited the silver key mode at this time. He looked at the monsters that surrounded them and whose numbers were almost increasing, and gave a bitter smile. Sorry. As soon as these words came out, Kinron closed her eyes. Bang! He pounded his fist hard on the ground. Are they all going to die here today? Liuji and Xing stood under the tree. Holding his sword tightly, he raised his head with difficulty and looked at the huge group of monsters around him. The body began to tremble. Am I going to die here today? He looked at Gu Yan, who was still unconscious at his feet. Looking not far away, Gu Yan's bodyguard, Mr. Gao, also fell to the ground unconscious. Ning Qian stabbed her sword into the ground to support her body. She looked at the monsters gathering around her with unwilling eyes. Why am I so weak? Why is it? Bae Jun seemed to have thought of something, and he quickly looked at Meizu. Meizu, can you and Yushingzu still use that teleportation technique? When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. Everyone turned their eyes to Meizu. Guess when the Night King attacked? It was Meizu and the others who used their spatial skills to save them. Only, under the expectant gazes of the crowd, Meizu shook her head. No, it seems like this place is isolated by something. My power is also being absorbed and I can't use it anymore. When Bae Jun heard this, his eyes dimmed. It's over now. And at this time, a monster that was supposed to attack them stopped at this moment. They looked at the White Army and others who were surrounded by them and let out creepy growls. Then, they gradually separated into 2 rows. Boom! 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 The giant silver wolf and the humanoid Nether clan member slowly walked towards them from a distance. Lin looked at everyone mockingly. Oh, do you understand? Humans? Your efforts are of no use. Look at the dead people on the ground. This is the result of your disobedience to our Lord. Why don't you just join us? Certainly. Lin paused, and looked at Bae Jun and others with a playful look. You are not useless. You should have felt it during the battle. Right? My own strength is constantly draining away. And even some of my methods are no longer usable. Lin's words pierced everyone's heart. Bae Jun clenched his fists and looked directly at Xian Lin. What did you do? Oh, whatever, you're all going to die soon anyway. Then, let you see it clearly before you die. Lin has already determined that these people will no longer pose any threat to them. So she was happy to do something that would please herself at the last moment. And she pointed to the huge plant behind her. Did you see it? This flower bud contains the ancient energy you mentioned. And now, the owner of the flower god's key has become a member of our Netherworld clan. You will feel your whole body gradually becoming weak. And your ki gradually dissipating. This is because your strength is being absorbed by the new life being nurtured in this flower bud. At this point, Lin seemed to enjoy seeing the desperate expression on the human's face. She chuckled and said, according to the time, it seems that our new companion will soon wake up. The words fell. Plap, plap, plap. It was like a strong drum beat. The entire battlefield was filled with the rhythmic sound of heartbeats. Everyone turned their eyes to the huge black plant. Next second, boom boom boom, the earth gradually began to tremble. And with the deep roar, an ominous premonition arose in the hearts of everyone present. I saw that the towering plant was gradually moving in full view of everyone. Bass, the flower bud cracked into countless tiny cracks, from which black light emanated. In just a few breaths, the cracks began to expand rapidly, as if some force was pushing inside, eager to break free. The faint light swirled inside the flower, creating a powerful suction force that seemed to distort even the air. That's kinda bad. It seems like something incredible is about to come out. Jun, can you feel what's inside? Everyone stepped back instinctively. Jun shook his head and clenched his hands tightly together. I don't know, but it seems a little bad. Next second, with a deafening bang, the petals exploded completely. At the brilliant glow of the sunset glow, a human figure slowly rose from the depths of the flower. Bow! Everyone held their breath and looked at the humanoid monster. The humanoid demon revealed its female silhouette and descended from the top of the towering plants. Like the queen of the night, her skin a pale white that contrasted sharply with the surrounding darkness. Her face had human beauty, but the green light in her eyes revealed her extraordinary nature. Her eyes were deep, as if they could absorb people's souls. Her long dark green hair was like an undercurrent in the abyss. Casually draped over her shoulders, dark patterns flashed between her hair, as if they could swallow up the light. Her face was flawless, without a trace of human emotion, just like a finely crafted statue, revealing a cold and noble temperament. She was wearing a strange black outfit that clung to her body. The outfit was simple but had a spreading pattern. People? A person? Everyone was stunned. People grew out of flowers. What is going on? With the appearance of the humanoid monster, the air around it became sticky, as if every breath became difficult. Next second, the humanoid monster's eyes slowly opened, revealing deep pupils that were shining with green light. Its gaze swept across the battlefield, and every warrior it stared at felt a strong chill rushing to their heart. Shangguan Maiyan stared at the humanoid monster, and her expression gradually became serious. Hey, this guy is at least at the peak of the mid-stage Grandmaster level. What on earth is this monster? This is a bit bad, Shangguan Maiyan told Meizu in her heart. Meizu, can you still use your abilities? Something is wrong. The current situation is a little beyond their understanding. Although it was embarrassing, they had to withdraw. However, Meizu replied, still cannot be used. It seems that some force is interfering with me. Chapter 280 for Lin's death. Because you are the furnace of me and my other self. At the same time, Meizu looked heavily at the humanoid monster on the flower bud. What happened? The spirit of the flower god. Isn't Wang Yelin the owner of the flower god's aura? How did she become like this? Could it be? Meizu seemed to have thought of a possibility. And her heart sank. Could this current situation be caused by Guyan? She glanced at Guyan, who fainted and fell to the ground at the beginning of the game. But the other party didn't need to let herself get seriously injured. Right? Or is Guyan pretending to be sick again? Meizu seemed to think of the battle with the Night King. Damn it. Could this be another of Guyan's plans? Overlapping space. Guyan looked at Xiaolang. Are you done? If you delay any further, these people will die. The people in the Yi organization are Qinqiu's subordinates. Xiaolang smiled slightly when he heard this. Don't be impatient. Wait a little longer. She looked at Wang Yelin, the owner of the flower god's aura, who had turned into a monster. This situation is completely integrated with the spirit of the flower god? Why, could it be that Guyan did something? Outside world. Shangguan Maiyan felt a sinking feeling in her heart when she received the reply. DSK, no way, Meizu can't use her spatial ability. So how do they get out of this situation now? Wang Yilan's consciousness gradually became clearer, and she felt her current state. Alice power continued to surge out of the body. She followed her instinct and moved her fingers slightly. Bang. Dense vines emerged from the ground and enveloped all the bodies on the ground. In full view of everyone, he was sucked dry and turned into a corpse skin in an instant. Everyone was shocked. That monster is absorbing energy. Aren't we both food in each other's eyes? Seeing this, Lin laughed even more happily. She shouted to Wang Yilin. Newcomers, kill them. Get rid of. As if she heard some sound, Wang Yilin turned her head and looked at Lin. Lin's heart tightened inexplicably when he was stared at by the other party with calm eyes. But Wang Yilin soon turned her gaze gradually to Jun and others. As Wang Yilin looked at them, everyone noticed an inexplicable sweet scent. And everyone found that they could not move their bodies. What's going on? I couldn't move my body. Murong-si. What are your chances of winning against the opponent? Shangguan Maiyan called out to Murong-si currently. The strongest person in the Yi organization besides the master is Mu Rongxi. The other party's cultivation level is as high as the middle stage of Grand Master. However, Mu Rongxi replied, 0, I am no match for her. What? Shangguan Maiyin was speechless. Could it be that they would all die here today? What a joke, it would be so shameful to die here. The owner will be extremely disappointed with them. Next second, a scene that made everyone's scalp tingle happened. At some point, the humanoid monster that was originally on the top of the flower suddenly disappeared. When it appears again, he had already arrived in the middle of their crowd. To be precise, he came to Guyan's side. Yan. The humanoid monster used vines to lift up the eye-closed Guyan. And she murmured. There was a hint of fluctuation in his eyes. Guyan? She said Guyan? Jun's eyes widened, and Shangguan Maiyin also glanced over in surprise. At this time, there is only one word in everyone's mind. She knows Guyan? How could that be? However, each of them was still held still by some unknown force and could not move. Lin seemed unable to bear it any longer, so he shouted. Newcomers, kill them quickly, don't let the king down. As soon as these words came out. Shut up. Wang Yilin turned her head. A faint green light emanating from her eyes, and a surging murderous intent surged into Lin's heart. The latter's expression suddenly became extremely ugly. Immediately following, Wang Yilin turned around and looked at Guyan again. Guyan, why are you here? She stretched out her pale hand and gently touched Guyan's cheek. There was a hint of sadness and happiness in her eyes. Could it be as this fate? She became like this, but Guyan came to her side. If that's the case, can I take Guyan away and make him my side? Thinking of this, Wang Yilin glanced sideways at the other warriors around her. She spoke slowly. Sorry, I want to take Guyan away. In order to prevent you from leaking the information. So, the words fell. Well, what? Everyone found that their hands began to move uncontrollably. And slowly moved it towards his neck. Jung looked stunned. Are you kidding? What kind of ability is this? He tried hard to break free from the control, but found that his hands were completely out of control. As for Ning Qian, she held the sword and stabbed towards her neck. TSK. The same is true for Shangguan Maiyin and others. Meizu, you really can't use your ability? If this continues, we will all die. Yes, Sister Meizu, it's too embarrassing. Although I can be resurrected after death, it's too embarrassing. So we can be resurrected after we die? Shut up. Newbie, you have no right to speak here. I'm sorry. And at that moment when everyone was about to commit suicide, boom! A devastating sword energy appeared out of nowhere. It is like the first ray of sunshine at dawn, breaking through the long and dark night. This sword energy was extremely sharp, drawing a magnificent huge arc on the edge of despair. With a rumbling sound, sword energy swept past. Roar! Wherever it passed, the monsters bred in the darkness were completely swept away like fallen leaves in autumn. Even a master-level monster would be shattered like a mirror in front of this sword energy, turning into countless black powders and dissipating into the air. In addition, the huge black sword energy did not stop, but rushed straight towards Lin, who had a stunned expression. No! With a scream, Lin disappeared on the spot along with the sword energy. The dark, fog-covered sky of the forbidden area suddenly became bright. At this moment, time seems to stand still. Everyone stared with bated breath, seemingly unable to react. What is going on here? What happened? Who saved them? Next second. Buzz. Countless space black holes appeared again under everyone. Quick, retreat. Meizu shouted softly, and took away everyone present in an instant. Even Guyan, who was in front of Wang Yelin, was taken away. For a while, the entire forbidden area seemed to have fallen into silence. Overlapping space. Guyan was stunned. He swallowed and turned his head with difficulty to look at Xiaoling beside him. The other party held a black dagger in his hand. Seeing Guyan looking at him, the corners of his mouth could not help but curl up slightly. This way, it can be considered as a prelude. Isn't this a bit too much foreshadowing? Besides, why did you kill Scale? Guyan was stunned. You said you killed the monster, but why did you kill your teammates who had brains? Hear this. Xiaoling Xiao became even happier. She put away the dagger and slowly moved closer to Guyan. So close that Guyan seemed to be able to smell the nectar-like fragrance emanating from the other person. Then Xiaoling stared at Guyan with her eyes that were no longer disguised and as beautiful as the starry sky. A faint smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. And he said, because you are the cauldron that belongs to me and my other self. Others are not qualified to enjoy you. Not even fantasy. Guyan's heart was shocked, and he slowly looked away. Please don't use Skink Yu's body to say weird things. Really? I think the other me would have done the same thing. Guyan. Chapter 285. The Forbidden Land incident is over. Ling Yu feels ashamed. The speed of time flow in the Forbidden Area is different from that in the outside world. When the White Army and others went out, it was already night. Department Hospital. The White Army lay weakly on the hospital bed. He stared at the ceiling blankly. The pressure of the failed battle filled his heart. A miserable defeat. This exploration was a disastrous defeat for the warriors. All previous experiences in exploring forbidden areas were shattered in Forbidden Area No. 5. The ancient energy has been integrated into a terrifying monster by the guys who call themselves the Nether Clan in the Forbidden Area. In the end, the king of the underworld left. If he hadn't left, they would probably not have been able to escape. Of course. The most important thing is, the last Black Sword energy was so powerful that it could destroy everything in its path. Who actually used it? But just one strike, all the master monsters present, including the woman from the Netherworld clan, were wiped out. Strong, so strong. Could it be the teacher? However, when he thought of this, Bai Jun shook his head and said, "No, the teacher doesn't know how to use a sword." Who was that? Were there other warriors besides them in the Forbidden Area at that time? But there are only a handful of people in this world who have such strong strength. Bai Jun closed his eyes, his heart filled with endless pressure. Too many people died in this battle. Not only the sect, but also the warriors of the department suffered countless casualties. It's all because I'm too weak. Bai Jun muttered to himself. Tears slowly sliding down from the corners of his eyes. Outside the door. We have already understood the specific situation. Minister Lin, what I want to ask is, where were you when we were exploring the Forbidden Area? A man dressed in black with the sun emblem on his chest was calmly looking at Lin Yin, who was lowering her head in front of him as if she had done something wrong. Bai Shaozi asked me to stay in the car to protect the logistics teammates. But I don't know why, I suddenly became more and more sleepy. And then, Lin Yin's tone was fearful, and she looked up from time to time to see the expression of the person in front of her. And then you fell asleep, right? The man in black took over Lin Yin's next words and took a deep breath. Finally he closed the notebook in his hand and said coldly, "As the top person in charge of this operation, Lin Yin, you will bear all the responsibility." As he spoke, the man handed a sheet to Lin Yin, who was about to cry but had no tears. "This is the inspection and conviction letter from the department inspection team for your dereliction of duty in this operation. Wait for the department to notify you of the specific situation." After saying that, the man adjusted his glasses and left. Lin Yin grabbed the list. Plop, plop, tears suddenly burst out. She sobbed and walked into the White Army's ward, holding the sheet that read, "It has been determined that Lin Yin is no longer suitable to be a peace minister. White boy. The inspection team bullied me. Forbidden Area No. 5. After a devastating war, most of the foul air and monsters in this place were destroyed by the night. I have to say, the weapon Knight is indeed a bit perverted. No wonder everyone wants to become the Night King. Master, what is the purpose of collecting the souls of these dead people?" Lao Gao couldn't help but feel curious when he saw Guyan using his claws to devour the souls of all the dead department warriors in the Forbidden Area. Guyan curled his lips when he heard this. What's the point? It's just recycling waste. It's all absorbed by the claws. Isn't their power also my power? By the way, where is Wang Yilan? Xiaolang has left, apparently because King Qiyu is about to wake up again. Hearing this, Lao Gao looked up at the black tower in the distance and explained. He went back to the tower. The king version of Guyan nodded when he heard this. TSK. To be honest, he didn't expect Wang Yilan to break through to the peak of mid-stage Grand Master. Is this the effect brought about by completely integrating the ancient energy? And still maintain his sanity. But he didn't expect that the puppet Guyan, which she made with his claws, would suddenly grab and hold on to him. Fortunately, nothing unexpected happened. Xiaolang did things in a simple and rough manner. After letting the Kuai absorb the souls of all the warriors present, Guyan clapped his hands. "It's done." Chirp. It came out with its claws coordinated and let out a cry. Absorbing so many souls made its strength increase again. Of course, except for some warriors, such as the souls of sect warriors, their souls were completely destroyed by the dagger. After all, they were the murderous sect that besieged the Leng family back then. So they are dead. After doing all this, Guyan breathed a sigh of relief. So the Forbidden Area incident is now over. Next. Just need a good rest. Black Tower. Wang Yilan sat on the edge of the tower, gazing into the distance with a blank look in her eyes. From this you can see that the ground has been cut into a deep groove. Countless creatures were turned into black powder by the sword energy. Wang Yilan was not sure who took action in the end. But she knew that if the sword energy had not wanted to attack her, she would probably have died there. Could Shaolin's power be that strong? In fact, I am still very weak. The most important thing is that Guyan. Isn't it a blessing that we didn't take him away? After all, If he saw her like this, would he be disappointed in her? At this time, Wang Yelin seemed to have heard something and her expression gradually became cold. Newcomer, Lin is dead, and many of the tribesmen are also dead. The giant silver wolf Yin slowly lay down beside Wang Yilin. His eyes were filled with sadness. Lin died completely, without even a soul left. The sword energy was so terrifying that it was a miracle that it survived. Scale? Is it the Netherworld clan that looks like a human? Wang Yilin thought to herself. But soon, she also felt a little sad. Haven't I become a member of the Netherworld clan now? The king of the underworld. She could feel an inexplicable power being planted in her body by the other party. As if he could control her life and death? Wang Yilin noticed Yin Yu's sadness. She reached out and touched Yin Yu's head. After you become stronger, find the enemy, and then kill him. She turned her head and looked at Yin Yu seriously. My name now is Lan. Yin Yu. It trembled all over, and its eyes turned red. Okay. Ling family. In the study. Buzz buzz buzz. The sound of cell phones vibrating continued to be heard in the room. Guguyan don't. Ling Qingqiu suddenly raised his head. However, as soon as she woke up, she realized the strange situation. Why isn't there any dangerous smell? And where is Guyan? Why does the atmosphere of this place sound so familiar? It was just like the study room where he had always stayed. At this time, sister, are you okay? My brother-in-law called. Ling Linger's voice reached Ling Qingqiu's ears. Linger? Ling Qingqiu was stunned. She took a deep breath and felt a little confused. Wait a minute. Wasn't he in the forbidden area? Wasn't he next to Guyan? Wasn't he kissed by Guyan's skilled kissing technique? Yes, did you faint from the kiss? When Ling Qingqiu thought of this, he felt extremely humiliated. Damn it. I was actually kissed to the point of fainting by Cricket Guyan. This is a shame for me. Ling Qingqiu. Chapter 200 Itesis Ling Qingqiu knew that Xiaoling could come out. Linger. When did I come back? Ling Qingqiu rubbed his eyebrows, unable to remember what happened afterwards. I only remember that I had another dream after I fainted. It seemed that I dreamed that Guyan and a woman who looked very similar to her were doing something they shouldn't do. Ling Linger had actually been observing Ling Qingqiu in the study for a long time. She swallowed and quietly looked at her elder sister at this moment. She felt relieved only after confirming that the second personality had returned. She began to explain. Well, that sister, you came back very early and looked very tired. So you fell asleep immediately. Don't you remember? You came back early? I came back by myself? When Ling Qingqiu heard this, he sensed something was wrong. Ling Linger pursed her lips, hesitated for a moment, and nodded. Yeah. I wonder if my elder sister knows that she has a second personality. Ling Linger screamed in her heart. Who knows how it feels to just get home and then run into my sister with a second personality? I was scared to death, okay? Fortunately, the other party just said simply, it's a pity that we have to see each other next time. And then went back to the study and lay on the table. During this period, Ling Linger almost suffocated. Ling Qingqiu frowned. Came back by yourself? What a joke. Didn't I faint in the forbidden area? Even if he comes back, it can only be Gu, huh? No. Ling Qingqiu suddenly opened his eyes. She looked at Ling Linger and asked, Linger, are you saying that someone has touched the computer before you and me? Ling Linger swallowed and said, huh? Why did he suddenly bring this up? Although she was thinking about it, Ling Linger still answered truthfully. Yes. This tone must be from my elder sister. Hear this. Ling Qingqiu thought of a possibility. Her face suddenly became gloomy, and she tried her best to control her tone. Linger, you go down first. On my brother-in-law's phone number. Ling Linger carefully placed the phone on the table. And he held his breath and ran out in one breath. Ooh, why is my sister suddenly angry? And after Ling Linger left, Ling Qingqiu no longer concealed her anger. She asked coldly in her mind. Xiaoling, when can you come out? How stupid. I was so stupid to think that Xiaoling's personality could not come out of her body. Today's situation clearly proves this point. It's too dangerous. I had no idea that Xiaoling was here. What happened in the forbidden area? What happened to Guyan? The most important thing, after Xiaoling came out, did she use her body to do anything to Guyan and Linger? After a moment of silence in my mind, Xiaoling's meaningful voice came out. Oh, the other me, you should have discovered it long ago. After receiving this answer, Ling Qingqiu's heart sank. She clenched her fists and asked sternly, you haven't answered my question yet. And what did you do in the forbidden area after you came out? Another me, this is not like you, why get so excited? Don't forget, I am you too. As for what I did, Xiaoling's tone became more subtle when he said this. I can only tell you that the taste of the furnace is really good. No wonder you fell in love with him. As soon as these words came out, The corners of Lang Qingyu's eyes twitched and his heartbeat became increasingly irregular. She took a deep breath. What did you do, Xiaolang? If you hurt Guyan and linger, I will never let you go. Damage? Why? The value of the furnace is so high, I must make good use of it. As for Linger, she is also my sister, so I will naturally not hurt her. This. Lang Qingyu's mood gradually stabilized. But he was still not completely calm. Because she hasn't figured out one key thing. That is, when and how did you get out? A previous traces of using the computer showed that you controlled my body to operate it. Right? Xiaoling smiled gently when he heard this. This kind of laughter sounded very heavy to Lang Qingyu. After all, Xiaoling didn't have as many emotional changes as he does now. What exactly happened? Yes, you guessed it right. As for what method? Another me, do you think I will tell you? Just like you confidently said before that I know nothing. I want to say the same thing to you. Another me, you don't understand why I can come out. Nor do you understand when I will come out. A more Lang Qingyu listened. The tighter her brows frowned, she clenched her fists and said, Where's Guyan? What on earth did you do to him? A furnace? Ah, I'll tell you straight. What? Lang Qingyu, listen carefully. I am very interested in the furnace tripod. Maybe when we come out next time, something interesting will happen. Just like today. The other person's body fluids tasted great. As soon as these words came out, Lang Qingyu could no longer suppress the anger in his chest. What did you say? Guyan is mine, Xiaolang, don't touch him. Xiaolang, if you mess around, I will do everything I can to expel you from my body. Xiaolang, 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 Xiaolang. Lang Qingyu kept calling out in his heart. Because he was too excited, his power gradually dissipated and the bookshelf began to tremble. However, Xiaolang seemed to have disappeared and no longer responded. Damn it. Lang Qingyu gave up. She covered her forehead with her hands, feeling extremely anxious. What a joke. Xiaolang can actually come out and control her body? What are the factors and conditions involved? The situation was a little beyond her understanding. Wait, by the way. You can ask Guyan. He must know what I did after I fainted. Thinking of this, Lang Qingyu quickly reached for his cell phone and prepared to make a call. Just suddenly, what Xiaoling had said before flashed through her mind. A taste of the furnace is very good. This sentence kept lingering in her mind, making her heart full of irritation. Lang Qingyu's hands froze in the air. She bit her lip slightly. No way. That kind of thing couldn't really have happened. Could it? Although Xiaoling controls her own body, her personality is not hers. Guyan, with his dull mind, would definitely not be able to tell that it was her. What if the thirsty Xiaoling did that to me? Myself, how should I explain this to Guyan? Lang Qingyu's cheeks flushed slightly. Obviously she hadn't done anything with Guyan yet. I hope that bastard Xiaoling will get there first. Moreover, it is obviously just a secondary personality. Cricket is just a secondary personality, a secondary personality. What a joke, Xiaoling, you bastard. Cricket, a secondary personality, actually dared to devour its master. I am so angry. Why did this happen? Chapter 287 Showdown. I actually have more than one personality. Family-oriented. Guyan's room. Guyan was once again wrapped like a big dumpling and lay on the bed. Although he has explained that he was pretending to be sick this time, it was to cooperate with his son's performance. Therefore, Gu Chanming and Su Wurong prepared a full set of treatment services for him to cover up their tracks. On the bed. Why didn't Qingyu answer the phone? You're not awake yet? Guyan was a little hesitant and confused. He turned over with thoughts surging in his mind. Before he left the forbidden area, Xiaolang had already controlled Qingyu's body and left. He had already called Langlinger in advance, and the other party confirmed that Lang Qingyu was at home. So here comes the question. Guyan was a little confused. I don't know how I should explain how Qingyu got back home after she wakes up. No, how can you explain it yourself? Shouldn't it be Xiaolang who should explain? Guyan turned over again. There was a hint of hesitation in her eyes. If Qingyu knew that Xiaolang could come out when she fainted, so what will Qingyu do? You know, even for Langlinger, Lang Qingyu had never taken the initiative to reveal Xiaoling's affairs to the other party. Besides, let's put aside everything else. What if Xiaoling stabbed him in the back and told Qingyu in advance about his cooperation with the other party? Just when Guyan was struggling, the phone rang again. Guyan's body shook. Before the brain could react, a body had already answered the call. Soon, Lang Qingyu's familiar voice came over. Guyan, are you okay? Ling family. Lang Qingyu sat on the sofa in the study, fiddling with her hair with her fingers while asking with a little nervousness. Her expression was a little unnatural because she already knew that Xiaolang could come out of her body. So Ling Qingqiu wanted to know whether the two of them had done anything strange in the forbidden area. Hearing this familiar voice, Gu Yan held his breath and concentrated. Plop, plop. Very good, my pure love heart, abbreviated as pure heart, has been activated. It's Qingqiu for sure. And his tone was no longer calm as before, but a little nervous. Gu Yan seemed to have thought of something. He took a deep breath. It's time to think about how I got away with it. So his tone became natural. Qingqiu, what you said. Didn't you protect me very well behind me? It was just an accident. I was knocked unconscious by the enemy when I woke up. I was home. At this point, Gu Yan also revealed a hint of confusion. Qingqiu, did you send me home? After Gu Yan finished speaking, his heart beat rapidly. He was betting that Qingqiu might have already noticed that Xiaoling could come out of her body. I also bet that Xiaoling's second personality has a bad taste and will definitely say something that will cause Qingqiu to misunderstand. I also bet that with Qingqiu's current personality, he would not let him know about Xiaoling's existence. So, Gu Yan is betting that what Ling Qingqiu wants to know most is actually to confirm whether Xiaoling is doing anything strange with her body. If he wanted to confirm this, then if he said this, the other party would definitely continue along with what he said. And he can also completely clear himself of the suspicion of being an insider. Even if Qingqiu wants to settle the score, he will only settle with Xiaoling. Hearing this, Ling Qingqiu's heart finally settled down. Phew, not bad. Judging from what Gu Yan said, Xiaoling didn't seem to do anything out of line to Gu Yan after taking over my body. Otherwise, considering Gu Yan's expression, he would have said it by now. Then it's okay. Ling Qingqiu was about to say something, but swallowed it back. Gu Yan is also very smart, judging from his previous attitude towards me. Gu Yan, and you really not realize that Xiaoling is no longer me? Ling Qingqiu's brain was working rapidly. Is the self behind really protecting Gu Yan? Maybe he is. But suppose Gu Yan understands that the Ling Qingqiu, who is protecting him, is not the real Ling Qingqiu. And it should be understood that the unconscious Ling Qingqiu definitely didn't know what the sober Ling Qingqiu did. That is to say, Gu Yan might have actually discovered at that time that Xiaoling was not her. So right now I'm on the phone trying to confirm who I am. If I continue to follow what Gu Yan said, will the other party think that I am a little cold? Once he finds out that she is lying, will Gu Yan be disappointed in her? If that happened. Ling Qingqiu thought of this and clenched his fist slightly. So she decided to take a gamble. I bet Gu Yan realized that Xiaoling was not her. And I bet Gu Yan already knew that she had a second personality. I bet even if he knew that she had a second personality, Gu Yan would not distance himself from her. So, after Ling Qingqiu had some ideological struggle, she said softly, Gu Yan. What? Gu Yan held his breath, waiting for the moment to see whether his bet was right or not. Ling Qingqiu's next sentence stunned him. Ling Qingqiu's slightly complicated voice slowly said, I'm sorry, I lied to you. Actually, I have more than one personality. As soon as these words came out, the air around seemed to have quieted down. After Gu Yan was stunned for a moment, his voice trembled slightly. No, Qingqiu, why did you expose yourself directly? UGA Technology Intelligent Brain Company is a Fortune 500 technology company under the UGA Group. Focus on brain interface technology. The top floor of the company. In the president's office, a woman stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, holding a glass of fragrant red wine, and she looked down at the bustling city below with sharp eyes. The woman stood straight, and her tailor-made suit highlighted her professionalism and competence. This woman is the general manager of Gu Family Technology Intelligence Company, and is known as the second Mrs. Gu. Gu Yu, ROU. At this time, crunch. The door was gently opened. Mr. Gu, this is the invitation sent by Madame Gu. Chang Qian, the personal secretary of Gu Yan ROU, who has a small round face, respectfully handed over an exquisite invitation. Upon hearing this, Gu Yan ROU withdrew her gaze from overlooking the scenery, turned her head, and casually placed the red wine glass aside. He extended his hand and took the invitation. She flipped it open and took a few glances, then threw it aside. A proud voice came from her vocal cords. Annual meeting. This year is probably my good-for-nothing brother's last chance. Tap tap tap. The clattering sound of red high heels could be heard from inside the office. Gu Yan ROU walked to the desk, reached out and picked up a photo frame. On top of it was Gu Yan, who had his head pressed by her with an unhappy look on his face. She looked at the photo frame happily, with a slight smile on her lips. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again, my good brother. I wonder if you are still acting as a lapdog for the eldest lady of the Shen family. If that's the case, I really want to see you again. How pitiful you look when you get irritated at the annual meeting. Hearing this, Secretary Shang Qian reported quietly. Boss Gu, it is said that young Master Gu is in love again. And his partner is the eldest daughter of the Leng family. Zhangye City is in an uproar. I heard that it has even come to the point where they are meeting their parents to discuss marriage. As soon as these words came out, snap. The picture frame is broken. Guyan Aroyu turned her head stiffly, her eyes full of surprise. Who are you talking about? Oh, it's Link, Inqyu, the eldest daughter of the Ling family. Is. Guyan Aroyu's eyes twitched. Tap tap tap. After picking up the photo frame, he rushed out the door in a hurry. Prepare a plane for me, I want to go to Zhangye. Oh? Shang Qian was confused. What happened, President? Chapter 288. Another me, so shameful. Family-oriented. Guyan's brain didn't have time to react. Leng Qingyu's complicated voice came again. Guyan, actually, I don't know when my second personality will come out. At time in the forbidden area, maybe the me you see from now on is my second personality. My second personality, and I can't share the same memory. So I don't know what the other person did. Leng Qingyu clenched his hand holding the phone slightly. Her expression was complicated. In fact, she didn't even tell her sister Linglinger about Xiaoling. It is because she understands that the second personality is dangerous. So she also tried her best to control her second personality to ensure that the other person would not come out. But what I worried about still happened. The second personality appeared in the forbidden area. And he is still by Guyan's side. She was very scared because Xiaoling was a dark, dirty, negative person who would resort to any means. Xiaoling. So she was afraid that Xiaoling would attack Guyan. After all, the other party had always called Guyan a furnace. And subjectively, Xiaoling did not regard Guyan as a human being. Leng Qingyu took a deep breath, her voice trembling slightly. Guyan, I'm sorry, I'm telling you this now. Because I'm afraid that you will have a different opinion of me after you know that I have a second personality. I'm also afraid that you'll be in danger, because I can't control my second personality either. She is the negative personality that was born in my body during the accident that year. Guyan, I'm sorry I kept it a secret until now. Leng Qingyu's words were full of sincerity and truthfulness. She told Guyan everything she could. The matter of the Night King is too dangerous. And Leng Qingyu will never tell it until his death. So how did Guyan react? After Leng Qingyu finished speaking, her heart was pounding. She held her breath and felt very nervous. What will Guyan think of her when he finds out? Leng Qingyu also found himself becoming more and more like a weak person who wanted to rely on others. From being calm at the beginning, she gradually changed to the person who doesn't want Guyan to leave her. Leng Qingyu also understood that what he was doing was wrong. Because she is the Night King, even if she is in love with Guyan, she should keep her true heart. And she still couldn't help it. For so many years, her only sense of security came from Guyan. The only warmth comes from Guyan. During these 5 dark years, the light as dazzling as the sun also came from Guyan. She really didn't want Guyan to leave her. Therefore, Leng Qingyu was willing to tell Guyan everything about herself. Except the Night King. Ein passes by every second. Guyan was stunned where he stood. Clear autumn. Have I been stuck in the original novel since the beginning? The Qingyu in the original novel would not speak in such a nervous tone or say such insecure words. That's right. Guyan only discovered it at this moment. Clear autumn is clear autumn, cold autumn is cold autumn. These two are different. The Leng Qingyu in the original novel is no longer with us. But the Qingyu who is with him now is the Qingyu he truly knows. Guyan covered his chest. He closed his eyes, his expression painful. My heart is filled with torment and guilt. Qingyu had already told him all the information about herself except the Night King. She even told him about Xiaoling's situation. This shows that the other party already regards him as the most trusted person. But Leng Qingyu did this the more Guyan felt in agony. Because he had done many things that he could not reveal to Leng Qingyu. This was really too much torment for him. Leng Qingyu regarded him as light. But Guyan, what he has to do is let Leng Qingyu stand in the sun. So forgive me, Qingyu. Guyan opened his eyes, with a complicated look in his eyes. He took a deep breath, sat up slowly, and said gently, Qingyu, wait for me for 2 minutes. As soon as he finished speaking, Guyan was the first to hang up the phone. Leng Qingyu, whose phone was hung up, was stunned. She held the phone, feeling a little helpless for a moment. Why did Guyan hang up the phone? 2 minutes? Why? Could it be? Leng Qingyu's shoulders trembled slightly. Could it be that? I said made Guyan unable to accept it for the time being. So you want some quiet time alone? Why? Leng Qingyu murmured to himself. Am I thinking too idealistically? She thought that Guyan loved her so much that he could accept everything about her. Even if there is a second dangerous personality, can the other party accept it? She bit her lip lightly. His hands were clenched into fists. The sound in his ears gradually disappeared, and Leng Qingqiu's brain gradually fell into chaos. In the end, am I still going to be alone? However, next second, another me, the furnace is here. Xiaoling's distinctive voice suddenly sounded. I don't know if it was Leng Qingqiu's illusion, but this time Xiaoling's voice seems a little complicated. Next second, a warm feeling suddenly appeared above Leng Qingqiu's head. Fool. This sound is. Leng Qingqiu was stunned. She raised her head slightly and opened her eyes. After seeing the familiar dazzling source of life, I felt a little confused. The life essence continued to teach him. Why do you have to apologize? Isn't it normal to have one or two secrets? Besides, not to mention one personality, even two or three. Ha! Qingqiu, I love you the most, too. You are such a Chu Uni Bu. Believe in my love for you. The words fell. At the moment when Leng Qingqiu was still in a daze, Guyan lowered his body, pinched her chin and lifted it slightly. Oh. The lips kissed. Feeling the familiar feeling, Leng Qingqiu's heart slowly calmed down. A tear slowly rolled down the corner of her eye. Ampentess so embarrassing every time. Another me. Very embarrassing. Shut up, Xiaoling. Chapter 289. Your brother-in-law is going to stay at home for one night. I don't know how much time has passed. Leng's house, downstairs. So, that's what happened. Your brother-in-law plans to stay at home for one night. Leng Qingqiu held Guyan's hand with a red face. She lowered her head and looked very embarrassed. It's so embarrassing, my old problem has come back again. This caused Guyan to rush over to comfort him. This time she was laughed at by Xiaoling. And she didn't even think about who it was because of. Leng was dumbfounded. She was wearing pajamas and looked at Leng Qingqiu and then at Guyan. No, when did my brother-in-law come here? My door is clearly locked. The most important thing is. Leng yelled with tears in her eyes. Brother-in-law, why didn't you come earlier? I had to eat yesterday's leftovers for dinner. Leng Qingqiu was unhappy when she heard this. Linger. What's wrong with leftovers? It's always healthier than takeout. Sister, this is not a question of health or not. The problem is that the leftovers you made have become like biological weapons after a day of fermentation. Leng pouted and didn't want to talk. Guyan naturally understood what Leng meant. He rubbed Leng Qingqiu's little hand and said softly, Qingqiu, are you hungry? How about I make something to eat? Didn't you say you wanted to eat mango pudding cream puffs or something like that? As soon as these words came out, Leng Qingqiu blushed. This bastard, does the other party still remember what I said when I pretended to be Leng Bingning in the forbidden area? Hateful. However, because she had some sweet time with Guyan and again, her mood improved. Once the mood is good and the jaded mood is no longer there, the temper will come out. So Leng Qingqiu raised his chin slightly and snorted. Whatever you want. As soon as Guyan saw it, he knew that Leng Qingqiu had returned to his old state. He felt relieved and said with a smile, then wait for me in the living room for a while. Good. Leng Qingqiu left happily. Next is. Guyan looked at Leng who was pouting. And said helplessly, don't pout, I haven't forgotten you. Fried chicken legs, right? Leng smiled happily when she heard it. Yeah, brother-in-law, I knew you were the best to me. Don't worry, just come with me first. As he spoke, Guyan pulled Leng into the kitchen. After turning on the range hood, Guyan Ki lowered his voice and asked Leng seriously. Tell me quickly, how did your sister come back? Leng was still immersed in the joy of fried chicken legs. When she heard this, her face fell. Brother-in-law, I tell you the truth, the sister who came back at the beginning was not a sister at all. Leng made a very exaggerated expression. She covered her chest and said, I felt like I was dying of nervousness at that time. But fortunately, the other sister left soon. Then, brother-in-law you call? And then, Leng looked at Guyan in confusion. Brother-in-law, you are here, when did you come? Why didn't I hear anything? I was sent here by the pure love system, can I tell you this? So Guyan interrupted the topic. Don't ask questions that children don't understand. Go wash all the dishes in the sink. Why don't you do any work at home? Leng immediately got angry. It was you who wanted to ask me. You bastard, you bastard. Western country. Inside the world-class Weissland Symphony Hall, a girl about 13 or 14 years old stood in the center of the stage, her hands gently resting on the strings of the violin, and her white dress highlighted her purity and innocence. Despite his young age, he is already able to perform in the world's top symphony halls. All those sitting in the audience were famous and powerful people from the Western country. As the girl's fingertips gently swayed, a melodious sound rang out. The sound of the violin was like a clear spring jumping in the mountains, greatly purifying the soul. This person is none other than Gu Yingying, who is also a candidate for the Gu family's successor. She is Gu Yan's sister, known as the second Link Qiu. She is not only proficient in music, but also has amazing talents in many fields such as painting, computer programming and even finance, and has been recognized by the world. P.S. If you have forgotten the Gu family, you can review chapter 103. The audience held their breath and were deeply impressed by each other's talent. As the performance ended, the audience burst into thunderous applause. Thank you everyone. Gu Yingying bowed with a gentle smile and waved to the audience. A rumored genius girl? Teacher, what do you think? It's really amazing he has such talent at such a young age. Although there is still a gap compared to Leng Qingqiu from the East Country back then. The praise and criticism from the audience naturally reached Gu Yingying's ears, but she still maintained a gentle smile. Only, after returning to the backstage, Gu Yingying sat down on the leather sofa with a very gloomy expression. Oh, a bunch of idiots. Why do I have to perform so hard for a bunch of idiots? A bodyguard at the side said helplessly, Miss, this is not the East Country. It is the West Country, please be careful with your words. Notice? Gu Yingying asked back, raising her voice slightly. And she gnashed her teeth and cursed, a bunch of guys who have been eliminated by the times are commenting on my talent wantonly. Especially. She lowered her voice and cursed, especially. You said I'm not as good as Leng Qingqiu? You must be joking. I am the genius. I am so much better than that guy who has fallen from grace. Do those pig-like manure-making machines know what genius is? Gu Yingying became angrier and angrier as she spoke, and she rubbed her temples. After taking a deep breath, his expression became obedient again. She smiled and looked at the bodyguard who was already used to it. Xiaoling Dang, what do you think? Miss, my name is Lin Dang. Not Xiaoling Dang. Lin Dang had long been accustomed to his young lady's changing expressions, so he didn't answer, but took out an exquisite invitation and handed it to the other party. And miss, this is the invitation sent by Madame Gu. Invitation? Gu Yingying seemed to have thought of something. Her eyes lit up and she took it. After she looked at it for a few times, a hint of evil interest appeared in her eyes. It's the annual meeting again? That? The corners of her mouth turned up, and she gently placed her fingers on the side of her mouth. She looked at Lin Dang and pretended to be cute and said, What kind of ugly behavior do you think my good brother will show this time when I play tricks on him? I'm really looking forward to his anxious and angry look. I wonder if he is still acting as Shen Weiner's liquor. If so, the words haven't finished yet. Lin Dang flipped through the information and shook his head and said, Oh, it seems not young Master Gu is currently dating the eldest daughter of the Ling family. According to rumors, the baby will be born soon. As soon as these words came out, Gu Yingying's smiling expression froze on her face. She maintained her current action. You, who are you talking about? The eldest daughter of the Leng family, Leng Qingqiu. Aha. Gu Yingying heard it clearly now. She stood up suddenly and her expression became extremely complicated. His face turned pale and blue. Are you kidding me? Why is my useless brother with Leng Qingqiu? And she felt her brain spinning, her voice trembling slightly. Even the baby is about to be born. Lin Dang flipped through the information again, and then explained to Gu Yingying, according to folk rumors, this is the case, but there may be some discrepancies in reality. But the relationship between the two is real. As soon as these words came out, Gu Yingying's body swayed slightly. She covered her face and clenched her teeth. He glared at Lin Dang fiercely. Lin Dang, postpone all subsequent trips for me. I want to go to Zhanghe. Miss, my name is Lin. Lin Dang looked at Gu Yingying with some surprise. Why was it called right this time? Chapter 290 Confident Leng Qingqiu. Xiaoling, you can't get out. Father-in-law, tell me chu why your chicken rumstick chu is so delicious chu. At the dinner table, Leng Linger said to Gu Yan with her cheeks puffed out. Touched, happy, it's great to be alive. Leng Linger almost cried inside. Finally got to eat this again. Leng Qingqiu felt very angry. It seemed as if this was saying that she had not taken good care of Linger. Linger, can you please pay attention to your image? Leng Qingqiu frowned slightly. She was really unhappy to see her sister like this. Although he couldn't see her specific face, Leng Qingqiu could picture Leng Linger's current state in his mind just by her voice. Leng Linger restrained her expression a little. Gu Yan smiled happily. If the child likes to eat, just let her eat. Come on Qingqiu, I'll make it for you too. It's a bit late, let's just have a midnight snack. In fact, there is no need to say anything. Leng Qingqiu had already stuffed a few puffs into his stomach. She licked her lips and felt her whole body become soft. This is it, the taste of happiness. Chu. I haven't had this for a long time. Leng Qingqiu was eating puffs quietly, while Gu Yan was watching her from the side. Linger was sulking. You are the same, sister, you are so embarrassed by your brother-in-law's cooking. Woman. As Guyan watched, he couldn't help but reach out and pinch Qingqiu's cheek. Then squeezed it gently. You know what, it feels really good. Qingqiu noticed something was wrong while eating her sweets. She turned her head and looked at Guyan in confusion. What? It seemed that Qingqiu was used to showing herself in front of Guyan. So she opened her eyes. However, unlike when Xiaoling appeared, Qingqiu's eyes. It's gray. After hearing this, Guyan withdrew his hand and smiled gently. Nothing. I just think Qingqiu are really cute. Especially when eating. Say something stupid. When Qingqiu heard this, her face immediately turned red. She used to puff to cover her mouth, to hide the corners of her mouth that were constantly rising. Then he picked up another one and handed it to Guyan. Here, I'll give you one. Aha, then I will accept it with great gratitude. Then you should accept it with gratitude. Linger was eating and looking at the atmosphere at the table. She immediately understood something. She coughed lightly and stood up, saying to Guyan and Qingqiu, brother-in-law, sister, I'm done eating, I'm going to bed first. I have to go to school tomorrow. After saying that, he gave Guyan a thumbs up in tacit understanding and hurried upstairs. Guyan also responded with a thumbs up. You are the sister-in-law who understands your brother-in-law's heart very well. And after Linger left, the atmosphere between Guyan and Qingqiu became increasingly ambiguous. Qingqiu, Linger is gone. Then, Qingqiu pretended not to understand and ate the puffs a little slower. Guyan moved and squeezed next to Qingqiu. A unique smell of the former rushed into Qingqiu's nose. Her heart trembled and she was just about to move away. Guyan put his arm around her waist and pulled her back. His deepened magnetic voice came over slowly. Then, can we, as a couple, do some evening content? When Qingqiu heard it, flick, the puff in her hand fell on the table, and her ears flushed slightly. What's the content of the evening? What is it? What do you think? Qingqiu, you look so beautiful even in your pajamas. The smell of you just out of the bath makes me excited. If. The more Guyan spoke, the lower his voice became. Qingqiu also listened shyly. What? Next second. I can't bear it anymore. Qingqiu. Hiss. Others suck cats, let me suck you, Qingqiu. Has. If you're not angry if I do this, then I'll die without regrets. Guyan couldn't bear it any longer. He hugged Qingqiu and buried his head in the other's neck, then kissed and sucked her. Qingqiu was suddenly filled with shame and anger. She found that she was still the conservative in front of Guyan. You can never imagine what this pervert will do next. Qingqiu, my Qingqiu, I was wrong. It's been a while since we had sex. In front of Qingqiu's door, Guyan leaned against the door, stuck his head in and apologized to Qingqiu. Snort. Qingqiu snorted coldly and pushed Guyan's head out of the door. Pervert. Bang. The door is closed. Qingqiu leaned against the door, covering his chest. Wei took a deep breath. It's really unimaginable that the good atmosphere was completely ruined by Guyan's abnormal behavior. Obviously, I am also looking forward to what Guyan wants to do next. Qingqiu pursed her lips gently, but only she herself knows why she ran away. Because she was shy. That's why he couldn't resist Guyan's abnormal behavior. If it was just a kiss, she could accept it. Going deeper, she seemed to be thinking of the love article she had heard on the internet. When I think about what the couples do in the movie. Qingqiu covered his face and slowly squatted on the ground leaning against the door. No, I absolutely cannot accept this. Another me. The opportunity to increase my strength was missed by you. I can already feel it. Your perception will enter the next stage in just a little bit. At this time, Xiaoling's voice faintly came into Qingqiu's mind. I have totally forgotten about Xiaoling. She suddenly became alert. Xiaoling, what do you mean by saying this suddenly? I don't mean anything. Really? I tell you, even though you can come out of my body, I'm already alert. I have used the power of the Night King to reinforce a layer of defense for my personality. So, it is absolutely impossible for you to come out of my body now. Qingqiu said confidently that the Night King was an expert at playing with souls. Therefore, it is a very simple thing to use the power of darkness to imprison the second personality in one's body. Xiaoling stopped talking. She also realized her current situation. Was it because of what happened before that made the other me so alert? But oh, what a pity. Qingqiu realized that Xiaoling was so angry that he couldn't speak. He smiled like a winner. Xiaoling, blame me because you are too dangerous. Staying in my body is your best destination. Talking. Maybe it's time. Lang Qingqiu also felt a little tired. And she yawned. Start with a good night's sleep. After all, skin is the most important thing. Chapter 291 Xiaoling appears again. The night bells are ringing. The moonlight poured into the bedroom through the screen window. Crunch crunch. The floor was stepped on with a series of low, light sounds. A pair of bare feet that looked crystal clear in the moonlight slowly appeared beside Gu Yan's bed. The visitor chuckled. The other me, unfortunately. You missed a step. As someone who is gradually being disapproved of by Yi, you don't have that much power to control me. Xiaoling glanced at Gu Yan, who was sleeping soundly. She lowered her body slightly and moved in front of Gu Yan. Her hair fell freely. She looked at a strand and put it behind her ear. Anne looked up and down at Gu Yan with a slightly aggressive look. When in the forbidden area, the bodily fluids she tasted by controlling her body were as sweet as agar nectar. That feeling is something she still remembers. At this moment, looking at Gu Yan, who was so close but unaware, Xiaoling's breathing quickened slightly. I really want to taste that sweet taste again right now. Thinking about this, Xiaoling continued to lower his body. Only, at the moment when she was about to touch Gu Yan, she hesitated. The tip of my nose is already filled with Gu Yan's alluring aroma. But, I don't know why. A strange thought flashed through Xiaoling's mind. She felt that if she tasted it quietly like this, it would make her seem inferior to the other me. After all, the other me can do this kind of thing with the other person when Lu Ding is awake. But can she only do this kind of thing when the other person is asleep? Wouldn't this make you seem inferior to your other self? What a joke. The more Xiaoling thought about it, the more she felt something was wrong. Her eyes gradually calmed down and she just looked at Gu Yan calmly. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Xiaoling slowly stood up. Then sat on the edge of the bed, placing his right hand on his chest. His face became expressionless, but his brows were slightly furrowed. Something's wrong, something's a little weird. Am I the kind of person who would consider so much? Could it be that as the relationship between my other self and Lu Ding deepens, my secondary personality will also be affected to some extent? But thinking of this, Xiaoling shook his head. It's impossible. I won't be affected. If you want to know why. That is, she stretched out her hand. Buzz. A pitch-black dagger with complex runes on it and emitting a faint glow appeared in her palm. This thing is the Night King's true form, the dagger named Night. Xiaoling held the dagger and glanced sideways at the sleeping Gu Yan. And he suddenly stabbed at the opponent's chest. And at the moment when it was about to stab, the dagger hovered 0.1 cm away from the chest. Xiaoling is very satisfied with his precise controllability. One of the most important evidences that he would not be affected was that he could perfectly control the dagger. Another major reason why I have not been able to completely become the master of the dagger. That is, the other party still has human emotions. Only by abandoning these worthless emotions can one become a true Night King. It's just a pity that the other self is getting further in from becoming the Night King. The reason is this man. Thinking about. Xiaoling looked towards Gu Yan. But, Xiaoling? You ran out again? Gu Yan, who was originally asleep, woke up suddenly because of Lang Qingqiu's body fragrance. He first confirmed the current situation. I don't know if it's because he is familiar with Xiaoling An, so he can recognize who is who at a glance. Only, he looked at the other person holding the dagger against his chest. He was slightly stunned. You are. If Gu Yan saw it correctly, he seemed to see the dagger trembling constantly. It seemed as if it wanted to stab him directly in the chest. But Xiaoling held the dagger tightly to prevent him from stabbing him. Hush! Xiaoling retracted the restless dagger, and then placed his empty hand on Gu Yan's chest. Then he looked at Gu Yan expressionlessly and said slowly. Nothing. Gu Yan was stunned at first, then he jumped up and leaned against the head of the bed. He pulled the quilt tighter and shouted at Xiaoling in shock. There is no ghost. That dagger is the Night King's dagger. Right? Xiaoling, what do you want to do? You want to kill me now? Do you have any credibility to cooperate? Gu Yan was shocked. Who in the family would understand? Xiaoling sneaked into his bedroom in the middle of the night using Qingqiu's body. He actually intended to murder his ally right now? Xiaoling didn't know how to explain the current situation. Could it be that he wanted to test whether he was influenced by his other self? But the experiment was successful. I am not influenced by my other self. After all, she could perfectly control the restless dagger so that it would not pierce Gu Yan's chest. So she said calmly, don't react so strongly, you are still alive and well. Well, now that you're awake, don't go back to sleep. Seeing that the other party had no intention of repenting, Gu Yan's mouth twitched immediately. What do you mean? Since I'm awake, I don't want to sleep anymore. Do you know what time it is now? Having said this, he paused and looked at Xiaoling speechless. Lie. What do you want to call me for? I'd like to state in advance that I just came back from the forbidden area and I'm exhausted. Then you bear to let me be a slave so seamlessly? Hearing this, Xiaoling stared at Gu Yan for a few seconds, then said to herself, I'm very interested in the dessert you made for the other me tonight. Can you please listen to what others say so? So I want to eat too. Eat, all you do is eat you, thee made my body fat. I'm going to tell the other me that you said she was fat. That's the end of the conversation. In the kitchen. Dod. Gu Yan was beating eggs. Xiaoling, who was standing by, stretched out his finger and pointed at the prepared ingredients. Then he put it to his mouth and licked it with his tongue. Her brows relaxed slightly. It seemed that the sweet taste made her feel a little calm. So she reached out and wanted to taste some more. Gu Yan glanced at the other person and said, If you eat any more you'll finish it all. As soon as these words were spoken, Xiaoling retracted the finger he had extended. She looked at Gu Yan expressionlessly. Double standards? What does this have to do with anything? Where did you learn these words? Gu Yan was speechless. While sifting the egg liquid, he casually replied, What double standards? Do you understand the meaning of double standards? It's just double standards. If it was another me, you wouldn't stop her from doing that. Putting aside the fact that King Qiyu is my wife and I love her very much. You think I'm being hypocritical? Why didn't you tell me that I made dessert for you at 2 a.m. in the morning? Xiaoling was speechless after being refuted by Gu Yan's words. But she was still very unhappy. She stopped talking and just stayed aside, looking at Gu Yan quietly. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Gu Yan was so stabbed by the other party's gaze that he couldn't stand it anymore. He said helplessly, Xiaoling, Sister Ling, I surrender to you. Can you please stop looking at me? It's weird. After hearing this, Xiaoling finally spoke, I thought you would like this kind of sight. After all, you usually seem to be very obsessed with my body. Gu Yan's mouth twitched when he heard this. It sounded as if he was a very abstract pervert in his daily life. So in order to prove his innocence, Gu Yan turned his head, looked at Xiaoling and said seriously, Let's put aside other things. He paused, took a deep breath, clenched his fist and said loudly, Even if I am obsessed with King Qiyu's body. Not yours, Xiaoling. Xiaoling. Upstairs. In Langlinger's room. Sister. My brother-in-law is about to be taken away by another sister. The new sister's cooking is just as bad. Langlinger turned over, looking distressed and mumbling something. Chapter 290 to Langlinger tossed and turned and had a nightmare. Black Street. This is a lawless area in a east country that is full of violent crimes. It was already 2:30 in the morning. On the dilapidated road, the dim street lights cast mottled light and shadows, and occasionally a few speeding motorcycles disturbed the silence of the night. The graffiti wall on the street corner is like a cry in the dark night, telling the vicissitudes and chaos of the black street. The air was filled with a strong smell of cigarettes, alcohol, and a faint smell of medicine powder. The figures under the neon lights were dotted around, each seeming to be hiding their own secrets. In a dark alley, bang, 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 puff. A boy, about 12 or 13 years old, stepped on the head of an adult man who had fainted. In front of him, he was holding up a fat man who was taller and bigger than him. Punch after punch left the man in front of him unrecognizable. Bang! He threw these perverted men who were attracted to him onto the ground like throwing away garbage. The blood of others was stained on his face, but he closed his eyes and raised his head slightly. In the moonlight, one can see that the boy's face is filled with enjoyment. It feels good. After a long moment, the boy laughed softly. He took out a pair of black-framed glasses from his pocket and put them on his face. In an instant, his originally manic temperament was completely restrained and became sunny and humble. Master, it's time to go back. The Gu family annual meeting will be held soon, and there is still a lot of preparation to do this morning. At this time, a somewhat nervous voice came from the corner of the alley. The boy's name is Gu Lini. He is Gu Yan's younger brother. Compared to Gu Yan's younger sister and older sister, he is a person with no special skills in the family. But he is the one who pleases old Madame Gu and Mr. Gu the most. Following the sound, Gulen looked over and saw his bodyguard huddled in fear next to a trash can. He adjusted his glasses and thought, annual meeting. I don't know how my brother will spend this year. If I remember correctly, it seems like he thought of something. Gulen covered his mouth and burst out laughing. He laughed and mocked, is this his last chance this year? I am dying of laughter. How can a small fry have the guts to compete with my other brothers and sisters for the position of head of the family? It is said that he can't even catch a woman, right? A bodyguard's name was Qiyu Feng, a woman about 30 years old. She crawled up from the ground. She was no longer surprised by the young master's two faces. So after thinking about it, he smiled awkwardly and said, well, this year is young Master Gu's last chance if nothing unexpected happens. He will probably be disqualified as the heir. It's just that. It is said that young Master Gu and Shen Wanner have already broken up. Hear this. Oh. Didn't he insist on marrying Shen Wanner? Gulani felt a little surprised. He crossed his arms over his chest and raised his voice slightly. The Martin boots that were stepping on the heads of the Black Street members also turned slightly involuntarily. Yes, because Mr. Gu found true love. Yu Feng's eyes sparkled as he spoke. According to my partner, who is also a bodyguard in Zhanghe, Mr. Gu's true love is the eldest daughter of the Leng family, Leng Qingqiu. The two of them confirmed their relationship at the speed of light. Young Master Gu even beat up a bunch of prominent family members in Zhanghe to protect his girlfriend at the banquet. It is said that their children are old enough to help with cooking. Ah, I'll find true love someday. When Gu Lin heard this, his smile faded slightly, and he looked expressionlessly at Yu Feng, who was still fantasizing that he could find true love. Let's go back. Oh. Yu Feng said this and quickly stretched out his hand and pressed it against the wall. Next second, bang! A wooden door appeared out of nowhere. Then Yu Feng opened the door, revealing a bedroom inside. Gulani then walked in with an expressionless face. Master, what happened? Yu Feng felt a little strange, but still followed. Anyway, the young master's mood swings are not the first or second time, and I'm used to it. It's just an annual meeting. I feel a little nervous just thinking about it. But the young master must be fine. After all, he is the most popular one among everyone. 3 o'clock in the morning. On the sofa, the TV volume was turned down very low. Xiaoling took the puff and ate it in small bites while watching the melodrama of love attentively. Guyan sat on the sofa at the side, yawned, and asked, by the way, Xiaoling, how did you explain to Qingqiu that you were able to come out? How did she react? After hearing this, Xiaoling finished eating the sweets in his mouth and replied while watching TV. You reacted quite strongly. You thought I did something to you. Oh. Guyan chuckled. This Qingqiu's personality really fits the way he knew her. As if hearing Guyan's laughter, Xiaoling glanced at the other person, then retracted his gaze and continued. Then I told her that you didn't recognize it was not her later. So you kissed me again. She will tell you later that she has a second personality, which actually stems from this. As soon as these words came out, the smile on Guyan's lips froze. Ah, just very quickly. Xiaoling turned his head, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, his eyes full of joy. Just kidding, you bastard. Guyan's eyes and mouth twitched, and he didn't know what to say. This personality. It's really bad. Of course, you don't have to worry now. After all, my other self used the power of the Night King to reinforce a layer of defense for me. She already thought I couldn't get out. Xiaoling retracted his gaze, looked at the TV and continued. Hear this. Guyan breathed a sigh of relief. Although Xiaoling had a bad temper, but he is still very confident in doing things. Although, the other party is still able to come out now. Doesn't this mean that Qingqiu's methods are ineffective against this personality? Okay, it still has to be your sister Lang. You continue reading. I'll take a nap first. School me when you're done. Guyan said this and slowly closed his eyes. My family members are so sleepy. I am so weak. The feeling I had when I first met Xiaoling came back to me. Xiaoling nodded casually at this moment. She was already attracted by the plot of the TV series. Time passes by every second. I don't know how much time has passed. Xiaoling finished the puff in his hand and was about to pick up another one. But I found that all the sweets on the table had been eaten up by her without me noticing. Her brows slightly furrowed, but soon relaxed, and she said, Blue Ding, I'm fine. Furnace. Xiaoling turned his head and found that Guyan was already fast asleep with his head facing up. Her expression gradually became calm. Are you asleep? But it's true. Xiaoling murmured to herself. After all, she was quietly absorbing Guyan's energy again. Thinking of this, she turned off the TV and stood up. Slowly walked to Guyan's side. With the help of moonlight, she could clearly see Guyan's face, which looked slightly tired. Luding made a lot of efforts to create another self. If a person bears too much, he will not be able to bear it. However, none of this is her business, since it is Luding's own path to take. Well, in the end, just don't regret it. Xiaoling stretched out his hand and slowly stroked Guyan's face. As she watched, for some reason the strange memory from before popped up in her mind again. The first time I killed the furnace tripod. The second time, a cauldron turned into a monster. What exactly is this strange memory? Xiaoling muttered to herself, her eyes flickering. Is there any connection between them? Is it related to her? Or to another me? She shook her head and stopped thinking about it. He just looked at Guyan quietly for a few seconds. She suddenly thought of something. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and Xiaoling's meaningful voice slowly wandered in the living room. Another me this time. You have to thank me well. Inside Leng Linger's house, Leng Linger tossed and turned, looking as if she was having a nightmare. Sister, brother, in-law and another sister did something you didn't do. I definitely didn't participate. Chapter 293. The person next to me is Guyan. Is this a dream or reality? Early the next morning, the first ray of sunlight in the morning shone on Ling Qingyu's face. Her face looked particularly peaceful in the soft morning light. Her skin was as white as porcelain, with a slight pink hue, like the thin and even glaze on the finest porcelain. I'm so comfortable, so warm. Why do I feel like I slept better today than usual? Ling Qingyu woke up in a daze. Could it be that because of some loving interactions she had with Guyan yesterday, she slept so soundly today? Qingyu, you smell so good. At this time, a familiar confused voice came into Ling Qingyu's ears. She smiled helplessly. It seemed that she had not woken up yet. Why did I hear Guyan's voice in my ears? Then take another nap. Thinking of this, Ling Qingyu turned over and prepared to take a nap. A familiar and sweet smell continued to emanate from the tip of the nose. The smell is so tempting. If I didn't know, I would have thought Guyan was sleeping next to me. But that's impossible. Because Guyan is in the next room. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Time passes slowly. My mind gradually becomes clear. Ling Qingyu seemed to realize something. She opened her eyes suddenly. The moment you see the scene in front of you. She froze there. I saw that next to her, there was a light source emitting dazzling light. This person. It's Guyan. What is going on? Because the amount of information was too overwhelming. Ling Qingyu's brain was unable to react for a while. What's going on? Why was Guyan in her room? No, why would Guyan be in her bed? Ling Qingyu was confused and at a loss for a moment. She finally realized her current situation. She actually lay on Guyan's arms and curled up in his arms. No wonder she slept so soundly. Was this how she spent the whole night? And she also found that she had squeezed Guyan to the edge of the bed and he was almost about to fall off. Ling Qingyu felt a little ashamed. Could it be that it was because he had been staying in the other person's arms all night? No, that's impossible. Ling Qingyu, calm down, things are not that bad now. After all, Guyan hasn't woken up yet. Why is he here anyway? Ling Qingyu's brain was working rapidly. Who would want the two of them to be together? Who wants Guyan to sleep with her? Who would have such a perverted idea? That's right. Ling Qingyu looked at Guyan and cursed through gritted teeth. Pervert. It must be because Guyan was hungry and thirsty at night. So he sneaked into her room. Although the door of her room was not locked. Wasn't it because she believed Guyan would not do anything wrong? But, you disappoint me so much, Guyan. Ling Qingyu quickly checked his body and found that it was intact. She looked at Guyan suspiciously again. Were you really just sleeping? No touching. Is this Guyan? Also, I'm awake. Why aren't you awake yet? It was clearly my bed that was occupied. Ling Qingyu wanted to get up, but found herself being held tightly in Guyan's arms. The other person's body was like a big heater, making her feel hot all over. Ling Qingyu pursed her lips slightly. What a bastard man. He keeps talking to himself, occupying my bed and not letting me leave. Ling Qingyu calculated the current time and it was around 8 o'clock in the morning. It's already 8 o'clock, why hasn't this bastard gotten up yet? Yeah. Ling Qingyu suddenly thought of something. And a feeling of pity suddenly surged in his heart. Guyan was very tired after the trip, and he even made dessert for her after returning. It's normal to feel so tired. He shouldn't ask too much of the other person. Speaking of which, Ling Qingyu rubbed his belly, feeling a little confused. I don't seem to be very hungry today, and she didn't know if it was her illusion, but she always felt something sweet in her mouth. I've already brushed my teeth. Just thinking about this made her face turn red. Damn it, Ling Qingyu. Aren't you just saying that you can't stop thinking about Guyan's sweets? This is laziness and it is not allowed. Ling Qingyu took a deep breath and slowly calmed himself down. She clenched her fists, and her startled look was so unlike you. Ling Qingyu. So what if Guyan sleeps next to you? That's right, huh? Ling Qingyu suddenly felt a little confused because she found that she seemed to have pinched something when she clenched her fist. Soft and hard. Ling Qingyu looked over. His face suddenly turned red. I saw that I had placed it on Guyan's chest. Wow, what a wonderful feeling. Ling Qingyu's heart flickered. Well, give it a touch, it should be fine in a while. This is your fault. Guyan who told you to sleep next to me? And he hasn't woken up yet, and his body still exudes an enticing scent. Obviously you are a grown man, anyway, this is your fault. Ling Qingyu thought about it while curiously touching Guyan's body. After touching it from top to bottom, Ling Qingyu found it very strange. So is this Guyan's body structure? Although I have explored this a long time ago, this time it is under this situation, so it feels a little different. It seems more exciting. Because Ling Qingyu became the Night King. His whole body temperature is lower than that of normal people, so his hands are naturally cold. At this moment, groping Guyan's hot body made Leng Qingqiu feel a little comfortable. And on Guyan's side, because Leng Qingqiu's actions were too rough, his brows furrowed slightly. In sleep, he actually dreamed that Leng Qingqiu pressed him down and started doing some strange things to him. Hey, Qingqiu, you are so proactive. The corners of Guyan's mouth kept rising as he muttered to himself. Leng Qingqiu, who was groping in the dark, was suddenly shocked and looked at Guyan nervously. When I realized that the other person was talking in his sleep, I felt relieved. What are you dreaming about? What initiative? Leng Qingqiu moved closer, wanting to hear what Guyan was saying. Only, it seemed to be because Leng Qingqiu's hair brushed across Guyan's nose. The latter frowned slightly, then slowly opened his eyes. When I saw Leng Qingqiu so close to me, Guyan smiled gently. How can it be a dream within a dream? As he said that, he reached out and embraced Leng Qingqiu, pressing her against him. "Oh, Guyan!" Leng Qingqiu was stunned when she found herself being hugged tightly by Guyan. He leaned close to Leng Qingqiu's hair and sucked it with a hissing sound. "Qingqiu, even in my dreams you are so beautiful. You smell so good. Can I already dream about your smell? This is the power of pure love." Leng Qingqiu was in a state of confusion. How so? She wanted to break free, but Guyan held her tightly. "This bastard. Can you please wake up?" Leng Qingqiu was so embarrassed and angry that she wanted to push the other person away. The result is the next second. "Qingqiu, believe me. I will make you happy." Guyan's murmurs reached Leng Qingqiu's ears. She suddenly stood there. Leng Qingqiu stared at Guyan's life source in a daze. And it took a long time for him to recover. "Give me happiness." Leng Qingqiu pursed her lips slightly and reached out to hold Guyan's face. Then he pressed it slightly. The lips met. The air around gradually became quiet. Leng Qingqiu's heart was filled with an inexplicable feeling. "Guyan, do you know? I am very happy now. As long as you don't leave me, it will be my greatest happiness." Leng Qingqiu slowly let go of his hand. Guyan opened his eyes dazed and looked at Leng Qingqiu in front of him. "Qingqiu, am I dreaming?" Leng Qingqiu moved his fingers and said with a smile, "It was a dream." Buzz! A black vortex appeared under Guyan. "Oh, it must be a dream, otherwise why would Qingqiu be next to me?" He closed his eyes and slowly fell into it. For a while, Leng Qingqiu's room became quiet again. It stayed like this for a few seconds. "Wu o dole." Leng Qingqiu immediately covered her face and curled up in the quilt. "So shy. Another me, you did a good job. You are just one step away from entering the next stage of your night power." At this time, Xiaoling jumped out and said meaningfully, "Xiaoling, shut up. Also, don't peek at me and Guyan." Leng Qingqiu was so ashamed that she couldn't speak. "Oh. Small cold dive. Another me when you enter the next stage and learn the conditions for your eyes to regain sight. I don't know what you would do." Chapter 290 for warm morning. 9 o'clock. Guyan walked down in high spirits. He rubbed his shoulders and slept so comfortably. And there was a familiar smell on his body, as if the Qingqiu in the dream was actually in reality. But it's impossible when you think about it. Speaking of which, I have to thank Xiaoling. It must have been the other party who brought him back to the room yesterday. At this time, a familiar voice came from the living room. "Are you awake? Linger has gone to school. Breakfast is ready. Help yourself." Guyan looked in the direction of the voice and saw Leng Qingqiu sitting calmly on the sofa while the morning news was playing on TV. "Morning, Qingqiu. You look stunning this morning, too." He said an early morning hello. "Qingqiu is Qingqiu. She looks like a strong woman early in the morning. But there's no need for breakfast. I don't like breakfast." As he said that, he went into the bathroom to wash up. Leng Qingqiu glanced sideways at the life essence entering the bathroom. Then, he immediately covered his face and his face turned slightly red. "I hit S so embarrassing no matter how I think about it. It's so embarrassing. I actually slept with Guyan or something." But Leng Qingqiu was a little confused, even though she finally made the other party think he was dreaming. But why does Guyan look so calm? Why didn't he explain why he appeared in his bed last night? Or the other person has sleepwalking? Leng Qingqiu couldn't figure it out. And she didn't want to think about it anymore. It's just right that the other party didn't mention it, so as to avoid embarrassment. In less than a moment, Guyan came to the living room and sat down next to Leng Qingqiu. He leaned over to her and said, "Qingqiu, my Qingqiu. The weather is so nice today, how about we go out and play?" Leng Qingqiu put her hand on Guyan's face as he kept getting closer to her and pushed him away. Feeling speechless inside. It seems that this bastard has completely forgotten what happened yesterday. Now, Leng Qingqiu snorted lightly. Why was he the only one who was so conflicted? How abominable. Of course, it wasn't that she didn't want to go. but she really had something to do. Because her trip to the forbidden area was over. She had to show up at the organization's place and listen to the situation in the forbidden area so that she could proceed with her next plan. You're rejecting me so soon? Kinkyu, don't you want to go eat something delicious? Delicious. Hearing Gu Yan say this, Ling Kinkyu glanced at him. I really want to eat there, but last night plus this morning plus the overnight organization work make her feel that she has been too lazy recently and must do something serious. So, if I don't want to go, I won't go. I have something to do today. Besides, Ling Kinkyu looked at Gu Yan, crossed his arms and said, shouldn't you be a wounded person lying at home now? You're going out to play so arrogantly. Do you want to pretend to be a pig and eat the tiger? Although, Ling Kinkyu said, chuckling, you are born weak. Gu Yan. You know this too? Gu Yan was shocked. Putting aside the fact that I was born with this ability. It was true that I was born with this ability, but being born with this ability was not weak either. After all, it's a congenital one. Yes, your mother called me this morning and explained your situation. Ling